Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with the grand finals of the Total War Warhammer 2022 World Championship. So we're going to be starting on the top side of the bracket. It is going to be Blood Penguin facing off against the dreaded Platypus, two of nature's most dangerous predators going at it, and should be quite a bit of fun. So we're going to be jumping right into the pick and ban phase. So just a quick tale of the tape for the day. The first match is going to be a live series between Blood Penguin and Platypus. We'll then be casting Houseplant versus Ulrich Rahl via replays. And then we're going to be jumping straight to the grand finals and casting the best of 5 grand finals live so we can get the maximum action possible. The third place match is going to be casted this week on my channel, so stay tuned for that if you guys are interested. So that's going to be played off stream. And again, thank you guys all for joining. Hope you're doing well. Let's get this party started and take a look here at the picks and bans for the day. So this is going to be the first series between Platypus and the Blood Penguin. And as we did yesterday, we'll be showing you guys the picks and bans so you can see how it all unfolds behind the scenes. And here we go. Carl Franz is going to be taking us through this one. So for the first series, the global bans are in place. We do have the Warriors of Chaos being globally banned. So how it works is essentially before every series starts, players will decide on 2 global bans each. So these are factions that cannot be played at all during the entire series. So the factions that you're not going to be seeing during the series, Blood Penguin has globally banned the Warriors of Chaos and the Demons of Chaos. So they cannot be played in this particular best of 5 series. And Platypus has banned the Empire and the Dark Elves. So the Sons of Sigmar will not be played in the series. And the actual picks and bans will be coming up in just a second. And we will update those as soon as we can. Yes, life is good. It's going to be a wild one, man. I'm really excited to see these guys play. Both of them had very, very convincing battles yesterday. I mean, very decisive. Yes, so not every single match will be live today. This match is going to be live, and the grand finals are going to be live. We have, in total, there's 3 series today. 3 best of 5s. So assuming they're not, all 3-0s like we had yesterday, which is pretty quick, we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be good. All right, so here's the picks. The picks are in from our glorious admins. So Blood Penguin is going to be picking the forces of Slaanesh as one of his picks. He's also going to be picking the Beastmen. Oh, we didn't see any Beastmen yesterday. That'd be pretty fun to see them in action. And then we do also have the High Elves being picked, and he's going to be banning his opponent's Slaanesh. So now it is time for Platypus to do the counter pick. So Platypus looks at his opponent's 3 factions. He's going to pick one faction that he's comfortable playing against those 3 factions, and then banning one of his opponent's 3, which will leave his opponent with 2 choices against his 1, essentially. So Platypus is going to be going for the High Elves here. High Elves making a pretty good run in the tournament so far. So the faction is going to be the High Elves here for Platypus, and the ban is going to be banning the High Elves. Okay, interesting. And now he's facing off against either Slaanesh or the Beastmen. And, I really expected the Blood Penguin to pick Slaanesh here, but it is going to be the Beastmen, guys. All right, so get hyped. The cows are coming, baby. And it is time for a glorious battle of battles. So we're going to be loading into the first battle here in just a minute. Players are getting all set up here in the lobby. So let's switch on over and have some fun. Thank you guys all for joining today. Again, Platypus versus Blood Penguin. First best of 5. And I do need to update that nameplate to the top 4, which will only take me a second. How you guys doing? If you have any questions about multiplayer, now's a good time to ask. We're just going to be waiting for the players to pick their armies. So since we're not doing this series via replays, we have a little bit of downtime in between games where the players pick their armies and scheme and do all that sort of good stuff. So if you guys have any questions pertaining to the game, life in general, I got you covered. We're here, man. It's going to be good. We got the cows versus the High Elves. Very neat. I remember before this tournament started, everybody was saying every match would be Warriors of Chaos and Slaanesh, but since we added global bans, that was kind of something we did a couple seasons back. I think at the beginning of the last season, we've had a really, really good diverse meta where, obviously players have the agency with the global bans to get rid of the really overpowered stuff, and it creates really interesting matchups, and I certainly think it's quite a bit better. Which faction do you think is the most underpowered at the moment? Probably Kislev and Nurgle. Yeah, Kislev and Nurgle are both rather weak. They have Nurgle has more niche applications than Kislev, but Kislev just feels kind of linear and kind of weak. Like, they're very predictable. Their magic is subpar. They don't have any units that really stand out as like super insanely strong. Their war sleds are quite good, but and they're light cavalry, and shock cav aren't bad either. But aside from that, they just don't get the job done. No, today's going to be live replays except one series. So this is a live series. Then we have a semifinal. The other side of the bracket is going to be via replays because they're playing right now. And the grand finals is going to be live as well. So it should be very fun. Yes, so the grand finals are actually best of 5. I was incorrect about that. Yes, I was incorrect yesterday. Does Kislev have any niche at all? Kislev has some okay applications against some of the I've had okay success with them against vampire counts because the fact that they're somewhat unbreakable, they actually are really good at holding against like cheap undead chaff units. They have decent missiles. The Kossars with spears, I think, are a very, very good anchor unit. They're kind of like a cheaper budget Lothern Sea Guard. That, of course, are unbreakable. So Kislev does have some teeth. There are some matchups they're good in, but generally speaking, most people would probably perceive them as one of the weaker factions, and I would agree with that. I think we have the data to back it up as well. If you go to Total Tavern and look at the stats, you can also see that they are one of the weaker factions, which is a shame. But I think Kislev, and this is kind of something I say oftentimes on my own channel, is that they have really good roots. They have like a really good foundation. They're like a sapling that has yet to grow into like a mighty oak. Because they have like the unbreakable stuff, they have good shot cav, they have decent missile units. They're just kind of missing, they're missing a little something. But if they get the proper DLC and get the right stuff, they could become very, very strong. Very, very strong. Yeah, and Kislev has some decent matchups for sure. They can do okay against Bretonnia. I would still say Bretonnia might be a little bit favored. In that matchup, it really comes down to the SEM fighting. Like whoever's able to win with their like Paladin, Green Knight, Fey Enchantress versus, Patriarch, Co-Sultan, whatever. Whoever wins in that like character fight really is a big determining factor as well. So yeah, I think Kislev will become strong. I think it will be the case. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be the High Elves, Archmage of Death facing off against the Great Bray Shaman of Shadow. So both players are going to be opting to bring some of the more budget lords to allow themselves to get a wider, more battlefield encompassing army. And we are going to be on the road to Val's Anvil. Now, this is an absolutely beautiful map by Waka Waka 3000. And taking a look here, there is an objective up in the high ground on this glorious High Elf city here. There's 2 objectives right down the middle as well. And it is one of the classic kind of Itza style where you have a big lane, although it's a much bigger map. So this is actually a map where the mobility is very, very important. It's very, very important. So having like fast things like Centaurs and Illyrian Reavers moving around to control this big open space, I think is extremely necessary. So the players are just going to be loading in right now. We'll see how it goes. Pretty crazy. Three of the 4 of the players in the top 4 of the World Championship are all in the same clan. They all train together. We have RTK. Clearly, they've been doing very, very good. And then we have our one renegade, the rebel with a cause. It is the Blood Penguin. He is a mercenary, not part of any clan to my knowledge. And he's coming in to try and upset the mighty clan. So we'll see how this goes. Should be good. Taking a look, guys, at the forces of the Bray Herd. The Bray Herd is going to be led by the Plague Penguin or Blood Penguin. He goes by 2 different names. It's confusing. Don't ask questions, it's just how he rolls. But he actually has a lot of Ungor Raiders. Now, Ungor Raiders do get out-traded by Elven Archers. However, volume of fire can be pretty good. So if you're able to get like a big dragon or something and you just have all these like cheap stalking archers with stealth kind of ambushing it, they can do some good steady damage, and they're also dirt cheap. The caster is going to be a Shadow caster, so he's just going to be a Bray Shaman. Lore of Shadows has been good against High Elves since like the dawn of time. If it wasn't Pendulum spam in Warhammer 2, it's basically Pit of Shades here. So it is going to be the Bray Shaman on his chariot there, and he is good to go. Aside from that, it's going to be Blackhorns, Ravagers, Gore Herds, just shielded Gore Herds, which is good. They'll outtrade Spearmen. They'll do well enough against some of the more elite infantry, and just kind of a swarming thing. So there are a lot of angry beastmen right there. Up on the high ground, we do also have the Butchers of Kalkengard. Butchers of Kalkengard are a really cool unit because they're shielded, number 1. I believe they also benefited from the cost reduction. They look like giant angry milk cows, and they regenerate and are just like an absolute pain to deal with. So, cool beastman army. Yeah, just very wide, very swarming. And over here for the Elves, going to be taking the more conservative approach of playing the high ground. It is going to be Sylvarans backed by Lothern Sea Guard. You need Lothern Sea Guard in this matchup. Between Minotaurs, Razorgors, Centaurs, if you have basic archers, they typically get run over. Granted, you can see he has 1 in the middle, the Talons of Tor Kaledo. Ooh, this is for Menacing Platypus here. And these are the ROR archers that actually imbue fire weakness. So you can imbue fire weakness, and then, that can synergize with other things, including their own damage, right? Because they imbue fire weakness to their target, and they also do fire damage. So essentially, they're buffing themselves 20%, which is kind of neat. So that is pretty much it. And we have an Archmage of Death up in the high ground, the Spirit Leech and Buna. Very good choice. You can Spirit Leech down the Lord. You can Fade a Buna the, anything of value, like, Bestigors come out, whatever. Centaurs, Sons of Goros, Throwing Axes. All that stuff that you know and love. They are angry milk cows. They really are. They're like the milk cow from the Kung Pao. You guys remember that movie from the early 2000s when he like fights the milk cow in the movie? Yeah, great movie. It's a great one. It's a classic. Alright guys, so up on the high ground here, we do have the Archmage of Death. It's going to be descending from Disguise, looking to eye its prize. Probably going to be dropping some Spirit Leech, I would imagine, on the Bray Shaman. Or, I mean, you could also start Spirit Leeching the Butchers, but the problem is if you don't actually straight up kill one of the models of the Butchers, they'll just regenerate through that HP there, so not going to be terribly effective. Bray Shaman is going to be the target of the Spirit Leech, not a huge deal. He's just going to kind of pull back, play it safe, as the Archmage of Death is going to be retreating back towards the Elven army. So on this map, there's two objectives out in the open, which the Beastmen are going to be claiming the initial kind of, field over. So 2 and 3 are going to be opening up in about 48 seconds. And down on objective 1 here, the Elves are going to be getting this one. And this is typically how you see it on this map. The more aggressive kind of swarming factions will often take the low ground objectives, and the more kind of defensive faction will use the terrain up in the high ground, take objective 1. But yes, you get the terrain, and you can't really be flanked effectively because of this, but you're also giving up 2 objectives, which is, a way to lose the game, right? So you have to eventually push out. It has its downsides, it has its upsides, it gets the job done. So right here, we do have objective 1 opening up, and what the Elves will do is they'll just kind of push down this little concave. Then the Beastmen can also use their Vanguard spawns and start hammering into the side of the Elven army. They can also use some of their basic spawns here. I believe they have one up here. They do. So that pressure can pour in very, very quickly. So the Elves have got the point. They're going to be opening up. The Beastmen are just chilling, man. They're happy to sit down there and just be like, come at us, Elves. Come fight us down to the open field. Of course, the objectives are going to be forcing the Elves to attack. Objective 3 is going to be captured. Objective 2 is going to be captured as well. The Elves are going to be securing Objective 1 up on the high ground, but as you can see, the current victory tickets, the Beastmen are going to be getting 2 tickets per second towards their 1500 victory, and the Elves are going to be getting 1 ticket per second towards the 1500. So that's how it works. In the early days of Domination Mode, before it kind of got fine-tuned a little bit, it used to be 5 points per second, and it was like the games were way shorter. Like way shorter, and obviously the game it's much better than it was before. Obviously there's still some things that need to be fixed, I think, pertaining to like Lord Unsummoning and that sort of thing, but generally speaking it's in a much better place. Now the first reinforcements are coming in. In the back we do have these Storm Riders. Ooh, the Arwar Lothern Sea Guard. So these guys are pretty cool. They're fast, they're furious, they can, I believe, shoot while moving, and they can fend off most of the Beastmen large threats considering they are spear units. So they're going to be heading up towards the high ground objective right there. Now, what are the Beastmen saving for? I think he's saving for like a massive overwhelm. And you can see currently the Plague Penguin has 3,200 resources in the bank, whereas Menacing Platypus is spending most of his money to get reinforcements up. And I think the Beastmen are going to do a mass Vanguard here. I think they're going to do a big crazy push and try and pin the High Elves up on their high ground objective for as long as they possibly can with a bunch of shielded infantry. I wouldn't hate that idea, honestly, just like cheap gore herds and raiders just pushing into this high ground position, and then the Beastmen can basically just hold the 2 low ground objectives for as long as humanly possible. A little bit of skirmishing going down, and you can see here the Lothern Sea Guard are putting some firepower into the gore herds here and kind of poking those guys back. But for the most part, spears are now moving up, Lothern Sea Guard moving up, and yeah, the battle's about to commence. I'm really curious what the Beastmen are going to be doing as it pertains to the big funds that they do have here. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. We will see. So, Archmage of Death pulling back. Got to be careful. Raiders are up in the sky. The Elves are just going to kind of slow push their way down. But as soon as the Beastmen show their horns, the Elves kind of like pull back. They're like, oh, wait a second. I don't know if we want to go fight those giant mutated Beastmen. You can see the spears pulling back, trying to lure them into the archers a little bit. Beastmen don't need to go up here. There's a bit of a mistake in my opinion. Looks like there's going to be another Spirit Leech going down, and now we see the high ground engagement as it is going to be Tuskor Chariots. So we see the first wave of Chariots coming down. Pitishades also being cast on some Silvern Guard as the Gore Herds with shields are going to be engaging. Minotaurs are pulling the trigger here. I don't think this is the right idea. I think it's a little bit too risky pushing up into the engaged position. You can simply sit on the back of the objective and force them to overextend a little bit more. I mean, this is a very dangerous way of playing. And the Tuskor Chariots, I'm not sure where they're going. They really need to get into the archers. I mean, there's no mass back here for the Elves, so those Chariots could really just be going absolutely ham. But it looks like they do get their first charge as the Tuskor Chariots move into the side of Lothern Sea Guard, but you need to move them constantly. If you leave them in sustained combat versus any of the Elven archers, you're going to be paying the price for sure, as the Chariots do move through, get a little bit stuck on some of those spear units, and now we see more mobility coming in. So it's going to be Centaurs and Centaurs. They should be able to move through, but again, that's the problem. These are Lothern Sea Guard. I think you need to stuff them with just tons of infantry units and try and swarm them in that way, but we'll have to see how it all unfolds for the Bray Herd. The first unit of Gore Herd's getting smashed here, and the Beastmen learned their lesson. They pull back, make the Elves kind of overextend here, and I think that's going to be your best bet. Tuscarore's moving in there. Nice little Space Jam charge. And we do also get some Centaurs moving into the Lothrans here. Lothrans will outtrade them, though. That's a bit of a problem. So, again, I really think some stock infantry would be really good, like Ungors on top of those units. But again, good micro here. He does get through the opening, so you can see he finds this little bit of a push. Gets on top of the Talons of Torquilada, which are the basic archers, and he is force pathing through rather effectively, as the Illyrian Reavers going to be moving across to intercept them. So Elves do have some of the best light skirmish cav in the game, or light cavalry in general. And we see the Reavers colliding with the Centaurs here. In a straight-up open field vacuum, the Centaurs would win this fight. But considering there's a ton of Elven, archers and spear units kind of nearby, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tough fight, as we see the Elves pull a massive, massive value lead of 3,500 to 600 value. So pretty brutal. But now the Beastmen going to be pulling the trigger a little bit. We also see the Great Bray Shaman is slowly being killed by the Spirit Leech, so that's one of the risks of bringing some of these more squishy lords against the Elves, is they can bring Spirit Leech and other strong effects. And the Gore Herds are now moving into the Silveran Guard. Silveran Guard are very, very stalwart against these type of units. It would have been a pretty crazy tech, would have been a Cygor. Like if you had a single Cygor back here just throwing boulders up at these archer units, that's why typically when I've seen Beastmen versus Elf games, they usually have 1 or 2 Cygors in their army, because they can counter this kind of defensive archer style of play like very, very easily. So the Beastmen are holding on to the points. It's 511 to 261. So they do have a substantial point lead, even though they're getting crushed in value and their lord is kind of on death's bed. Butchers of Kalkengard are still somewhat healthy, and there could be an opportunity for them once the Elves kind of have to push out past this position that the Beastmen might be able to kind of steal something. But overall, their kind of attempt to push up here on the high ground wasn't very good. They didn't really get a whole lot done, and it's looking pretty bleak for them, especially with their lord getting karate chopped here. I think at this point you unsummon the lord, just kind of send him back to the Shadow Realm, grab this bad boy, unsummon him to try and avoid the lord penalty. Here you can see the Archmage of Death is going to be hunting down the Beastman lord to try and apply that big penalty here. And we see the Ungor Spearman herds battling against Silverans, and the Elves are just kind of controlling the high ground position, pushing down, and the Beastmen really don't have anything to kind of crack through it. And again, I think the Beastmen were totally capable of doing it. I just think the unit composition they chose to do so was very inefficient. I think you needed to see either Cygors in tandem with just cheap infantry swarming at the sides and moving through those seams. Like 5 or 6 cheap, really low-tier infantry could have easily weaved their way into those archers and really caused a ton of obstruction. But will the Beastmen get to a point where they can essentially win on just one objective and kind of hold it down in the low ground? I mean, it's certainly possible. The Elves are taking their sweet time to get this objective. Now we get the Butchers of Kalkengard coming in. It's the classic Homer Simpson style, where you have the face-to-foot style, where, let them punch you in the face enough till they get tired and run out of ammo, and maybe, just maybe at that point, something will go a little bit better for you. Butchers of Kalkengard going to be battling here with the White Lines of Grace. We do also see Silver Helms with shields moving on up, attacking the Blackhorns Ravagers, but massive Archer concave fire, and that's very problematic because the Butchers of Kalkengard are a regenerating unit, which typically means that you're going to be weak to fire. That plus the Talons of Torquilada is going to be an extra 40% damage that they do to those units, so they're going to get melted very, very quickly. And this objective is going to be flipping to the Elves. Honestly, if I were the Beastmen player at this point, I'd probably tap out. This was an extremely one-sided game. And I don't think there's going to be any comeback. It's time. It's best of 5. Go back to the drawing board, rethink your strategy, and get that next game going. Because this one looks very bleak, man. It looks very, very bleak. So they're moving down. High ground, we see a couple Poison Hounds coming in. Poison Hounds are a nice choice. They are infantry size, so the Lothern Sea Guard won't be terribly effective against them. But coming back from a 6,000 gold deficit, considering you don't really have any healing, is going to be extremely precarious. And yes, the Elves will run out of ammo eventually, so that's something you kind of want to variable in there. We see the Poison Hounds getting on top of Lothern Sea Guard, but Lothern Sea Guard still will defeat a unit of Hounds, if I'm not mistaken. They have really high melee defense and can totally just cackle and enjoy themselves. So, big Hound push right there. Talons of Torquilada, able to focus fire them off in tandem with all these Lothern Sea Guard, and Plague Penguin's going to tap out there. GG, well played. Great, clean game by Platypus. Not necessarily the right execution from the Penguin, but he'll be back with a vengeance. You need something like Cygors, a little bit of more infantry flanking pressure, because trying to shut down Lothern Sea Guard with cavalry isn't that effective. So really just more chaff units. But GG, well played. One-sided, but still a good lesson to be learned for everyone who's interested. You got to watch out for those positions, and of course bring units to kind of bunker bust people's defensive positions, because there was zero answer in this High Elf army for, let's say, something like a Cygor. Like no answer whatsoever. A Cygor would have been able to just farm those archers all day, all night. GG, well played. That's going to be game 1, ladies and gentlemen. Going to the dreaded Platypus. The Platypus versus Penguin duel will be continuing in the best of 5, and we will now move on to the next game as we prepare our picks and bans. Yeah, the Chariots didn't really do much. Neither did the Centaurs. So basically, the initial spend for the Beastmen was 2 Chariots, 2 Centaurs. So that's more or less 1,400. That's like 3,000 value of units, which basically didn't do anything. right? Imagine 3,000 value of units of like cheaper infantry. Granted, I don't think he really had those in reserve. If you look at his army, he didn't. So there wasn't really too many options for him based on the army that he did bring. Yes, GG. Let's move on to the next one. And we will, of course, have the picks and bans as the players prepare our next map. The dreaded Beastmen will return. Torlox can be okay too. He's heavily armored. He's got the brass body. He's very tough to focus down even for spears. And now we're going to be on the Glade of the Everqueen, which is a really, really cool map. Yes. And sorry if there's, I know some of you guys in chat mentioned there's a little bit of stuttering. I have no control over that because we are restreaming to several channels. So I know that can sometimes happen when you use Restream. Typically on my own channel, we don't have that because we just stream to just YouTube. But since Creative Assembly is streaming to Twitch as well as YouTube, and I think some other platforms as well, I think it can cause some issues with that. So apologies. Hopefully it's not too bad, and hopefully it will subside over the course of the stream. But again, not a whole lot I can do about that from my end. So we will see. I'll keep tabs on it, man. The Beastmen used the Homer Simpson approach, but the problem is their opponent never got tired. You know, he just kept going, kept punching, kept causing problems. It was something. It was the commentator. My name is Turn, by the way. If you guys don't know me, I cover Total War Warhammer multiplayer, and I do it over on the old YouTube. So game 2, I'll have the picks and bans in very, very soon. We have to see. And 1 second here. Yes, they can start always. All right, just checking in with the players real quick. No need to wait for me. They were asking if they need to wait for me. I'm like, no, man, just you can get the show on the road, have some fun. Yes, it's good. Slaanesh is not global banned in the series, correct? We actually had Slaanesh being picked in the pool of factions for the Plague Penguin, but he opted to go with Beastmen instead. I think Slaanesh would have been better for sure. Like, because Slaanesh, you can bring shielded Chaos Warriors against Elves. You have, like, tons of really good mobility. I think Slaanesh would have been the pick there over the Beastmen for sure. Beastmen in general, I think, I don't know how they do against High Elves. I think it's actually an even matchup, even-ish. Maybe slightly Elven favored after some of the buffs they got, but even still, they have some good tools there. They definitely have some good tools. I'm a huge fan of using the Cygor. Sometimes even a double Cygor can get the job done. But yeah, a double Cygor is a little bit cagey. It's a little bit risky because it's too all in. It's too skewed on dealing with one thing. So bringing like Eye of Morsleep is so good because Eye of Morsleep can bombard the Lothern Seaguard, and he can also use the gaze to snare down enemy cav units and allow your Beastmen to get opportune jumps. So yeah, it's good, man. It is good. Yeah, they could have chilled back a little bit, let the elves come down more. It's okay though. Everyone makes mistakes, man. You know, it's a high stakes game. It's a tense situation. You're playing some of the best players in the world. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to have off games. It happens, man. It happens for sure. War of the Beaks. Who will win, the poisonous mammal or the chaotic polar bird? Says Mark. Ain't that the truth, man? Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Hey, but we're moving on to the next game. We're going to see how this rolls. The picks and bans will be coming in soon. So Glade of the Everqueen is another great community map. It's really, really good. It's a beautiful one. And it's kind of a small brawler map. The objectives are very close together. Typically on this map, you'll see chaos factions like Khorne and, you know, maybe even a Nurgle game. I wouldn't be surprised. There's not too many Nurgle champions that play, like, he's not played too often in multiplayer. But if anybody who plays Nurgle, I know that Houseplant does. Houseplant is playing in the next series that we're going to be casting. He is someone who has tried to make Nurgle work for a long time. He's used them in high stakes tournaments. At the end of my competitive season, in the grand finals, I believe he got a victory against Vampire Coast with him. I'm not sure. He's had some great success, so we will have to see. We will have to see indeed, my friends. So taking a look here, do we have picks and bans coming in? All right, so picks and bans when ready. All right, so we're going to be getting those sent to us, and we'll switch on over and show you guys that. Obviously, with live games, there's a little bit more downtime because we're waiting for the players to do all the picks and bans and, you know, gather themselves and whatnot. So it takes a little bit of time, but yeah, it's good, man. Life is good. Beastmen are a fun faction, though. As far as their win rate for this season goes, let's go and take a look real quick. So if you look at the Beastmen, let's kind of jump on over here. We have a little bit of fun data to share with all of you guys. So let's go ahead and switch and head on over. So here we are. So we're going to go to the stats for the season, and the Beastmen are currently sitting at a 47% win rate. Against High Elves, let's see what their win rate is. So they've only been played against High Elves 4 times this season, And they actually have a 50-50 win rate, so it doesn't look like it's a terribly one-sided matchup either way. But Beastmen are like they're very much a mid-tier faction, right? If you look at the like strongest factions, you have Slaanesh up here, you have Vampire Counts, 82%, 60%, and then you got Dwarves, Norsca, Lizardmen, Chaos Demons, Grand Cathay Greenskins, all above 50%. Tomb Kings down here, actually, Creative Assembly did nerf Tomb Kings, and they're doing, I mean, if a faction's at 50%, that's like a job well done. Empire sitting at 50%. And some of the weaker factions are Nurgle and Kislev. Typically, like, you can see Nurgle doesn't really have too many good matchups, neither does Kislev. 10 wins, 20 losses. It's a pretty rough run for those guys. But yeah, Beastmen have some good ones. I mean, they counter Skaven. They do well against Ogres. They've actually traded upwards into the Dark Elves, which are considered to be a super meta faction. So there's a lot of interesting stuff for them for sure. A lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, so again, if you want to see all this data, you can come to TotalTavern.com, which is our Total War Warhammer Esports website. And you can go to the stats up in the top left, and you can click on any faction and see their win rate. Now, this is the current season. You can also go look back at previous patches if you want to, and just go see how they've done in the past based on patches, and you have all that data at your fingertips there. So let's go ahead and switch on back and see if we got the picks and bans. All right, so we do have the picks and bans, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it started. Here we go. All right, so resetting this. We'll be switching here. I feel like we're going to be seeing some Slaanesh. I feel like it's going to happen. I just have this looming feeling that the God of Excess will be getting picked here. We'll have to see. So going to the picks and bans here, Platypus, of course, up 1-0 in this best of 5 series. And for Platypus, he is going to be picking Slaanesh as one of his 3 factions. His next choice is going to be Norsca. Very, very solid, very, very meta factions. And the last choice is going to be Khorne. All right, I love it. Khorne's one of my favorite factions to play, and they're also very good. Plus, you get to mouth breathe, and you don't have to worry about using magic at all, which is awesome. You know, there's one less button you have to worry about, right? And what is he going to ban? No bans. Okay, so then Blood Penguin actually comes into the High Elves. Interesting. High Elves are getting a ton of play today in this tournament. They've been doing good. And banning Khorne. So Khorne is going to be banned. And then it looks like Platypus is going to be going for Slaanesh. Now, what's really interesting about this is Slaanesh was not picked against the High Elves last game, so maybe there's some sort of a secret tech where the High Elves can do well against them. Who knows? But it is going to be Slaanesh versus the forces of the High Elves. This is actually a very thematic matchup as well. This is one that you see quite a bit in lore. Obviously, the Elves and Slaanesh don't necessarily have the most fun history between one another. So, the die is cast, the battle will be starting soon, and hopefully you guys are ready to party, because I sure am. It's going to be good. So, you said, what do you think could be done to improve Nurgle's viability in multiplayer? Ooh, it's tough. I don't know. Nurgle just, like, it's so weird because Nurgle has so many of the elements that, like, make, like, vampire counts good, like healing and durability. But I think the fact that Nurgle just, like, is lacking that mobility, like, really good mobility, makes him so vulnerable to being picked apart by missiles. Whereas vampire counts have, like, Fellbats. I mean, you have Furies, I guess, but yeah, they have also cavalry and like cost-effective hound units. I don't know. It's hard to say. Nurgle is a weird one. I can't really put my finger on it because they have many of the fundamentals of a good, solid, competitive faction. So, yeah, that's that. Life is good, man. How popular are the new Chaos Lords in multiplayer? Good question. As far as the new Chaos Lords go, I would say that Valkia is probably the best one. Valkia is really, really good. And then in the mid-tier, you have Festus and you have Azazel, both of whom are pretty decent. And on the bottom tier, Village is hands down the worst because, you know, he just doesn't really synergize with the Slaanesh roster. The Lords of Change are just super, super good. And Village is hands down the worst of the 4 in multiplayer. He's really cool, and he does have niche applications, using him with like elite infantry to regenerate their shields and kind of fight alongside them. Kind of like a bit of a Walmart budget Sigvald, but overall, he's not super good. He's not super good. Yeah, Valkia, I think, is the best. She's really, really good. She does not mess around. All right, guys. It's go time. Prince Sigvald the Magnificent facing off against the Archmage of Fire. That Archmage not going to be super good against the mass warrior wall. Oh, wow. Look at that. Hellscourge warriors. Now, they don't really have good armor piercing, but they have some of the really, really best sustainability you can find as far as infantry go. They have decent damage output, and they just have really, really good defensive stats. Their melee defense is quite insane. So it's going to be the Penta Chaos Warrior with the really, really cool... man, they're so... Slaanesh Warriors look so rad. And I would imagine it's going to be a Shadowcaster. Shadows has just always been the answer against the Elves. It just always has been. It's just the way it's been. It's the way it will always be. And they always do struggle against Pendulums and Pit of Shades because of the way that their formations are kind of hanging out. So it's the nature of the beast. Yeah, Nurgle does have a couple bad units. Like, all the Plague Drone units are just awful. Their damage output, for some reason, is just terrible. I think it has to do with their attack animations. And, yeah, in general, they're just really, really bad. I don't know what's up with the Plague Drone units. All right, guys. Taking a look here in just a second at the map. This is the Glade of the Ever Queen. We currently have 3 objectives. So there's one objective right here, and then there's one over here on the far side. So it's a pretty neat one. Each player is going to be spawning over here. So one player is going to be spawning right here and one player on the far side as well. And they're going to be colliding in and getting ready to do some battle as well. The Fire Mage, certainly a tell. I see some people in chat kind of commenting on this, that he was expecting perhaps a mass amount of cheap Marauders, and I certainly agree with that assessment. But they're not going to be. It's not going to be super good against the Warriors of Slaanesh. The Warriors of Slaanesh are just super heavily armored. Burning Head does pretty insignificant damage against armor. Really good against light armor, but anybody who's wearing any sort of heavy-duty metal, which you think would actually be worse, like, fire, metal, all that stuff, But, a lot of the Chaos Warriors actually in the lore, if I'm not mistaken, are actually melded to their armor. So, maybe they're kind of used to that. I'm not sure, but yeah. You think the fire and metal would be kind of a rough combo for the guys wearing it. Correct. Village does not have a mount option. He does not. So Village has to run around on foot, which makes it a little bit tricky because he can't. That's the thing about Tzeentch, is like all the magic casters for Tzeentch can really place their magic in super ideal positions because they're flying, they're durable, they have the shields, they can survive. But Village kind of has to waddle. He's like a little potato on the ground that can't quite get where he wants to go. Yeah. I agree with that. Somebody in chat, Sebastian, has a good take. I think that if Toads and Plague Drones were buffed a little bit, maybe reworked in terms of their efficiency and their stats, I think that Nurgle could be a pretty good faction. Those are like one of the anchor pieces of Nurgle, and they are in theory, but they're just not that good. Yeah, which is a shame. You don't want them to be just like Fleshhounds, just ripping things apart super quickly, but I think they do need a little bit of love. All right, guys, taking a look here at the forces of the Menacing Platypus. He's got the Hellscourge Marauders. These things are so cool. Look at their melee defense. They are so tough to kill in melee. 54 melee defense, physical resist. They have immune to psychology. They are just absolute monsters. So it's going to be Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh backed up by a couple of Marauders in the back. I would wager that the devoted Marauders of Slaanesh are just going to be holding the back objective. So he'll probably just kind of park these guys in the back point and just like leave them there. We got Prince Sigvald, who himself is also very difficult to deal with. It's going to be a Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh with Shadows, going to be there with Pit of Shades, and that is going to be it, with a little bit of Horseman Vanguard. Now, for the Plague Penguin, will our Arctic champion get back on the board? Find out here today. It is going to be an Archmage of Fire, backed up by pretty much a similar build. Lothern Sea Guard, Silver Guard. It's very, very meta for elves. They're both very good units, and they synergize super well with one another. The only thing I'm concerned about, aside from the lens flare here, is the fact that the Elven army doesn't really seem to have a lot of armor piercing. Like, nothing in that army seems really good against the Chaos Warriors. Like, absolutely nothing. So it's going to be very much heavy attrition, shooting into those silver shields, into that heavy armor, and just kind of struggling against that. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds. Now, on the other side, what are we going to be seeing? The Penguin is saving up. I feel like it's going to be a monster of some sort. Maybe a Phoenix. Could we see a Phoenix? Could we see a Dragon? I actually think a Star Dragon would be a very, very good choice. The Star Dragon would absolutely roast these Chaos Warriors, kill them in melee, and the Star Dragon can also bully Sigvald with some good cycle charging, so I think that would be very, very good indeed. Some more charging coming across. Lothern Sea Guard going to be pressing the midfield. Home objective going to be opening up in 52 seconds, so obviously a Spearman's just going to be chilling there, and Elves, they don't need to push into Slaanesh's home objective and kind of overextend themselves. They can simply just chill on these two back objectives, and they can do their thing. Silver and Guard are an amazing unit. They're really, really good. Between the spell resist that they have, the high armor, great leadership. I mean, they're basically very similar to the Hellscourges in terms of stats, right? Like, very, very high melee defense of 54, armored, shielded, anti-large. What's not to love? And Slaanesh does have a fair amount of really, really cost-effective cavalry, so having that anti-large, I think, is quite good. Yeah, Silver, in my opinion, are just way better than the basic Spear variant. You pay a little bit more for them, but I think it's worth it. Like, they hold all day. And, like, that's what you want. If you're using a bow line, you want something in the front line that can hold. Whereas, like, basic Spear unit for the Elves, or, you know, if you're on a budget and you can't afford anything else, hey, you just got to roll with it. But typically, I think you're going to want to get the Silverans. They're just so, so solid. Prince Sigvald's coming in, though. And typically, Prince Sigvald is kind of like a heat-seeking missile. And that's another problem I'm seeing with the Elven army, is without, like, a character like Imrik or a Star Dragon, I don't know if they're going to be able to kill a character like Sigvald. But you can see Plague Penguin is saving up. He has 1,800 supplies, but he spends 800 on some White Lines of Craze, which is a good choice. White Lions of Krace will be able to fight against Chaos Warriors pretty well. They have armor piercing, and yeah, they'll do a great job of it, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. On the other side, we see Devoted Marauders, as well as some Hellscourge Marauders moving towards the home objective of the Elves. So it looks like the forces of Slaanesh are going to be trying to press the objective on every single point that they possibly can, which makes sense. You know, the Prince of Excess isn't going to be content with just one point. He's going to want all three, and he's going to be greedy in the process. So the Archmage of Fire are going to be receiving some giant javelins up to the face here. Archmage is going to be pulling back at this point as the javelins continue to get a little bit of DACA, juking through the trees, trying to use some of the terrain to the advantage here. Spearmen maneuvering out on the side, and the White Lions of Krace are hustling up. Now, Elven Infantry, even their heavy infantry are kind of quick. 33 speed isn't bad for like a great weapon unit. Chaos Warriors, I think, well, Slaanesh Warriors are fast. They have 33 speed, but typically, like, I think the Nurgle great weapons are at like 28, and, often, like, big, heavily armored units are in that speed ballpark, so... 2 objectives owned by the Elves, and I think Slaanesh is content to just kind of bank up a big Doomsday force, aligning everything in the trees. So this is very menacing, just all these Chaos Warriors kind of chilling out in the tree lines. They got their whips, and their armor-piercing values did get buffed. I mean, they're still pretty terrible. They only have 6 AP, so they're not going to be super good at cutting through the Lothern Seaguard there. Not Lothern Seaguard, the Silvern Guard, but in general, they did get buffed. They used to have like 0 armor-piercing on those units, so they basically didn't get used at all. So Slaanesh summoning out more Devoted Marauders, and on the other side of the battlefield we see Rangers coming out. Rangers will be interesting here. I think Rangers will probably outtrade the Hellscourges, and the basic Devoted Marauders do have a bonus versus infantry, but I think Rangers do win that. Although Rangers do have 2,000 less HP for some reason, which is very, very strange. Why would Rangers have 2,000 less HP than some random Slaanesh Marauder unit? Maybe like it's a little bit of a strange one, but... it is what it is. They're elves. I guess elves are squishier. That's kind of just the lore. It's how it plays out. Let's not ask any questions. So Platypus is letting his opponent get a pretty substantial lead. We see 228 points to 98. But again, Platypus is scheming and probably is just waiting for critical massive units, waiting to kind of feel out his opponent's army, and is trying to decide on what he wants to do. And yeah, it looks like he's going to be going for a full concave. So he's getting Devoted Marauders all over the place and looking to just kind of, get everything alpha striking all at once. Which is what we like to call the Mordor tactic. It's like you basically just, you may seem like you're being defeated. You're back in Mordor. You're back in, Isengard. You're building up your legion of Uruk-hai. You're building up your legion of, orcs. And eventually you just pounce and nobody's expecting it. Gondor is unprepared, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of what I like to call the Mordor tactic. So if you hear me referring to that today, then, that's what it is. Fury's up in the sky as well. And now Slaanesh is going to be moving out of the trees, and they are going to be pressing. Basically, you just want to make sure that you don't... wait so long that your opponent can get a victory on just one objective here. So here they come. Chaos Warrior push, moving on up. And I can tell you from experience, if you're playing Khorne against High Elves, if you're playing Slaanesh, if you're playing Nurgle, spamming their Chaos Warriors is 100% the way to go. The Elves really do struggle to deal with those shielded boys. And yeah, they honestly have good enough stats that they can even trade into things that are supposed to counter them, like White Lions of Krace. Especially the Slaaneshi ones, since they just randomly have like physical resist. And the Mark of Slaanesh has no downside whatsoever. Nurgle has a downside, Khorne has a downside, Tzeentch doesn't. But again, Tzeentch isn't really like an overpowered faction, but Slaanesh, their Mark has no downside. So here it comes. The Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh going to be colliding with the Silvern Guard, who are braced up, and these Chaos Warriors, they got their whips out. I actually haven't watched too many of the attack animations, but the Dark Prince is here as well, looking extra glorious with his long golden hair as he smashes through these guys. And you can see the Silvern Guard probably going to be folding pretty quick with Prince Sigvald there. They'll hold okay, but yeah, Sigvald hits really, really hard, and we'll be able to kind of grind through those guys. Archer fire shooting in, but not really getting any crazy consolidated fire. It looks like there's going to be a pit of shades going down to the... Oh, no! That could be a really good pit. You can see right now the Plague Penguin's trying to get away, but it looks like the pit of shades does reach the White Lions of Krace and is going to be pulling those guys into the vortex. So they're going to be sacrificed. Their souls will be sent to Slaanesh, which is exactly what the Chaos Warriors here are looking for. And yeah, that was a brutal one. And you don't want to be stacking 2 infantry on top of each other. That's a very, very classic mistake. And that's going to be making you pay the troll toll. Fury's down to the back. It looks like they're going to be diving onto the Lothern Seaguard. Some of the Marauders do get past them and are able to get on the Lothern Seaguard. More Furies here. More Warriors getting in. Dude, all these archers are just getting shut down by something. There are so many Slaaneshi heretics running across the battlefield. They're just getting all over the place. Here, and here. And, the High Elves have really good peeling. Silverhelms, Reavers, but man, it's not going to be easy. Those Slaanesh units, with their physical resist, their immune psychology, you can't really terror route them off. It's going to be a hard press for sure. And the fact that Platypus is trading upwards, considering he's the one that moved into an archer line, is really, really not good. On the other side, we do see Hellstriders of Slaanesh coming in, able to get a little bit of damage on Rangers, now bouncing into the back of the Spears. More Furies coming in, more Hellstriders of Slaanesh looking to wrap around the back of the army. And Slaaneshi Furies are crazy strong because they have really good armor-piercing values, so they're able to kind of take down things like Silver Helms with a little bit of support. And the Devoted Marauders here just continuing to bump and grind through the Archer line while the Furies just keep chasing those Archers down. And honestly, it's looking a little bit tough for our boy Plague Penguin here. Granted, he is kind of keeping the value even, and he's managing to hold on to his home objective, and of course he did muster a little bit of a lead, but now Sigvald's going to be moving into the backfield, and once again, I feel like the Chaos Warriors, there's just nothing to deal with them. And normally kind of the whole thing is like the Elven Spheres will hold, but they won't win, and your backfield will win you your fight. But since the backfield is so compromised, what's going to happen is the Chaos Warriors are going to end up winning in the front, they're going to push through, and the Elves are just going to be stuffed super hard back in their own deployment zone. Now, the Elves are getting a couple minor victories right here. You can see the White Lines of Grace going to be chasing down these Devoted Marauders. Spearmen here able to hold back the Devoted Marauders. Obviously, Silvern are pretty stalwart, so they're able to kind of defeat chaff units, no surprises. And good peeling from the Plague Penguin back here as well. So it looks like he's kind of stabilizing one position in his backfield, using Reavers to kind of slowly kill off those Furies, and pulling the value back pretty even, actually. Plague Penguin at 36, Platypus at about 38. More Hellstriders of Slaanesh moving in, trying to peel off these Rangers. A little bit of an aggressive play attacking Rangers there. Probably should have gone after the Reavers, but, you know, obviously just the fury and frenzy of the moment, you know, overtaken by the glorious excess. It would appear to be the case. Nice Pit of Shades going down. Pit of Shades going to be going down here on the Lothern Seaguard, taking down one of the very expensive archer units. And here on this side, Slaanesh seems to have a very firm grasp on things. Here we see Devoted Marauder shutting down the Archers. Sigvald's going to be shutting down these Seaguard. And the Warriors are pretty healthy, right? We have Devoted Marauders in good shape here. These Warrior units, all of them are above 50%. Like, these guys are at full health. These guys are at 80%. These guys are at about 50%. And these Chaos Warriors are holding back 2 units in the forest. I honestly think these Rangers, as well as these Illyrian Reavers, will 100% lose to these Chaos Warriors in the forest. It's just going to be a very, very cost-effective 2v1. And those guys are going to pay the iron price. Platypus pulling ahead on value, which is not to be expected. As, you know, High Elves are a formation faction, typically speaking. I mean, they can be a single entity model cheese faction as well, but typically speaking, they're a formation faction. So when the formations break and things get chaotic, that's when, you know, quote unquote, a chaos faction is really going to shine. Like a fast faction that can, you know, have individually strong units that don't need formation, that are a little bit more individualistic. That's where, you know, Chaos loves it, right? So Sigvald here, just being the Prince of Excess, continuing to just shield bash and slap these guys into the Shadow Realms. Devoted Marauders going to be trading super cost effectively here. And we do see the Menacing Platypus starting to run away with the game. We don't see a triple cap yet, but I think it is on the horizon here. We see some Horsemen up in the point. Going to be smashed. A very, very nice counterplay here by the Plague Penguin, able to get a pick on those Marauder Horsemen, but more and more fast Slaaneshi Cav coming in. And it's really only a matter of time before all these Warriors move in. So Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. They're all just like almost in perfect health because there was nothing to really punish them. You know, no Sword Masters, nothing super elite. And now they're going to be moving in for the kill. And oh no, these Pit of Shades from Platypus have been so good. And he's willing to sacrifice a couple of his own heretics as well, if it means dragging down one of the only answers that the Elves have to his units, right? So the Chaos Warriors here get, you know, destroyed by that, but I think the White Lines of Grace certainly were on the receiving end of that fight, and those guys are going to be pushed back into the Shadow Realm as Slaanesh continues to just get the momentum. The home field objective also being pressured. Elves desperately trying to hold on to this one, but I just feel like once again, though the High Elves have actually had some decent success against Slaanesh in some recent tournaments that I've seen, it seems like the build mastery was really, really in favor of the Menacing Platypus. His build was so finely tuned to deal with the Plague Penguin's build. He had the Warrior spam, which was just a hard counter against the Silvern Guard, as well as the Lothern Seaguard spam. And yeah, Sigvald's a problem. And then like for the Elves, you wanted to see something like a dragon, something that could kill Sigvald, like Star Dragon breath attacks to come down and maybe kill those Chaos Warriors. But there was just not good cost-effective armor piercing. And once again, Slaanesh was able to just kind of, you know, get that armor. Sweet Sorrow going down right now, which is going to give the entire army. So these Chaos Warriors now have 41 movement speed. Hellstriders to Slaanesh going to absolutely dominate this fight. One of the best anti-large cav units in the game. I still think they need more nerfs. I think they need 50 to 100 gold more, and then I think they'll be okay. They weren't nerfed quite enough in the last patch, and they still just, you know, Slaanesh still has an 80% win rate, so clearly they haven't been nerfed enough. But it's not just them. It's also the fact that Slaanesh just has physical resist and ITP in all their units. It's pretty insane. And guys, another Pit of Shade's going to be coming down, but this time the Plague Penguin going to be mostly dodging it. Does get those units a little bit out, but more Slaanesh units going to be making their way in, and we do see the Chaos Warriors getting up on the point. Sigvald's on the point. Sigvald's going to bump and grind, and it does look like a tabling. I don't really see too much on the battlefield. And again, I think the build was just much better for Platypus. The play was pretty good on both sides. We saw good peeling from Plague Penguin. He was able to kind of defend his backfield as good as he possibly could, considering the inefficiency of his build. But yeah, just dealing with these warriors, dude, they're just so healthy. I mean, there's so many of them. And look at this fight in the forest that I was telling you guys about. These Chaos Warriors literally just smashed like 3 elf units. Just no mercy. So Sigvald and company, doing some glorious work over here for the Dark Prince. Going to be moving over, crushing the Zildorn Seaguard off the objective, and nothing here can kill Sigvald. Sigvald is one of the toughest units in the game to kill, like straight up. Like you really need to commit to kill him. And typically some sort of a dragon character, like a big fancy duelist character, can usually do the trick, like a monstrous dueling character, like a Cetra the Imperishable type dude. But if you don't have something like that, he's just going to sit on your objectives and just cause massive havoc. So Burning Head going down. Nice Burning Head right there. Is going to be getting those Marauders. But that's a triple cap. That is a 2,600 value lead for the Forces of Menacing Platypus, ladies and gentlemen. And he's coming for blood. He's coming to win this tournament. Like, all of his builds have been super clean. I haven't been seeing too many play errors, just maybe a little bit of a wild usage with his cavalry, but it seemed to work out fine. Seekers of Slaanesh, also an amazing cavalry unit against elves. They pretty much counter all of the elven cav units. They might not trade super well into the light kind of, light cavalry like Reavers, but typically they just are absolute linebackers, and they kill all the armor-piercing infantry. We see some more Hellstriders coming in with the devastating flanks, so here they come. Big charge, and the elves are going to be sandwiched and sent back to the Shadow Realm. Many of these souls will be claimed for Slaanesh this day, and I don't see any comeback for the elves. I think they're going to be tapping out in a matter of seconds, so we will have to see. GG, well played, 1,100 points, triple capped, 3,000 value lead just about. Obviously, the value lead is going to become more substantial as the game does kind of grind on in a one-sided fashion. And that is going to be a 2-0 lead, man. Platypus is coming for the victory today. Clean builds, clean execution, good army picks. Really playing super strong. So what is a Plague Penguin going to do to get back in the game? He obviously played like a penguin possessed yesterday, but we'll see what he can do to get back against Platypus. And I can tell you from experience, I played many games against Platypus. He's hands down one of the best players in the world, incredibly strong. And he's currently the #1 ranked player on our leaderboard as well, our tournament leaderboard. So obviously, no surprises here. GG, well played. High Elves can compete with Slaanesh, but the build just wasn't there. Yeah, this build was not good against the warrior spam. It was not good. Those warriors, they didn't do a ton of damage, but they also just didn't die, and they just kept grinding them down. Just the slow, painful death by Slaanesh. So that is going to be a 2-0 lead. One more game, and the Menacing Platypus will be advancing on to ye old grand finals. But will the Plague Penguin strike back? Find out here on the next episode, or the next battle, I should say. We're going to be on Death's Pass here, and let's see what they pick. We have a couple minutes. Platypus are dangerous animals. They are. So if you guys want to see the leaderboard, let me go ahead and show you real quick. So if you also want to kind of evaluate and like look at all the players and everything, you can go to our website here. So let me show you. And this is the Total War Warhammer Esports website, and heading on over right now. Just give me 1 second. Alrighty, and there we are. Perfect. So you have our leaderboard. You can see who the top players are. You can scroll down, you can see all this, and you can see their rankings and everything. And you can see currently Platypus is our #1 player. So he currently has 46 wins, 8 losses, 85% win rate. And yeah, he is just all business today. All business. He's going to be facing off against one of his potentially clanmates if he wins this. Well, actually, yeah, both of them are. Ulrich Rahl as well as Houseplant are both in his clan. So yeah, he's going to be, if he does win this, he's going to be playing one of those guys, 100%. But, don't count out the Plague Penguin, man. He's back. Let's see what he can do. And let's see if he can get back in the series. I would love to. I would love to see a game 5. That's where the magic really happens. Are there any legendary lords for Chaos Demons you'd actually buff cost-wise? They're in a good spot. Yeah, I think Chaos Demons and Be'lakor and company are in a good spot. Do you think a Phoenix would have been a good unit for this fight? Yeah, I do. I think like a single Flamespire or even an Arcane Phoenix could have been good, because they can kind of fight Sigvald a little bit, and they also have good armor piercing, so you could sit them on a unit of Chaos Warriors, and they would eventually kind of chew through them. There simply wasn't anything to deal with the armor. Like, there wasn't. The armor just was too much. Armor was way, way too much. Is Slaanesh, feasting on Eldar and or elves of 40? I think it happens in fantasy too. I think the one of the main quest battles that you play in the Slaanesh campaign is like fighting the High Elves. I think there's some history between them. Although I'm not a lore guy myself, I know the very topical lore of the factions I like the Empire, but generally speaking, I don't know the lore super well. So again, forgive me if I don't know that. How hard do you think Tzeentch needs to be buffed? I don't think they need to. I think Tzeentch actually, even though they don't have the highest win rate right now, I think that Tzeentch is pretty good. In the hands of the right players, they can do okay. They have really good magic. I think Tzeentch is, obviously going to get DLC someday, and you got to be careful with buffing them because they have some of the strongest mechanics in the game. Like the Tzeentch shields that regenerate are just insanely good. So I would be hesitant to buff them. I think Tzeentch is fine. Sorry, you meant the demon factions like Kugath, Slaanesh. Okay, so Kugath is okay. Inkari is probably just too expensive and too big of a target. And competitive multiplayer, granted, yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Inkari. Skarbrand is good. Skarbrand has a rampage. He fills his role. If you're looking for an absolute beast to just win fights and rampage things, Skarbrand's your man. And Kairos is really good. Kairos is a super meta pick. So if you're going to be playing Tzeentch, you often will see Kairos Fate Weaver. So yeah, that's the way of things. Okay, so waiting on the picks and bans from the admins here. And once again, if you guys are just joining today, here is the World Championship bracket. So you can see the history of yesterday's matches. We had Plague Penguin with a very decisive 3-0 over Cherry Blossom, and Platypus with a decisive 3-0 over his clanmate Andro. And now they're both playing in this best of 5 right now to decide who's going to be going on to the grand finals. And on the bottom side, Houseplant and Ulrich Rawl are currently playing right now. We're going to be casting that series via replays next. And then we'll be doing the grand finals live. Because I think the grand finals should be done live. I don't mind replays. It's fun. It's a little bit more efficient. But there's something like a live game that is truly magical. So that is the tale of the tape for the day. And we're all set, man. We're all set. Those are the games. Do we have the picks and bans yet? Let's find out. Not quite yet. Moors will be sending those over in just a moment. So stay tuned, my friends. Stay tuned. All right. And here we go. Outstanding. Yeah, RTK has really been quite strong. I mean, there are several, really competitive clans in Total War Warhammer. Some of them focus on domination, some of them focus on land battle. RTK, of course, I think is the most prominent domination, probably one of the most prominent domination clans at the moment. Like I think ODM focuses a little bit more on land battles, and VM I think is like a combination of both. They kind of play in a couple, but yeah, like as far as like pure domination players, like RTK really just focuses on that like 90%, if not more. It's like really their jam. So obviously they're going to be the dark wizards of that format, and that at least as far as my presence goes and my what I like to do, that is the premier format, is the domination. Land battles are fun though. I'm going to be having a big land battle tournament sometime in the next week or two, probably just after the holidays. So I'll be doing a faction war. So for anybody who's looking for some land battle action, we will have that as well. What faction has the best chances against Slaanesh? So taking a look at the data, let's see who's actually been able to beat Slaanesh the most. So I can tell you right now, I'm not sure. I've seen the Empire beat them. A lot of beating Slaanesh depends on the map too. So Slaanesh, according to... Wow, they actually have some losses against Dwarves, which is really strange. That must have been like a bit of a fluke there. Honestly, I mean, I don't see Slaanesh having any bad matchups, like really. They just seem like they're pretty good against everyone. Like... To be completely honest with you, I mean, they have an 80% win rate and, they don't really lose too much. A lot of their losses have just come from mirror matches too against other Slaanesh players, according to our data, which is pretty funny. So yeah, that is that, which is pretty hilarious. Okay. So picks and bans are going to be coming in. Let's go ahead and switch on over and take care of that. So these are from the last game. Platypus is up 2. Let's take these guys off and let's show you guys the old picks and bans. So, Blood Penguin is going to be going Slaanesh. Clearly felt the wrath of Slaanesh. And we got Khorne as the other faction being picked. And it's going to be Kislev. What? No way. Kislev being picked. Okay. Banning Skaven. So the Skaven have been banned, which is very smart because on this map, the map we're on is Death Pass, which is a very choke point heavy map where Skaven Globadiers are just going to be cackling and, well, whatever rats do when they laugh is what would be going down there. So those are going to be the picks for Blood Penguin. Down 2-0 in the series. Down but not out. And now it's time for Platypus to pick one faction and ban one of his opponents. So we have Grand Cathay being picked here for Platypus. Platypus, OG Cathay player. He's been playing them for quite some time. Even when Cathay was considered to be pretty bad in old domination, he played them. It was very fun. And the Blood Penguin is going to go Slaanesh. So, you guys wanted to see if other factions could beat Slaanesh. Well, you're about to find out. We have Grand Cathay versus Slaanesh here on Death's Pass, ladies and gentlemen. The die is cast. The armies will now be built. So give us about 5 minutes, and we'll be starting our next game, which should be pretty good. Yeah, man, life's good. How you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Yeah, everything's good. So it is going to be Cathay against Slaanesh. How do you do this? Fire rain rockets? I feel like using artillery is a little bit dicey considering that they can just dive you with Furies. But yeah, Iron Hails and a choke point, like Iron Hail Gunners and Jade Warriors. Jade Warriors with Harmony will actually outtrade Slaaneshi Marauders. So maybe you just have a harmonious front line in the middle, backed up by Iron Hails, a couple Iron Hails to deal with armor, and then also some crossbows. You might need to bring a big dragon character too, because Sigvald, like, I don't know how a Grand Cathay kills Sigvald effectively unless they have like a big dragon character. Like, that's one of the big weaknesses. I mean, you could bring a Terracotta Sentinel, actually. Maybe like a wild Terracotta Sentinel to just kind of sit there and battle Sigvald. That could actually be really, really interesting. I don't know. Terracottas are just, yeah, the problem is Slaanesh is immune to terror routes. Their entire roster is immune to psychology, which is pretty overpowered. So, like, I don't like the idea of bringing like a big terror-causing monster there. It just seems like you're like missing out on so much of the value. Yeah, you're missing out on so much of the value. Yeah, Platypus is really, really good with Grand Cathay, or at least he was last time I saw him play them, which was a while back, but I'm sure he's got a scheme. Clearly, RTK has been training in the shadows, preparing for every and all circumstances that you could run into. I'm a little bit sad because we did miss out on Kislev. I thought we might get a Kislev game there. I saw them being picked in the pool, and I have to admit, I got very, very excited. Why was Skaven such an easy ban? So, let me explain. If you take a look at Death's Pass as a map, let's mouse over here. You can kind of see it on the little tooltip here. There's a very, very tight choke point in the middle where the middle objective is, right? So Skaven don't have to worry about being flanked, which is one of their big weaknesses, outside of a really wide flanks. And Globadiers, Skaven are like the dark lords of punishing you in a choke point with Globadiers and mortars and things like that, and occupying you with chaff. Skaven are really nasty on this map. This is like a hardcore Skaven favored map. So that's why they were banned on this. It's a map thing. And, you know, just like in any other RTS game, if you're playing StarCraft, there's going to be maps where you want to ban Protoss or you want to ban Terran or Zerg because they can easily take an extra expansion. You know, there's a lot of variables as it pertains to maps. Like, there's some maps where Slaanesh actually isn't that good, and there's maps where Slaanesh is better. And, you know, honestly, once again, we see Platypus taking advantage of that because this is a map where Slaanesh isn't super good. That's not to say that Slaanesh can't win, because even when Slaanesh isn't super good on a map, they're still probably better than almost every other faction in the game, just because they're overtuned. But, you know, this is one of the worst maps for Slaanesh, I would say. 100%. Is there any lore-friendly cavalry that Skaven could add? Well, they already have it. Skaven, basically, the chieftains, as well as the packmasters and some of the characters, they ride on brood horrors and rat ogres. So yeah, Skaven do have mounts, and they're already in the game. I just think the mounts are kind of rare amongst the Skaven, so I don't think they give them to the average, like, rank and file, like clan rat or, you know, whatever. So I think that's why we don't see, like, you know, like whole units riding rat ogres, right? Yeah, that's the case. All right, guys, here it is. Grand Cathay facing off against Slaanesh. An exciting matchup. As a matter of fact, this is the one. So we made Platypus a custom avatar on our leaderboard for having won this exact matchup back in one of the first big events we had. It was with one of Creative Assembly's events back when Warhammer 3 first launched. So Platypus clearly is no stranger to this matchup. So you see what I'm saying about the choke point here? It's a very, very, very tight area to fight. So if you're moving in there and Skaven just plug it with like 100 Skaven slaves, which have a cumulative value of like 1,000 gold, and then they just like blow you to pieces with mortars and artillery, you're not going to have a good time. You're really, really not going to have a good time at all. So for the forces of Grand Cathay, it is going to be a battle line of Long Spearmen, Jade Warriors, and Iron Hails and Bows. So just like we talked about in the pregame analysis. Exactly. Iron Hail Gunners are going to be able to give you some armor piercing so they can shoot Chaos Warriors. They could shoot Sigvald if he gets an open field. It's still not easy, but that's going to be the hardest thing for Grand Cathay to deal with, is going to be Sigvald. And the Lord is going to be a dragon-blooded Shugengun Lord of Yin. So he's going to be having Talons of the Night, or she, as well as Storm of Shadows. So that is going to be it. Talons of the Night, one of the better AoE spells in the game. Now for Slaanesh, it's going to be the Heretic Horde looking to press all three objectives. So we got Sigvald. We also have this very cool looking Chaos Sorcerer. I think the Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh looks super cool. Pit of Shade's obviously very, very good against these high elf style factions, right? Devoted Marauders, Devoted Marauders, 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 and more Marauders. So basically, Slaanesh is going to be going for all 3 objectives. Cathay isn't really good at that. They're not good at kind of defending all these points here. So he's going to be sending units to every single point, and even if he loses on value, he's going to be looking to win on points just by grabbing all 3 of them very, very aggressively and forcing Cathay back. And that's a classic tactic against Grand Cathay that's been used for quite some time, where basically you just try and force them back and, kind of grind them down. And eventually they might push you back, but it'll be too late for them. Like, they'll be ahead of you in value, but Cathay is really bad at grabbing objectives. Like, they're slow. Their infantry are rather slow at 28 speed, and they just don't have good killing power in melee, so they're not good at pushing you up off objectives. But as far as like a defensive position goes, they certainly do not mess around. So, should be good. All right. Let's have some water. So somebody in chat has a question. If factions can get vetoed, how big does a player's faction pool need to be competitive? Good question, my friend. So, to answer that, typically what I recommend is that if you are looking to just get started in tournaments, I think you need to be proficient at least 3 factions. I would say that's going to be a safe bet because typically, people are going to be banning the most overpowered factions, so you'll be safe with 3. However, if you want to be like a top tier competitive player, I would say you need 5. I think that's really the go-to. Myself, I'm really like kind of practiced at maybe like 3 or 4 factions, but outside of that, I kind of run into issues sometimes once you get into a really deep best of 5 type series because, I'm really like only practiced with the Empire and Khorne and a couple other factions like the Dwarves. So I would say 5 is like really the sweet spot if you want to be like a really competitive, like top tier tournament player. But if you want to be a mid-level or even like low, mid, upper, like kind of upper tier, you can still win tournaments being good at 3. I would say 3 is really the sweet spot. So hopefully that answers your question, my friend, and thank you for joining. So on the other side, we got Devoted Marauders, as well as some of the dreaded Chaos Furies coming out. I really like the idea of sending Sigvald to the middle and just being like, come at me, because there's literally nothing in this Cathay army that can deal with him. He's just an unholy nightmare. Silver shields, 100 armor, so the bows will do nothing against him. He also passively regenerates because of the auric armor, and it's a good regeneration too. It's 0.20 per second. It only tanks when his leadership is, basically, he has to be broken to not be getting healed. And Sigvald is basically unbreakable. He's got, 100 base leadership, which is just insane. I don't think it used to be that way. He did get buffed, but even before his buffs, he was used, in a very niche manner, but he's really come to shine in domination mode because of how good and durable he is at just kind of fighting on points. But even in land battle, Sigvald is still often used because he's just such a nightmare to kill that, Sigvald, if you don't have the proper answer for him and he's the only thing left, he can literally solo, your whole army if it's just, cheaps and, troops and things like that. So Sigvald's there, chilling on the side point. I think a little bit too heavy on the Marauders here. I think these guys need to come. Just leave 1 spear back there. There you go. All right, so those guys are going to be moving. I think you just chill here with 1 unit and just kind of grab that objective, and now they're going to be sweeping across. Grand Cathay isn't really going to be threatening any of your points, right? They're not. So this objective should capture before the Marauders get off. So yeah, he's not even going to be defending the back point, which I think is a good call, because if Grand Cathay gets wild and kind of ambitious, they could summon some peasant horsemen to go try and steal this, but then Slaanesh is just going to be summoning a Hellstrider to kill you in 2 seconds. So I think that's the way. Ooh, look at that, Mirror Garter out, and nice cast there by the Platypus. Platypus is so good at casting those vortex effects, so good. And now the Mirror Guard, one of the most elite units here on the field for Slaanesh, is down to 40%. Super good cast there. And that wasn't easy. They were moving, and he timed that perfectly. So Bowfire is going to be going into your boy Sigvald. He's going to be eating some of those shots, but right now Slaanesh does have a double cap, and I think Slaanesh needs to get a triple cap if they really want to win this game. So we see a couple Devoted Marauders here on the side. Definitely get those guys in there and have them start fighting. There's no reason to not have them fight, I don't think. Especially with some Furies nearby. The Furies could move in here and maybe shut down some of the Iron Hills there and cause some problems. But nonetheless, the middle objective is going to be held by the forces of Slaanesh. Slaanesh does have the double cap. But again, they had a double cap last game, and it wasn't quite enough for them to, or at least in one of the earlier games against the Elves here. Oh, big Daka going down, Storm of Shadows. And this is the problem. If you, even put yourself slightly out of position against the dreaded Platypus, its venom will strike. And here, the Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows is going to be getting pounded by Iron Hail Gunner Fire. It looks like there's going to be a good Pit of Shades, but that was some brutal damage to that Slaanesh caster. As the Pit of Shades does come down, which is going to be very, very nice. Going to be going down to the Iron Hail Gunners. And now the Slaaneshi Horde is moving in. But man, Platypus is so good with these Vortexes. Using the Vortex to blunt the Slaaneshi charge. Stopping these Devoted Marauders. And now the other Marauders are moving in. But look how he places the guns. He places them in a formation so they can see through the seams in the opening. Just truly masterful play. And oh my god, those Furies got shot to pieces by the Iron Hail Gunners. Truly the Lord of Grand Cathay. So now we see the Heretics retreating. The Caster is beat up. We see the Prince Sigvald's a little bit damaged. And the forces of Slaanesh are going to be pulling back while they go to steal the back objective. And there is going to be a Talons of the Night. No, the Wujing! The Wujing War Compass is here. Oh, yeah, dude. Sign me up for this. Where's the dreaded Wujing comment? That's what I'm here to see. I want to see that bad boy. So the Wujing War Compass is on its way across. We do see Chaos Furies moving down, so the gun's going to be potentially shut down, but the Wujing War Compass going to be dropping a fat Comet of Cassandora right here, which is going to be nasty. Boom! Right on top of those devoted Marauders. That's going to be breaking them. Now, of course, these Furies are causing a little bit of a problem, being shot by bows, and also the Dragon-Blooded Lord going to be moving in to try and peel them off. And overall, it seems like Grand Cathay is holding very, very well here on this side. And Cathay is a very durable holding faction, very similar to the Dwarves. When they have their Harmony going, which they have in all their units, they're getting like just an insane stat buff. And now the Heretics going to be moving in the front. But you see the downside being is that Slaanesh does have all three objectives. But will Grand Cathay be able to kind of kill these Heretics quick enough to get the pushback and get those points? We'll have to see. So in the side point, we do see Slaanesh holding on. They do have their devoted Marauders, but it looks like there's a little bit more capture weight here for the forces of Menacing Platypus. It would appear that the Wujing War Compass is going to be dropping another Urandan Thunderbolt right here, so that should do some pretty good damage. Look at the most dreaded piece of war machinery in the old world. The War Compass is here. I love seeing it, man. The War Compass is so cool. Nonetheless, Slaanesh seems to be bouncing off the Cathay army pretty darn hard. Sigvald sitting back here kind of scratching his head, a little bit of a misplay. Sigvald should be moving through the main army and getting on top of missiles and, slowly dragging them down. But honestly, I think this is going to be a very, very convincing 3-0 here for the forces of Platy. I simply don't see any way that the Plague Penguin's going to be able to come back in this series. It's just looking so dominant. Platypus is really playing for keeps today. His formations are flawless. His army selection is really, really good. And, he's causing problems for his opponents, that's for sure. A little bit of lag there. Apologies for that, my friends. Iron Hail Gunners shooting into the side of the Mirror Guard. The Mirror Guard, of course, one of Slaanesh's best infantry units, but they are no match for the dreaded shotguns to the face strategy. So the old Iron Hail Gunners going to be moving up, getting in position, probably moving to the side of them, looking to get a down the line shot, or maybe preparing for the second wave of Heretics, as the triple cap is still in the hands of Slaanesh, which is, kind of scary, although the back objective looks like it's going to be retaken right now, so the last of these devoted Marauders are being broken off. And this objective is going to be flipping for Grand Cathay, which will be taking quite a bit of pressure off them. So Prince Sigvald the Magnificent moving up, finally, a little bit late to the party. He's going to be jumping in to attack the Iron Hail Gunners, but I think it's simply going to be too late. Iron Hail is just blasting away at these units. Slaanesh trying to rally some forces, trying to hold on to these points, but I guess there's the argument to be made that, maybe they would struggle to get the points back in time, but I think they have enough time for sure, as Cathay's bows and guns are all pretty functional. Another Storm of Shadows going down right there, or Talons of the Night, which is going to be punishing these devoted Marauders. The bows still putting really, really good saturated firepower into the Hellstriders, as well as the Marauder Horsemen back here. And your boy Sigvald doing what he does best. He's just kind of chasing, he's moving, going after the old Iron Hail Gunners. So there he goes, the big karate chop of doom. And now we have the Jade Warrior Halberds moving up to the point, going to be trying to get up on Objective 2. And fight for that one. They should be able to. Now, looking at the capture weight on the objective, Grand Cathay does have 2 infantry units, so their capture weight, probably considering the damage, is about 8 right now, but it's soon to become 13 and maybe even 15. So they're going to be pulling the capture weight from Slaanesh here as soon as those halberds get up. Fascination going down. One of Slaanesh's army abilities is going to be rampaging these Iron Hail Gunners. Not a bad play for sure. Slaanesh trying to kind of get around the sides with some cavalry, and they do get their Hell Scourges to battle against Peasant Horsemen. Hell Scourges are not anti-large, but they still will outtrade Peasant Horsemen, no problem. And Grand Cathay has their back objective. How soon will it be until they get the middle objective? It looks like Slaanesh knows that they've been absolutely crushed in value, so they're just going to be sending up cheap Marauder units to try and keep the capture weight on the point for as long as possible. And it would appear they're going to be just trying to win on objectives, which isn't going to be easy. I mean, they're just over halfway there to the victory, and they only have 2 points, right, which is a little bit precarious. And there's going to be another brutal Vortex going down. Man, he is so good at those. Those Vortexes are just always on point. Really, really clutch timing. As you see the Jade Warriors just standing, shield to shield, shoulder to shoulder, ready for these Barbarians. And they will be able to kind of hold them at the metaphorical Great Bastion here. It's always cool to see Order Tried factions doing some work against Chaos. I have to say, Chaos has been kind of oppressive in Game 3, so it's nice to see the Order Tried factions being figured out and doing well against these very powerful factions. Objective, is it going to be flipping here? Slaanesh is moving up. It's currently 225 to 847, right? So it's getting a little bit shady. On the other side, we see Peasant Horsemen and Jade Lancers moving for the triple cap. One of the Hellstriders of Slaanesh coming over, which is going to be tough. But Jade Lancers plus Peasant Horsemen should be able to win that fight 2v1 and then maybe take that objective, especially if something else is sent over. And it looks like Platypus is going to be sending some Iron Hails as well as Jade Lancers, pretty much knowing that he's probably already won the middle objective. It's only a matter of time before Slaanesh is pushed off here. So he's going to need to kind of get his bearings and get that third objective because, you know, it's getting a little bit scary. The forces of Slaanesh are almost at 1,000 points. And, you know, that's kind of the trade-off in domination mode. You can sit back and really take advantage of your defensive spawn, but you're going to be giving up points, and that can be obviously a big issue. But it really can only be done against factions that can't shoot, right? Because the shooting factions are just going to trade with you at range, and, you know, the spawns aren't going to be as big of a variable as it is when a rush faction's trying to get in there. But Halberd's fighting, Sigvald's still bumping and grinding here, and the objective is going to be flipping for Grand Cathay. Simply too many Cathay soldiers on the point, each of which are relatively healthy and in good spirits. Now on the back point, we see the Hellstriders of Slaanesh waiting with their overpowered anti-large attacks to battle against the Peasant Horsemen. But Jade Lancers are coming in droves. We have double Jade Lancer, Iron Hail Gunners, and the dreaded Wujing War Compass is back, baby. Here it comes. No mercy. Dude, look how cool this thing is. It just reminds, whenever I see so many of the Cathay units remind me of Avatar, the last, the Airbender show. And yeah, they're just so cool. Yeah, so here it comes. We see the old Wujing War Compass coming up to bend some air. I guess I suppose he would be like an airbender, right? He's like using heaven's magic. But Jade Lancers will do okay, especially if the Hellstriders don't get the charge. They're going to get punished. So the Jade Lancers do intercept these heretics, and the Hellstriders of Slaanesh there are going to be just run into the Shadow Realm. So GG to those guys. More Hellstriders on their way over. And more Slaanesh Cav. This is like desperation mode for Slaanesh. But Slaanesh would need to hold on to this point for a long time. They have lost the middle, and Grand Cathay just has an unholy bastion of units. And they're going to be able to probably send some infantry units over to the side point, and they just have such a critical mass of Jade Lancers, and Iron Hail Gunners are here now too, with Peasant Horsemen, and it looks like there's going to be some Peasant Long Spearmen, Gunners, and Iron Hails are there. Platypus has plenty of time. Each objective only gives you 1 point per second, so you can see that it's going to be a really, really long run for sure. So here they come, Peasant Horsemen maneuvering, Jade Lancers maneuvering, Iron Hail Gunners waiting for the heretics. Probably going to be posturing up on the hill. And this is kind of the last stand of the Plague Penguin as well as, you know, his Slaaneshi forces. Going to be getting a charge here into the Peasants. A little bit of lapse in micro from Platy, but it looks like he responds pretty quickly. Jade Lancers pulling in, getting a big charge as the old Peasants do eat the charge from those heretics here. And another downhill charge from the Jade Lancers for the Dragon Emperor. They yell as they charge into these forces. And looks like Slaanesh is going to fold like a piece of paper, which is, you know, how it should be. Slaanesh should be a very, very squishy faction. And right here, it looks like there's going to be some sort of magic going down. I'm not sure what. Looks like it is the dreaded Wujing War Compass from the high ground, dropping a Uran and Thunderbolt. And this objective is for sure going to be flipping very, very soon. You can see the capture weight is already in the forces of Grand Cathay. Sigvald's tough to remove. And looks like in the middle, it's just a couple kind of very, very tattered Slaaneshi forces. Mostly just some devoted Marauders here. And some of those guys kind of getting beat up. A little bit of a back cap attempt. We do see some devoted Marauders, which actually will outcap 2 Peasant Spearmen since they are expendable units, which means their capture weight is only 2, and the devoted Marauders are 5. But, you know, I would imagine that it's going to take a while, and Grand Cathay could simply send 1 cap unit over there, and they would probably be able to do that. But you can see, like, how badly Slaanesh is getting pounded in value. They're still keeping the game a little bit dicey, right? It's truly a testament to how just like straight up overpowered that faction is. Because any other faction would just be like straight up dead in the water right now. They would not be having too many chances. So Jade Warriors coming down. The Wujing War Compass going to be dropping what appears to be a Comet of Cassandora. 1 Comet to rule them all, 1 to bind them as the Hellstriders of Slaanesh. Nope, it's going to be a Thunderbolt. I got really excited for the Comet, but you know, Thunderbolt will have to take it. Dragon-Blooded Lords also very good fighters. As far as caster characters go in Total War Warhammer, the Dragon-Blooded Cathay Lords are some of the better, like just straight up combat casters in tandem with Chaos Sorcerers. They're very, very good fighters. They have 55, 40, 400 plus weapon strength when they're not poisoned and or debuffed. And this objective is going to be flipping for the Dragon Emperor as we see an attempted back cap, but it's going to take too long. Like, by the time they get this objective, what's going to happen is Cathay would be to the point where they could win on 2 objectives, so it doesn't really matter that they're getting this sneaky back cap. It wasn't close enough. So, yeah, we saw Wujing War Compass yesterday. I know some of you guys might be saying this is like a bit of a meme, right? Like the Wujing War Compass, but we did see the dreaded Wujing War Compass used yesterday also. I don't remember if that was by Platypus, but nonetheless, it seems to be an okay piece because the Wujing War Compass does give you extra winds of magic as well, and it did get a cost reduction, so it gives you 20% power recharge, extra spell damage on all your spells, and also gives you 2 spells in general. So, GG, well played! And with that, we see the Dark Prince fall to the forces of the Dragon Emperor. Well played to the Plague Penguin. Getting top 4 in the Total War Warhammer World Championship is no small feat. These are the best players in the world. So Plague Penguin, hold your little penguin beak up high. Stay proud, and I hope to see you back in future tournaments. You're always truly a great player to watch. And he's also an Empire main. Empire was banned this series, but he is one of the best Empire players in the entire world. So shout out to Plague Penguin. Very, very well played. Platypus is not an easy foe. And now the menacing Platypus is going to be advancing on to the Grand Finals. It has happened with Grand Cathay. Very cool game. Iron Hail Master. We do have the Wujing War Compass coming in and sending a message to all Chaos forces around the realm. Do not message with the Dragon Emperor. And that is going to be that. All right. Very cool. GG. So now we are going to be setting up the next game. So let me get the brackets updated from these fine players here. So where are we? All right. And let's go ahead and get this. So brackets, please. There we go. So Morris is going to send me the updated brackets, and we'll get that in just a second as we take a look at the value here in the armies. Dragon-Blooded Lord, 1,500. You can see the crossbows. 1,000 value. Man, these bows did really good. And Cathay shooting is very strong as well. I mean, 750, 1,000, 720. Iron Hail Gunner's just an awesome unit. They didn't get much value, but they were certainly a deterrent, right? They kept Sigvald honest. Without the Iron Hails, he would have just been going bananas. Jade Lancers are also a good unit. I mean, they're basically just Empire Knights. They're the same thing. They just have a slightly... You know, it's like that meme from The Office. Show me the difference between this picture. There really isn't much. They just do the exact same thing. Plague Penguin. Let's see what he had success with. You know, getting his caster shotgun in the beginning was kind of rough. Getting the really expensive Mirror Guard blasted. The Devoted Marauders, maybe a little bit anticipated. Maybe like a Warrior Wall could have been good, right? Like something like what we saw before. Like a more durable Slanesh build that's designed to hold the points longer despite losing out on value. Maybe that could have been the way. I am not 100% sure. All right, so we're going to be getting the bracket. Should be updated in just a second. And taking a look at what we got going on for today, heading on over. The next match we're going to be casting is between Houseplant and Ulrich Rahl. So that will be going down in a best-of-5 series. The winner of that series will be going on to the Grand Finals to face off against ye old Platypus, which, again, we'll have the updates for you in just a moment. So here we go, guys. I'm going to refill my water. I'll be back in just a second. So thank you guys all for joining. It's been a super, super fun stream so far. And we'll be starting our next series in just a moment. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. Click the wrong button. Hold on, just with the power of technology, I will fix this. I swear this as your emperor. Hope you're all doing well. And it is time to take a look at the tail of the tape. So for today, we have Platypus in the grand final. We're going to be jumping into the next match in just a moment, just getting the replay all set up there. But Platypus with the defeat over the Blood Penguin 3-0. And now we have our first match, which is going to be going down between Ulrich and Houseplant. So we'll get that started in just a second. We're going to be taking a look at their picks and bans. And let us go ahead and see how this is going. So yes, it is Ulrich Rawl versus the Houseplant. Two top players. These guys, if you've ever followed our community tournaments, they are two individuals who, when they do play, are typically at the higher echelon of these tournaments. So let's go ahead and take a look at their picks and bans. There we go, and thank you all for joining. So here we go. All right, so picks and bans for the series. Ulrich Rawl versus Houseplant, game 1. And it would appear that the global bans for the series are Vampire Counts, Empire, Warriors of Chaos, and Slaanesh. Very interesting to see the Empire being globally banned twice today. So in this series, there's going to be no Vampire Counts, there's going to be no Empire, no Warriors of Chaos, and no Slaanesh. For the first pick coming in here from Houseplant, it is going to be the Demons of Chaos, followed up by Norska, which seems to be a very, very common. That's what he's been playing for most of the tournament, and the Dark Elves as well. And no ban. Ulrich Rawl is going to be responding with the Demons of Chaos. So that's going to be his... No, that's not his ban. That's his pick. There's no Beastmen here. And it's going to be the Demons of Chaos. And is Ulrich going to be banning anything? Yes, he actually opts to ban Demons of Chaos himself. Demons of Chaos making a comeback, man, which is great. Love to see it. The counterplay from the Houseplant is going to be the Dark Elves. So Dark Elves are here. First match of the day is going to be Dark Elves versus the Demons of Chaos. Certainly a fun one. I dig it, man. This is going to be a good duel of fates, to say the least. All right, guys. Hey, how you doing, Okoi? Hope you're doing well. All right. So let's load in. Let's have some fun. Once again, want to sincerely thank you all for joining. And we will get this match started as we load in with the Demons of Chaos versus the Dark Elves in game 1. So, Ulrich Rawl is going to be our Demons of Chaos player. Of course, he's going to be coming in with Bellicor, who is the Dark Prince. You know, he is the Demon of Chaos. And, you know, understandably, he's one of the strongest characters in the entire game. A crazy good duelist, extremely durable, good lore of magic. Shadows is obviously very meta as well. So that's really also one of the reasons why, you know, he is very, very commonly picked. So, on top of that, we got a Soul Grinder of Tzeentch. Soul Grinder of Tzeentch is a good choice against the forces of the Dark Elves because the Soul Grinder can throw the Poseidon Javelins, and it's really, really good at taking down, you know, Scourge Runner Chariots, you know, any number of monsters, and also is a good fighter itself. We got Blue Horror Spam with the Festering Stooges coming in as well. Yes, you can ban one of your opponent's picks, then pick it yourself. Correct. You can do that, Ian, in that phase, but as it pertains to the global bans, in global bans, they cannot be played by either player in the entire series. But in that case, yes, you can pick the Demons of Chaos and ban them yourself. So if you think your opponent would pick a mirror match against you, it's often not a bad idea. Now, looking at the forces of Houseplant, Houseplant's going to be coming in here with Malice Meme Blade. Oh yeah, dude, sign me up. We love Malice. Malice is great. He's kind of like Sigvald, very durable, very fighty, but of course does have access to a mount as well. In the front, it's going to be Corsair Handbow Spam, Corsair, Spears, and a Firecaster to kind of, you know, try and rob zombie these guys. You got to burn through the witches and, you know, all that sort of good stuff. So, Blackheart Corsairs of Houseplant are going to be moving up, dropping some Bowfire here into the Soul Grinder. Soul Grinder going to be juking and dodging, and very, very sneaky this thing is. It does have 75 speed. And Bellicor comes in and actually attacks Malice and is really, really showing him who's boss. Malice Darkblade taking some pretty substantial damage, down to 4,000 HP, and Bellicor appears to really, really be aggressively... Is he, like, pushing him? Is Bellicor, like, pushing him off the side of the battlefield or something? What's going on? Oh my goodness. Yes, I will get the overlay mod going in the next game. Thank you so much. Sorry guys, I haven't had my coffee yet. Still getting going. I'm trying to keep it all exciting here. Demon's Curse is active. So Malice is like, okay, I can't really get away from you. You're faster. He does pop the Blood Price and the Demon's Curse. But Dark Master coming down from Bellicor is going to be debuffing him as well. And you can see Malice Darkblade's having a really bad time. Now, what this is going to force is, Malice is going to have to unleash his own demon. So Zarkan is going to have to come out and battle one of his good friends here, Bellicor. I'm sure they hang out and, you know, go to demon diners together and have, you know, some coffee and eggs and bacon, all that sort of good stuff. But, oh no. Oh, Malice, do not naturally break. That would be the worst start for Houseplant. He better go demon form. Oh my god, he better go demon form. Okay, Malice is broken, but he does manage to turn into Zarkan before that happens. So now he's going to be able to fight back a little bit against Be'lakor in his demon form, and it looks like the Fleshhounds of Khorne are going to be descending on him. Oh my goodness, what a rough one. That is such a bad start for the forces of the Druchii. However, the rest of the Dark Elf army seems to be doing okay. Obviously, the Nurglings here getting pounded. This objective is going to be taken. The low ground objective here actually could be taken by the Dark Elves as well. So the Dark Elves are having really, really good map control. But aside from that, the beginning was just very rough. I mean, if Malice had been routed there before he could have gone demon form, that would have just been so incredibly rough. Would have been so incredibly rough. So Malice Darkblade attacking Fleshhounds back here. Nah, he's content to do that. Nice bit of shades going down from Be'lakor, but Be'lakor did not come out of that fight unscathed. He certainly took a little bit of damage. Up at the high ground, big Burning Head going down as well. The Burning Head doing substantial damage against the Blues, also getting into the Festering Stooges, breaking the shields of these Pinks as the Dark Elf forces pile in from all angles. And the Dark Elves do seem to be winning the battlefield trading, or at least doing very, very well in that regard. The Corsairs are fighting good targets, you know, grinding through these Blues. The Burning Heads have been pretty on point. The Dark Elves have a nice stranglehold on this objective. Be'lakor kind of being harried and poked and shot down by all these bow units. So even though Houseplant did have a relatively disastrous start in that situation, he still seems to be doing pretty well for himself as he does continue to put some heavy focus fire here into your boy Be'lakor. Now, down on the low ground, are the Druchii going to be able to take this point? And we do have the Corsair Handbows kiting the Nurglings. A couple Dark Riders standing idle here. These guys need to certainly move in and go after the Nurglings here if they can. And the Soul Grinder of Tzeentch, you know, is still a good armor-piercing monster, able to move in and pin in these Blackheart Corsairs, but it's not like a great anti-infantry crowd-clearing tool. And Malice Meanblade, even though he had a very bad start, is still a force of nature. I mean, he's somewhat healthy. And what's really cool is in Warhammer 3, they changed it so Malice's healing outscales the damage that the demon does to him. So Malice, assuming, you know, he isn't being killed quickly by something, will always reach his healing cap just naturally from his demon form, which is good. So you get the benefits of being unbreakable and being a scary, you know, demon and all that. And you also, you know, don't just go down and get wrecked. Nurglings on the point. Dark Riders could probably clear them off in tandem with these Blackheart Corsairs. Up at the high ground where the real epicenter of fighting is taking place, we do see the objective being flipped by the demons. So the remnants of these Corsairs obviously routed off by Be'lakor and company. And we do see Seekers of Slaanesh coming in. Seekers of Slaanesh are a really good unit. They have amazing armor piercing, which makes them a really, really good counter against the Corsair infantry, which typically the demons do struggle with. Corsair Handbow is going to be pulling back, but we do see some Coldwood Knights being pulled in. I don't know about committing the Coldwood Knights here. I'm not a big fan of that idea. I feel like they're going to get overwhelmed by Be'lakor. I think just pulling them back and rerouting them to the low ground would have been a slightly stronger point. But the Coldwood Knights end up committing to the fight, and they do get some really, really good damage against the Seekers. And thankfully for them, Be'lakor did not commit to the fight. But here you can see the Melkoths and the Poison, the Seekers and the Blues might be able to drag down those rather expensive Dark Elf units. On the low ground, it looks like it's a big, big win for the Druchii, as we do see the Nurglings getting popped, the little popcorn men not having the best of times. Malice Darkblade, of course, is going to help them win this fight. And the Dark Elves are maintaining a solid double cap, might even threaten another triple cap here, as the Corsair Handbows continue to just kind of sit on the side point. We have the Spears winning their trades against Nurglings, which isn't surprising. Corsairs fighting Blues in melee. Blues are pretty god-awful in melee. They're okay, but they're going to be losing to any sort of a Corsair-type unit. And Be'lakor is going to have a lot of his work cut out for him for sure. And will he be able to be everywhere on the battlefield at once? We'll certainly find out here in this old game. So the Dark Prince, looks like there's some sort of a Burning Head coming down. Nice one. It does hit the Festering Stooges. Festering Stooges do regenerate, but it's a different type of regeneration. They're not actually weak to fire. It's like Nurgle's special brew. Whereas normal regenerating units like Trolls are weak to fire, these guys are not, because their regeneration is done through the Festering Gate, which is Nurgle healing, and it actually resurrects models as well, which is pretty crazy. So Festering Stooges are one of the tankier units in the game for sure. Incredibly tough to get rid of. In the backfield, we do see the Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows, and a Fascination attempt going down from the Demons of Chaos. That is one of the Slaanesh army abilities. So if you guys are new to the game, you've obviously probably seen how the various Chaos factions get army abilities. Well, how it works with Demons of Chaos, just like it does in campaign, is you get random army abilities. So they got the Slaanesh one in that case, and were able to use it on the Dark Riders. Be'lakor getting a little bit beat up, though. All the perpetual kind of poking from these handbows, even though it's not like a ton of burst damage, seems to be doing some good work. As we do see your boy Be'lakor here kind of getting flattened a little bit by that. Spears continuing to win their fights on the other side. Demons extending in, moving in with Blues, trying to shut down some of the shooting. But the Bleak Swords are one of the better chaff units in the game. Bleak Swords are actually really, really good. They have amazing combat stats. They got a really substantial buff from CA a while back. 36, 32, 35, murderous prowess, all that sort of good stuff. Now, big Pit of Shades going down as well. Nice one. Going to be hitting all three units. That was a beautiful cast by Ulrich Rahl. Whereas on the middle, it looks like there's going to be some little Nurgling bandits trying to move to the middle objective. And if you guys have played any Nurgle, one of the best units for them is hands down the Nurgling because of how annoying they are at stealing objectives. At only 350 with 33 melee defense when in combat, poison, Vanguard deployment, they can certainly get up and steal those objectives and be really, really disruptive. In the meantime, though, Malice Darkblade appears to maybe be going down. I mean, he's been hunting this Greater Tzeentch demon, but I think Zarkan is finally getting to him, and, that's kind of often his fate. As we see the big demon, is it going to hit him here? It looks like the breath attack did not quite hit. Malice is trying to heal through his demon form, but it looks like he's going to go down. But what kind of damage will he get before he does? That's going to be a pretty substantial penalty for the Dark Elf army, but the Dark Elves have had a triple cap for quite some time, and the Demons of Chaos, it's tough to remove Dark Elves from points. They're surprisingly durable for Elf units with all their Corsairs, with their 80 armor, and somewhat decent melee defense on some of their chaff units as well. So the high ground is a completely decisive victory for the forces of the Dark Elves. We don't see any demons in sight. We see some Haggard Pink Horrors coming in, but they just get chased down by spears and some Corsair infantry, so they're not going to have a good time. Now the Dark Elves are going to move down and make sure to control the middle objective. Just got to deal with the little burglars here, the little Nurglings, little popcorn men that are trying to steal the objective. We see Seekers coming in, but as far as the value lead goes, we do see the house plan is up 9,000 to 7.8, which is probably a relatively accurate metric, and a lot of Ulrich Rahl's value, guys, is from killing Malice, and Malice basically has 2 lives, so there's kind of like 1,000 or 1,500 value here if you're looking at it like in that way, that really aren't doing a whole lot for him. So this objective is going to be held by the Druchii. And down here, we see Houseplant just taking over the game on most fronts. Oh my god, Malice went bananas! He actually took down that Soul Grinder of Tzeentch with like 300 HP. 82 melee attack, 50 melee defense. He has just endured this thing, and he should just finish it off, man. Yeah, look, the demon's actually crumbling. Dude, Malice carrying this game. I mean, taking down the Soul Grinder is a huge win. It looks like there's going to be some Flesh Hounds coming in, but Malice, despite having a really, really bad start in the game, actually comes in and goes kind of Super Saiyan and kills the Soul Grinder of Tzeentch before he goes down. That alone pays for Malice Darkblade. Like, Soul Grinders are like almost 2,000 gold, and Malice is around that price point. I think he's just over 2,000 on his Velociraptor, depending on the abilities and whatnot. But man, that was a really, really big power play. So this objective is owned. It's a triple cap. I think Ulrich Rahl is pretty much done for this game. I think Houseplant has got it in the bag. Really, really good recovery, because honestly, a lot of players would have been pretty rattled having to pop, Zarkan that early in the game and potentially losing your Lord. But Malice went very, very hog wild and was able to get great value. Crows of Cain coming in, Harpies, not a bad choice for trying to peel these Seekers of Slaanesh. We also get some Dark Riders coming down here. Seekers, of course, are very lightly armored, so even like light skirmish cav, if they are able to attack them, can break through their armor somewhat quickly. Well, their lack of armor, I guess. They just cut through their HP quickly. And this is like a classic Be'lakor game where he's basically just, running around, trying to do all the work on his own, but the rest of the demons didn't perform, but Be'lakor did. It's one of those classic situations that you often see. The low ground objective is going to be taken, but I simply don't see any way that Ulrich Rahl is going to be able to come back in this game. I mean, yes, he grabs this objective. Be'lakor is causing some havoc here and there, but the Dark Elves just have so many more units on the battlefield. Like, look at this. There's just so many Druchii everywhere. Some cheeky Fleshhound play. Fleshhound's able to move over, and we do see the Harpies coming down. Easily going to be able to dispatch those Fleshhounds in a 3v1 situation. The low ground objective is actually even being retaken by the Dark Elves, and yeah, demons are basically just trickling in wherever they can. Sending Nurglings, desperately trying to get objectives, but Ulrich Rahl, I'm surprised he hasn't tapped out at this point, because he's just so massively behind. So massively behind. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Dark Prince Be'lakor is going to be dispatched by Malice Meme Blade and Company, as the Dark Elves claim victory in Game 1 of this Best of 5 series. What a great match. Hopefully you guys don't mind the auction house commentary at the end. Typically if the game is a really foregone conclusion and it is a replay, I will fast forward through it because there's really not much to be learned or observed there because it was pretty much just over. Yeah, at that point. GG, well played. And that is going to be a 1-0 lead for the forces of Houseplant. Awesome game. Be'lakor is allowed. He's really good, but I mean, yeah, clearly you can see he can lose games. GG, well played. Good match. Take a look at value. Malice, 2,500. Very good. Corsair Handbows, all did quite solid. Corsair Handbows almost always pay for themselves. Yeah, it was a good classic Dark Elf army. A little Corsair action. You got some chariots. You got some calves. Some repeater crossbows. All sorts of fun stuff, man. All sorts of fun stuff. Be'lakor did really good. Be'lakor got 4,400 value. He was basically the only thing in that army that did super good. Everything else kind of underperformed. Fleshhounds usually do well. Like, normally you see a couple Fleshhounds get a ton of value. At least one of them did, 1,700 here, but it seems like some of them also got shut down. Seeker's really nice. The Demon Infantry struggled. The Demon Mobility did good, but it wasn't enough to break through the Dark Elf army. All right, guys. GG, well played. So, We will be preparing the next game. Game 2 coming up between these mighty champions. And we will see how it all unfolds. So let's get the pick and bans going. Currently 1-0 for the Houseplant. Curious what they're going to be doing in the next match. And let's get this party started, taking a look at the bracket for the day. For anybody just joining, this is the tale of the tape. Platypus defeating the Blood Penguin in our first match of the day, advancing on to the grand finals. And now we have Houseplant versus Ulrich. This is the series that you are currently watching. So let me fire up the next replay, and we will be getting started shortly. Thank you guys all for joining. How's life treating you guys? Some of you guys watching the World Cup and all that sort of fun stuff? I have not followed it myself. It was kind of fun seeing it. I think, America. I think USA actually got out of the knockout stages here. We got out of the round of 16, right? I suppose that's an achievement for us. All right, so where are we at? So let me go ahead and get the replays from ye old admins here. And here it comes. All right. Thank you so much to Moors, Samurai Warrior, and all of our mods for helping out today. Really appreciate you guys. Keeping the old Total War community going. The old machine. All right, so game 2 coming up. Picks and bans are incoming. They're being sent to me. And let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so for the picks and bans, here we are. Sorry guys, I'm just doing all the organizing of the files and all that on my own here. So we just got to get that going. And looking good. All right, pick and ban time. No more games. It's time for business. So in game 2 of this series, let's go ahead and take a look. It is going to be a pick for Ulrich. So Ulrich Rawl is on the pick here. Obviously, it alternates every single game. It looks like it's going to be Tomb Kings coming in as one of his pool picks. We do also have Khorne. Khorne, a very, very solid faction. Very steady. And Tzeentch as well. So Ulrich Rawl is one of the few really, really high-level players who actually plays Tzeentch pretty consistently in tournaments. And Tzeentch does well in his hands. I played against Ulrich, it must have been a month ago in a tournament with Dwarves. And I always feel like Dwarves are pretty favored against Tzeentch, but he did manage to beat me with him. I was really impressed. Very, very strong play. Now, in response, Houseplant is going to be going with Khorne. So Houseplant says, no bans, come at me. He is going to be going Khorne. And then his opponent is going to be picking Tzeentch. Now, I really was actually expecting Tomb Kings here, but maybe the Minotaurs with great weapons are just too good against Tomb Kings, right? So it's going to be a Tzeentch pick. So guys, we have the Changer versus the Blood God. The Duel of Fates. It is upon us. Yes, yes. Certainly a very exciting matchup. I love it. Let's see some magic, dude. Somebody in chat asking about the global bans for the series. I can go ahead and give you those. Vampire Counts, Empire, Warriors of Chaos, and Slaanesh were the global bans for the series. So stay tuned. We'll be loading into the game in just a second. Just going to get the fancy spectator mod all set up so you guys can see all the data, including the Winds of Magic and all that fun stuff. So hopefully it will help you guys see what's going on a little bit better. It's a fun one. I love this matchup. It's a really, really fun one. Yeah, it's great. All right, so let's go to the mods and put this on. And this is the spectator mod, which is quite cool. It lets us see the Winds of Magic, other interesting variables as well, and all sorts of good stuff. Blood for the Blood God. Let us know. Who do you guys want to win? I don't really know. What's the war cry for Tzeentch? Like, obviously, for those of you guys who are like Khorne fanatics, you can yell Blood for the Blood God and Skulls for the Skull Throne and all that. But what does Tzeentch yell? Does Tzeentch have like a battle cry? Or like, yes, we like magic. We like to study books. What is the war cry of Tzeentch? I feel like it's a little bit tricky. I don't know, man. Loading in, guys. Here we go. Just as expected, just as planned. Okay, I like that. That makes sense. I dig that. I can get behind that. All right, guys. Glade of the Ever Queen, Ulrich Rawl on the forces of Tzeentch facing off against Houseplant. Valkia the Bloody, giving her best smile there. Does Valkia in this picture not... She looks like someone who is like trying to smile but doesn't know how. Like, she doesn't look upset. Like, I don't know if you guys would agree with me on that, but it kind of looks like she's like trying to smile, but she's like never done it before, and she just kind of like awkwardly has her mouth open. I don't know, barring some teeth. Is that just my conspiracy theory? For the Raven God, okay, just as planned. Or just like a bird screeching sound. You could just do a bird screeching sound. Yeah. But books for the library. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. She's always upset. That's true. I mean, Valky is probably... I mean, all Khorne followers are pretty much always pissed off, so... Yeah, I mean, they're probably... I think they're happy at times. Valkia smiles in her trailer. When she gets to fight, she's happy. So Khorne followers, I think, are happy at times, for sure. It's just not, like, as common of an emotion, right? All right, guys, just give me 1 second. Now that we have the spectator mod on, I just need to move the UI real quick, as we did yesterday. So just give me 1 second to move this across, and there you go. Look at that. Power of technology, man. I am the techno wizard. I've figured it out. All right, taking a look, ladies and gentlemen, here at the forces of Tzeentch. It's going to be Chaos Warriors with halberds, backed up by some blues. So obviously the halberds are really good here. And I actually think halberd spam is the way to beat Khorne, because look at it this way. They do magic damage. So even if Khorne comes in with demons, the Chaos Warriors do good damage against them. They trade well against the armored Chaos Warriors because they have halberds. Khorne uses a lot of Minotaurs. So honestly, Tzeentchian halberds really, really are the way. Blues in the back. Oh yeah, the ROR, baby. The Severed Claw. Aspiring Champion ROR. Dude, this is so cool. Look at these big boys. Oh, that's so exciting. Tech Priest turn is back all day, baby. All day, every day. In the backfield, we do have some spawn moving up as well as blues. And on the other side, it is going to be more blues in the forest and more blues. So, yeah, all sorts of colorful little candy pieces over there. Herald of Tzeentch up in the sky, going to be coming in with what appears to be the pink fire. So pink fire, very good at clearing out chaff. I'm surprised we're not seeing any blue fire. Very strange. Marauder Horseman of Tzeentch, and now looking at the forces of Khorne. Khorne looking to ambush Tzeentch here, looking to be the justice planned one for once. Valky the Bloody going to be hunting down that character. For the Khornate army, it's going to be Marauders, 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 backed up by Marauders with dual weapons and a couple Chaos Warriors. So it's basically just a Warrior Legion. Just 1 million units, which is really crazy because I wouldn't have expected a build like this, but clearly these guys practice together. So Ulrich was probably aware that Houseplant likes to go mass Khorne infantry, so he brought pink fire to try and deal with the mass infantry instead of blue fire, which I think is really, really cool. So Herald of Tzeentch is going to be fleeing the scene. He's running on his little disc right there, just kind of cackling, and you know this guy has like the most evil, haggard, like gremlin cackle ever. Like this, I think Tzeentch, of all like the villain laughter in the game, is some of the funniest. Although, if we had to like make a poll on it, I don't know if there's anybody from CA in chat today that can set up polls, but if we could set up a poll on who has the best like villain cackle between the Tzeentch Herald or the Vampire Count's Necromancer, I think I'm more on the side of the Necromancer just because he looks like Palpatine and it's hilarious. But I mean, they have some pretty good villain cackles. If you guys have any suggestions as well, who else do you think has the best villain cackles in the game as we get this match started? Do let us know as we get this party started. Blue's trying to shoot at Valkia. She's able to dodge some of the shots, only taking about 200 damage right there. As in the backfield, we got Spawn of Tzeentch and Chaos Warriors with halberds sitting on the back objective. This is a very, very precarious one. Like, very precarious. Like, Khorne is letting him have all 3 objectives, which is the Mordor style that was kind of popularized by Tim the Wilder of RTK. Very, very strong player. Shout out to you, man. But, yeah, he's going to go for a big, big Mordor push. He's just gathering a legion of, like, unholy amounts of Khorne infantry, and he's going to be swarming. Okay. So we have Ikit Claw. Okay, Ikit's laugh is really good. But, honestly, don't underestimate the laugh of Throt. Throt the Unclean's laugh is really good. Ikit's cackle is pretty strong, though. Yeah, Skaven probably have some of the best cackling in the game, too. Like, villain cackling. I don't know, man. It's tough. Yeah, Skaven Engineers. Yeah, Throt and Ikit. I don't know. That's a tough one, man. That's a really, really tough one. It is a Mordor push. Basically, you're just hiding and gathering your Legion of Uruk-hai. It's Isengard coming for Helm's Deep. As the defenders of Helm's Deep, the metaphorical ones, these Tzeentch warriors are going to be gathering their forces. So Tzeentch just abandons the back objective because Khorne isn't really making an attempt for it, and they're just going to be gathering to meet this push. So we got Spawn, we got Blues, we got Halberds, and they're just like, come at me. Now, the question is, how long is Khorne going to wait? I mean, this is really, really greedy and could end up costing him the game. I mean, I can totally see Khorne winning on value based on just like the sheer amount of good quality infantry they have, but they are giving up a lot of points in this situation. Yeah, Mazdamundi's laugh is pretty good. Skarsnik isn't bad, for sure. The Buna cackle is really funny, too. When you cast Faded Buna, it's like, ho, ho. The Buna cackle is more like a Jabba the Hutt cackle, actually, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, the Ikit trailer video is pretty good. All right, guys, so Marauders of Khorne are on their way out. A ton of the Marauders of Khorne. There's a lot of these guys. And they're going to be able to easily grab their home objective back. But the question is, I don't think Tzeentch is going to be giving up Objective 3 or Objective 1, as Khorne is really, really taking its sweet time to engage here. We got more Spawn coming out, and in the backfield, Flamers of Tzeentch. Now, Flamers of Tzeentch, if they aren't shut down, these are one of the most punishing anti-infantry units in the game. They do so much damage against bunched-up infantry, and they're going to be able to just absolutely melt those guys. That is for sure. On the other side, we got Blue Horrors. doing a little bit of work, holding the objective for as long as they can. We got Fleshhounds coming out. Fleshhounds, of course, will be an excellent tool. They do magic damage, so they're really good at killing demon units. So all demon units in Total War Warhammer, if you're new to the game, do have physical resist. It's kind of one of the traits of being like, demonic. So, Fleshhounds or other magic damage units are very, very good at kind of killing them. So Fleshhounds will be pretty solid here. This objective is going to be taken, and honestly, Tzeentch isn't really defending its back objective, so Khorne might be able to get a really, really quick double cap here, which they would easily win on 2 points. Tzeentch is just kind of waiting and weathering the storm. So they're gathering, they're just trying not to get fully enveloped, trying to have a good defensive shield wall here. As we do see the Flamers of Tzeentch coming down, let's see what kind of firepower they can unleash. Looks like they're going to be pulling back as they see the Fleshhounds coming. So the Fleshhounds maneuvering around, really, really looking to kind of feast on the souls of these guys. Now, Forsaken are going to be bum rushing up to the point, which is a good call. Forsaken are pretty good against Marauder units with their bonus HP from the Protoss shields, 63 weapon strength, 85 armor. They'll do okay against most Khornate infantry, but Khorne is just going straight for the objective here. And we do see Ulrich Rahl having a massive point lead. But Platypus, not Platypus, I always get Platypus and Houseplant confused. It's like in commentary, I just can't not do it. I don't know why. If they end up playing in the finals, I'm doomed. It's just straight up going to be impossible. But Houseplant is pushing aggressively. He's got Marauders, Chaos Warriors moving up onto the point. The Forsaken should be able to fight for a period of time, and it looks like a little bit of an engagement here, as actually we do see the spawn of Tzeentch move up and bull rush these Marauders, but then there's some solid counterplay as Khorne brings the Bulls on parade. So the Minotaurs with great weapons move in, and those Minotaurs are going to dominate the spawn. These spawn are going to get chopped to pieces. Minotaurs with great weapons of Khorne are hands down one of the most just beast mode bully anti-large units in the entire game. And I know there's a lot of puns there. Actually, none of them were originally intended, but it just ended up happening, so we got to roll with it. The Minotaurs moving in, going to be attacking into the blues. Won't be as good there since they are more of an anti-large unit. But Khorne is just going pedal to the metal, getting really aggressive. We see the Forsaken here being taken apart as the Fleshhounds of Khorne do circle around the back. And Tzeentch is going to be trying to respond with more Forsaken and also using their Screamers of Tzeentch to try and intercept the Fleshhounds and use the anti-large there. But I think the Forsaken will get onto the point. The Fleshhounds trying to stop them, and they did get up onto the point. So Ulrich Rahl does manage to keep the capture weight because he was able to get one Forsaken model up on the point. Now, as far as this objective goes, we do see the Blues battling the Marauders. Marauders will win here. As far as this battle goes, the Severed Claw, the aspiring champion RORs, just giant warriors of the Changer. Going to be able to get great armor-piercing attacks, obviously somewhat durable as well, backed up by Spawn. And I would imagine the Severed Claw is trying to make their way over to deal with the Minotaurs. And it looks like the Tzeentch army ability is going to be going down right here. That one does a ton of damage, but it looks like the Khornate forces are mostly very quick here. It's 2 units of Minotaurs, and the Minotaurs are going to be able to get away. So the Tzeentch army ability, unfortunately for Ulrich Rahl, is going to be a little bit wasted. As far as the value trading goes, it's somewhat even. Minotaurs trying to catch Horsemen, not going to work out super well for them. As far as the back objective goes, Khorne did flip it. They flipped it. So the Forsaken here get crushed. They get absolutely broken. But looking at the current objective situation, as it stands, Ulrich Rahl would just barely lose. 11:33 victory for him on 1 point, and Houseplant can win on just 2 objectives here in 10 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, I don't know if he's privy to this information. Obviously, all the players are currently in chat with our mods, so they can't be in chat with their teammates and things like that. It prevents live coaching and other forms of kind of cheating, essentially. So yeah, they would have to just be able to do the quick math in their head to know that, which is really, really certainly a skill set once you're under all that sort of pressure. So this objective is going to be flipping for the Blood God as well, as Houseplant starts to take over the game here. The Khornate forces overwhelming the Tzeentchian forces, the Bulls on parade, stacked with these Chaos Warriors of Khorne just out trading, and that is going to be a tap out. Tzeentch knows the game is over, he's down 2,000 value, and Khorne triple capped them. Man, what a match, dude. What a match. He tapped out pretty early there, but I think the game was over as well. I would have agreed with his assessment, so I completely understand that. But, man, just the Khorne showing why their infantry are so good. They're just so scary. And when he took that third objective from Ulrich just didn't have the manpower to kind of stop that, and it was pretty much GG there. All right, taking a look at value. Severed Claw, 400. Halberds actually kind of got wrecked a little bit, so make him eat my words. And, yeah. That was certainly a fun one. It was fast. It was furious. Seeing the Minotaurs like rush in and just start crushing that Tzeentch push was really, really cool as well. I certainly enjoyed that one. And all right, GG, well played. So let us go ahead and update this. That is going to be 2-0 for ye old Houseplant. If Houseplant wins the next game, he will continue the curse of 3-0s in this tournament, and he will be advancing to the grand finals, which is going to be a live showdown between Platypus and Houseplant. 2 of the best players in the world. 2 players who I would imagine train together quite a bit as well. So, moving on to game 3. Thank you guys for the notifications about the overlay. We do have that. And yes, life is good. So, setting it up here. These are the brackets for the day as we get the picks and bans going for all of you. Very good. And let's do the picks and bans. Will Ulrich Rahl, a mighty champion, be able to come back? Ulrich, of course, has won many tournaments. So too has Houseplant. Houseplant won a couple tournaments early in the season, but has been taking a bit of a break from what I've seen from community tournaments. But what I think Houseplant has been truly doing is training in the shadows, keeping his build secret, keeping his tech secret, making sure that nobody knows what he is doing. And that's certainly a viable strategy. We've seen that in previous tournaments and in seasons and things like that. So yes. The bronze match is not going to be casted today. The bronze match is going to be casted on my channel this week. So we're going to go straight to the live grand finals after this. Yes, depending on how the series goes. All right. So let's get it going. Let's take a look at the picks and bans. What is it going to be for today? Karl Franz, the mighty Prince and Emperor, will lead us here as we go through the picks and bans. All right. Thank you to Moores for sending it over. In game 3, Houseplant is going to be on the pick. He is going to go with the beloved Demons of Chaos. He is going to go with Norska. And he's going to go with Dwarves. Houseplant is one of the best Dwarf players in the entire world, hands down. So if you guys want to see top-tier Dowie play, you are certainly in the right place. We'll see if he ends up picking them. Now, Ulrich Rahl is going to be responding with the Tomb Kings. Okay, a top-tier faction. Super strong. And he is going to be banning Norska. So Norska has had some tool against Tomb Kings between the Burning Head and cost-effective infantry, and Skinwolves kind of chasing Ushapti Grapos and various other constructs. They can do pretty well. Now, what is the pick going to be from Houseplant? And Houseplant did actually ban Grand Cathay, so I forgot to put that one down. My apologies. So Cathay was banned, so Cathay cannot be picked here. Because Cathay actually does okay against all these factions. Cathay probably beats Demons. They do good against Norska, and they can trade evenly with Dwarves, I would say, depending on the map. So, yeah, I understand that ban coming in from Houseplant as well. Now, the response from Houseplant, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the Dowie. Satisfy the grudge. They have wronged us. The dwarves are coming, guys. So, beards and belts. Let's get some dwarven battle cries in chat. Let's get excited and see how this goes. It is time. The dwarves versus the Tomb Kings. I love this matchup. It's actually very fun. Blasting charges, eviscerating skeletons is probably one of the most cathartic feelings ever. It's great. All right, so loading into the match. Let's get this party started and let's have some fun. I'm going to crack open a coffee after the series. I'm getting super hyped here, man. This is fun. Beards and belts, rock and stone. That's right, man. That's right. I like both of these players equally, but as far as the factions go, I like the dwarves. They're just so cool. They're so cool. All right, guys. Ulrich Rahl on the ropes, but never count him out. Ulrich Rahl is a very, very strong player. And he is coming in with what appears to be a Lord of Nagakara caster, going to be spamming the cheap spells, and 4 of these Screaming Meme catapults. So those things can really put a ton of hurt on dwarves. As a matter of fact, if you guys were here for yesterday's tournament, you probably saw the dwarves get wrecked by them. There was actually a Tomb Kings game where the dwarf player got taken apart by the catapults over the course of a long, grindy game on the Celestial Lake, which was very, very intense. But Houseplant is probably very privy to the strategy. So for Tomb Kings, let me go ahead and break it down. So the reason why you don't bring like a big fancy lord is dwarves are really good at killing like expensive pieces, like focus firing big monsters. So what you do is you go for a cheap lord. You bring just the dirt cheap spells here, right? And then on top of that, you have the Restless Dead. So every time you cast a spell, your entire army of skeletons is going to be getting healed for 1.4% of their HP, which is crazy, crazy good. So you just cast these 2 spells all day and your entire army just gets like an effective 2,000, 3,000 extra HP. It's really good. So chaff units, we have Kepragard. Nahakar warriors trade okay into basic dwarves. They have bonus versus infantry, not the best armor piercing, but they'll do okay against like dwarf warriors and the likes. And catapults are what's really going to be doing the heavy lifting. They have good armor piercing. They can discourage the dwarves, and that really is going to be the game plan for trying to push them off the objectives and all that sort of good stuff. Now, on the other side, taking a look here at the forces of ye old Houseplant. Houseplant up 2-0 in the series, guys. If he wins this, he advances to the grand finals. It's going to be the dreaded Dwarven Thane, who is super cool, backed up by Thork, Ironbrow Thork. Doesn't have a Book of Grudges, but tell me, does he just like not look like he's into it? He's just like hunched over. That's like the look you see when you're in like a class and somebody's just at their desk, like stooped over, just not enjoying it. Okay, he's sitting up straight now. But Thoric is really good because he has the Dwarven Wa. Basically, he has the Rune of Doom, and it gives the entire Dwarven army 24 melee attack for a period of 16 seconds, and it can be used every 2 minutes. It's crazy good. Like, the Greenskins wish they had that. Like, the Greenskins actually have to work for theirs. The Dwarves just get theirs by just existing, basically. But it is going to be Dwarf Warriors. We do also have Ekron's Miners in the back. Blasting Charge is amazing. And the Dwarves look like they're going to be threatening a back push. Whoa. Look at this. The dreaded mobile Dwarf strategy. So Dwarf Warriors into the sunset, a whole bunch of those guys, blasting charges as well. And the lesson we learned from yesterday is when you're playing against the Tomb Kings, do not, I repeat, do not try and bring artillery. Because if you do, they're going to summon 500 carrion, and they're just going to jump all over your artillery, and you're going to lose the game. So obviously Houseplant knows this. He's a seasoned tournament player, clearly one of the best in the world, and he's not going to be making that blunder. He's just going to be bringing a ton of stalwart dwarves and looking to play, the kind of that infantry-based game. Master Engineer is here. He's cackling. He's good to go. He's got his long rifle. Dude, Master Engineers are so cool looking. They have those, like, awesome skull caps, just this fat shotgun. They have another shotgun on their back, like a long rifle. They're just, like, straight up the coolest units. Look at this guy. So the Master Engineer is going to be moving up to the middle, and let me explain why. So he has an item called the Fiery Ring of Thori, which is super underrated. It actually does pretty good damage against lightly armored units, so you go use this on skeletons, and it helps to take them down rather quickly. The Carrion doing a little bit of scouting here, but I mean, they're not going to do a whole lot. These are all just like, durable Dwarven infantry. So Carrion are going to be a little bit wasted here in this battle. So here we are. Thoric Ironbrow as well as the Thane is here. They're going to be sitting, and on the other side, we do see Skeleton Warriors and Skeleton Warriors moving up to contest the point, but it looks like it's going to be grabbed by the Dowie, but it is initially a 2-cap here for the forces of the Tomb Kings. So if you guys are a little bit newer to the game, here you can see we do have the gold army value. So this is the current value of each player's army on the battlefield, okay? This is the damage they've done in gold value. This is the current supplies they're banking to summon in reinforcements. Here we have the friendly fire, which is actually included. We have the total number of lost models. We have the army size in total, so 30. And you can see the total number of units on the battlefield and how many they have remaining. Winds of Magic and how much Winds of Magic they have in reserve as well. So they're moving up here. Miners with blasting charges and Dwarf Warriors heading over to the back objective, going after objective number 1. And here we do have the Carrion doing a little bit of surveillance, going to be scouting and seeing what's going down here. And here they go. So Miners with blasting charges getting nuked by the Screaming Skull Catapults. So the Screaming Skull Catapults are blasting into the Miners with blasting charges. And now we see some Ushabti coming out. Ushabti are a really good choice. Ushabti are a solid anti-infantry piece. They'll be very good against the basic Dwarven infantry. If there's no missiles to shoot them, honestly, Dwarves will super inefficiently kill them. It won't be good for them at all. But the Dwarven Tide comes, and they are going for all 3 objectives, it would look like, as the Dwarves are going to be unleashing an unholy amount of pressure on the middle. But the Screaming Skull Catapults are generating some pretty good value as well. So we see the Screaming Skulls shooting into the Ekron's Miners, shooting into the Dwarf Warriors on the backside, and now Thoric Ironbrow and company are going to be moving up on the middle. And, playing in a very similar style. He likes these big swarming styles, and it makes sense against Tomb Kings. There are plenty of times you want to bring artillery. Like, for example, I like the fact that Ulrich brought artillery against Dwarves. It's very good against them, like, especially since Dwarves can't really bring their own arty against you. All right, guys, it's about to get real nasty. Blasting charges coming down. Big damage. Brutal. As those skeletons get melted by the Dowie blasting charges. Look at that. Down to half health. And now the Dwarf Warriors are going to be surging in to meet them. Dwarf Warriors will dominate skeletons in combat. It'll take a while. Dwarf Warriors aren't super killy, but even still, it's not going to be bad. Tomb Scorpion summon in from the Vanguard. Very, very good choice. Tomb Scorpions are very well designed to deal with these type of units. And Ushabti are also going to be crumping the Dwarves. I feel like the Dwarves are going to get kind of folded like a piece of paper over on this side. Between the Catapult Fire, the Ushabti, and the Tomb Scorpion also doing really, really good damage against these units. I feel like it's going to be very tough. Now, yes, the Skeletons are kind of losing out on the fight, but for the most part, the Tomb Kings seem to have an adequate amount of stuff to deal with the Dwarven Tide, as the blasting charges and some of the Longbeards there are under a little bit of pressure. Now, down in the middle, we have Thoric Ironbrow on his dreaded motor scooter here. The motor scooter moving in. And he is going to be attacking the Chosen of the Gods. So big armor-piercing attacks as some of the Ushabti do end up falling here. And will the Dwarves be able to flip this objective? We see blasting charges going down in the middle. The Fiery Ring of Thori as well. And Dwarf Warriors into the sunset, pushing as the Thane and Thoric are going to be going just in the backfield, man. The special tactics as they move in. One catapult here is going to be paying the iron price. I mean, the catapult can't run. This thing is 100% going to be going down. Although, yeah, the crew itself can run, but it is going to be essentially shut down as the Thane is going to be attacking it, its leadership starts to crumble, and that's exactly what the dwarves want to do. If they can shut down the artillery, they're going to be having a much better time. Now, the dwarves tried their best to fight here. There are a lot of them. More blasting charges coming in, doing nasty, nasty damage against the Tomb Guard. That's got to feel pretty good there for the forces of Houseplant, as the Tomb Scorpion does realize the threat up on the high ground and is going to be surging in to try and deal with some of the Dwarven units. The Dwarven Tide getting the Rune of Doom. So even these like very, very low tier minor units are going to be getting plus 24 melee attack, which is very, very solid. In the backfield, this is a great play by Ulrich. Very good play. So basically, the dwarves overextended with 2 characters and just throw a really crappy horseman with good mass at them and surround them. And just leave them there the entire battle. It's going to take Thoric and that Thane like 10 minutes to kill those horsemen, right? But the middle objective is going to be flipping for the Dowie. So it looks like the forces of Houseplant going to be moving in with the Slayers. And the Kepra Guard going to be getting Nero's Incantation of Protection. So 40% physical resist on those guys is no joke. And the Kepra Guard, in my opinion, are one of the better infantry units in the game. These guys regenerate. They have a bonus versus infantry. They also do magic damage, which is highly pertinent. And now we see the Chariots of Nehekara moving in. So the Tomb King's going to be getting the fat chariot play and just running through the Dwarven backfield. Not that the dwarves really have any missiles. It's honestly just mainly a massed Dwarven infantry army, which makes them very vulnerable against chariots. Very vulnerable against Ushabti, but again, it's very tough to protect your missiles from the likes of Carrion, so I totally understand the playstyle. But value trading's even. Somehow the dwarves are just grinding, dude. They are just straight up getting in there. The fact that they have the Rune of Doom perpetually buffing their stats, Longbeards are just insanely durable with immunopsychology, so things like Tomb Scorpions aren't going to rout them off terribly quickly. The dwarves are just pushing the value and just keeping it even, which is really bad for the Tomb Kings. Granted, the Tomb Kings army value on the battlefield, let's take a look. So, wow, the army value actually only favors Ulrich by about 600. Obviously, that's because of the healing that's being taken into account despite the gold value trading. But yeah, the dwarves are managing to hold on to the middle objective. Current points are going to be Ulrich in the lead with 552. The dwarves, the deficit at 386. But again, the dwarves do have the double cap, so they are going to be closing that gap a little bit. Ushabti Greypo's in the backfield being chased down by a bunch of angry Slayers, so some of the Slayers did get into the backfield. And this is where it starts to get really, really dicey for Ulrich. If the angry Mohawk boys get in there and just start karate chopping all of these giant big targets, they've also caught some of the chariots in combat. And yes, the Greypo's are falling to the might of the dwarves. So the dwarves pushing them down. Look how jacked these Slayers are, dude. They're getting in there, hunting down Chosen of the Gods, keeping the Ushabti Greypo's offline. And yeah, the dwarves are going to win infantry grinds. That's really one of their big strengths, right? So dwarf warriors here doing well. Longbeard's fighting incredibly solid. A master engineer going to be lending support if you see more blasting charges coming in to try and clear out the skeletons off the objective. On the back, it looks like the Tomb Kings did come for a little bit of a back pressure piece, but the dwarf warriors here should defeat the skeletons. Yeah, they should end up winning those fights despite being a little bit down at this point. And the back objective, I cannot believe the dwarves are still here. I cannot believe they're still fighting on this back point. I thought they were going to get crushed over here by the Tomb Scorpion and the Ushabti, but it would appear that they're still going strong. And who would have thought dwarves would also make it back to the artillery? Oh my god, the Ekron's miners are still going! And they might even be able to just straight up kill an artillery piece. It looks like they're setting up their blasting charges, I would imagine. They don't have too much. They only have like maybe one volley left. One catapult's being taken down by the dwarf lords here. And what I really like about the playstyle here from Houseplant is he's taking advantage of the fact that the Tomb Kings player is just bringing a cheap caster lord. There's no Cetra, there's no Arc in the Black, there's no powerful fighting character, nothing really powerful to fight single entities at all. So then his Thane and Thoric are basically able to just move around the battlefield and bully whatever they want. And now we see Slayers getting into the backfield, shutting down the catapults. I think Houseplant's taking over the game. The dwarves are just getting all up on the value pieces. Ekron's miners and Slayers easily going to be cutting apart these Screaming Skull catapults. Thoric as well as the Thane are just like a buddy cop show back here. It's like good cop, bad cop. Just, well, I guess it's both bad cop if you're the Tomb Kings. And they are just straight up hunting down all these different units. Now, the middle objective might flip back to the Tomb Kings, but as soon as more durable dwarves get there, and Thoric as well as the Thane return to the middle, I think that's going to be securing that. The catapult's going offline in the back is going to be really brutal. And this fight, I think, finally does go to the Tomb King. So it looks like the Nehekara Warriors and the Tomb Scorpion were finally able to kind of win that flank fight. Looking at the points, though, it looks like Houseplant is going to be overtaking the lead here. But will the Tomb Kings be able to flip back the middle? We'll have to see. The Lich Priest going to be waddling away. He's on his horse. Well, not waddling. He's on a horse, so he's going to be running. But the Thane and Thoric probably going to be coming to flip the fight. And now you're in a situation as the Dwarven player where you know that you've equalized the score. So you just need to play 2 objectives at this point. The Dwarves are just going to be focusing on Objective 2 and Objective 3. So we got 3 here. We got 2 in the middle. Dwarves will probably, as a matter of fact, completely ignore Objective 1 for the rest of the game unless they get put in a desperate situation and they have to kind of go for that. So Beards and Belts, really, really good play here by Ulrich, using his Horsemen and using his Carrion to block the advance of the reinforcing Dwarves. And yeah, they're going to lose the fight, but it's going to keep the Dwarves from getting on that objective and might allow the Tomb Kings to flip it back. We'll have to see. Currently, though, it looks like the objective is going to be owned by the Dowie, and I think they have a pretty strong little hold on that one. We will have to see. As the Slayers have returned, we got Longbeards. We do also have the Master Engineer. Thoric Ironbrow is really good for this playstyle because if you're going to be using a massive Dwarven melee build and not really utilizing the missiles or guns too much, Fiery Ring of Thori going down, really nice on these skeletons. The mass AoE melee buff is going to be incredibly strong. Is that a Rune of Wrath and Ruin? Oh yeah, the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, the dreaded Dwarven magic coming in. But Tomb Kings are actually flipping the objective back. They got the Necrotech Chariots and several infantry units up, but I think that's going to change as the Dwarves probably will outgrind them here. Oh, look at this, the back theft. Oh my god, that was so close. That could have been a clutch play by Ulrich. So Ulrich actually almost stole the back objective from the Dwarves with some Horsemen, which every objective you steal from Horsemen is so, from Dwarves, is so incredibly good because it takes them a long time to get to the objectives. So that could have been a huge play, but unfortunately Ulrich doesn't quite get the objective back. It looks like he's starting to flip it once again. He's going to be sending some Skeleton Horsemen over here to intercept the Dwarf Warriors to try and maintain the capture weight, but I think the Dwarves are going to be able to get back onto this. Oh my god, the Dwarven Tide is coming! Yeah, man. Houseplant does not want to lose that point. He's going to be sending a million angry dwarves over to that one, as it looks like his Longbeards and his Master Engineers and Thoric are able to really, really get a solid stranglehold on the middle. And, there's not much in this army that can kill a Tomb Scorpion except Thoric and the Slayers, both of which are nearby. So this Tomb Scorpion will lose in a fight to Thoric for sure if he fights it. Thoric is a really, really powerful armor-piercing character. And the Tomb Kings seem to be running out of steam. I'm looking around the battlefield. I see some dwarves pushing up. And the Dwarven Tide, I'm actually wrong. He made me eat my words. But I guess now he has enough of a point lead. So currently the value is going to be favoring Houseplant by like 3,000. And the dreaded Dwarven Tide is going to be pushing up. So Dwarf Warriors, Blasting Charges are going to be brutal against these very tattered units. And the back objective might actually be taken by the Dowie as well. And something you have to remember, guys, the Tomb Kings are actually currently out of Winds of Magic. They have 14 left, but there's no more reserves, so there's not going to be too much more magic on the battlefield, which means the dwarves are going to be cackling because there's not going to be any more like huge map-wide heals. And, the fact that the Tomb Kings are just sending things into grind now, really, even if they get the objective back, is what the dwarves want. Longbeards love to just grind in combat. So to basic Dwarf Warriors, Thoric and the Thane, of course, very good at this as well. And the Lich Priest, he's not going to be able to probably find a home here. Back objective, you guys ready for some Dwarven legs pumping? Because that's what's going to be going down as the Miners of Blasting Charge is going to be descending from the hills. Here they come, ladies and gentlemen, the big bombardments of the ancestors. These Skeleton Warriors are not down for this party. You can see the fallen dwarves, the fallen Tomb Kings Warriors. There are certainly dwarves to avenge here. And are they going to use the Blasting Charges? A little bit of a missed micro there, as it looks like they're maybe trying to get... Oh, they're trying to Blasting Charge these guys. Okay, that makes sense. So here they come. Blasting Charges out, and oh, it looks like he didn't have them in guard mode, so they're not going to be getting the Blasting Charges off. A little bit of a miss micro there, but if he puts them in guard mode and then force targets the Warriors, they will actually use the Blasting Charges. But let's see if he's going to do it. Nope, looks like he's just going to fight there. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Tomb Kings do manage to flip the middle objective, though. Very, very nice play by Ulrich. Swarming with a ton of Haggard units, just skeletons, but Thoric and that Thane dude, the buddy cops, fighting off the Ushopti, fighting off the Skeleton Horsemen here, and the Dwarves are just going to be... I think they overcommitted to this objective. Yeah, you can see they got... This one's locked down. The Tomb Kings are not going to be able to get this. Like, there's 3 very, very armored units there. That's going to take a long time. Even though they're cheap, it's still going to be tough. And did he use the Blasting Charges here? Yes. He pulls back the Blasting Charges. He sends up the Dwarf Warriors, and now it is going to be Gotham's Reckoning. It's going to be the scene where, Bane picks up Batman and drops him over the knee. That's for sure. As the Blasting Charges will be turning about face. Dwarves do have the value lead, but if the Tomb Kings can somehow hold on to a double cap, maybe. Just maybe, but I just feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like the Dwarves are coming in. Catapults are back online. Okay. Could we see the Tomb Kings with a comeback here? Will Ulrich be able to fight his way back into the series? I would be very impressed here, as we do see the flash bomb going down. So the Master Engineer with his long rifle taking pot shots at the Tomb King's Lord. He's on deathbed, though. He's very low. He's only got about 400 HP, but honestly, he might be able to win this fight. He's got his hammer out. It is the duel of duels. And he gets the big karate chop up on the character. I honestly think the Lich Priest could lose this fight, but the Master Engineer is probably just going to break due to leadership, so he's going to be running for the hills. He's like, screw this shit, I'm going home. He's going to go drink some Bugman's Brew and try and recover. Blasting Charge is not being used. A little bit of lapse in micro. Those Blasting Charges could have easily cleared these 2 units off. Looks like they're going to be moving up now, so he does notice this, and now the Blasting Charge is going to be chasing them off. And the middle objective does flip back to the Dowie Tide. It does. So the Dwarven Infantry just obviously massively superior to the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings have magic, they have constructs, they have cavalry. The Dwarves have better infantry than you, right? So here we see the Dwarves just kind of cleared him off. The objective is going to be flipping back for the Ancestors. The gold army value on the battlefield is 6.8 currently for Houseplant to 3.8 for Ulrich. So Ulrich's army is just so much smaller and weaker. And the Dwarves are also threatening the back objective. Blasting Charges coming down. Nehekar Warriors just getting absolutely schooled by these guys. And these Dwarf Warriors will move up and should be able to take this objective over the course of the next 2 or 3 minutes. So, guys, man, the curse of the 3-0 continues. Is it going to be carrying on to the grand final? Because I simply think there is no chance for Ulrich here. A great attempt. Congrats to you, Ulrich. You got top 4, man. And Ulrich will be playing the Plague Penguin, or the Blood Penguin, in the 3rd place match, which I'll be casting on my channel this week. But today, we're going to be moving straight to the grand finals. We got to keep that energy going, man, and have some fun. Dude, what a match. That was the Dwarven Tide, the Dowie Tide. Look at that. That was a lot of dwarves. A lot of dwarves versus a lot of undead. So I guess you just, the way to deal with the catapult spam is just attrition. Just keep throwing dwarves down there and use your superior dwarven characters to hunt. Like the dwarven characters methodically killing the catapults, I think was a big recipe for success there. Obviously, if you were the Tomb Kings player in that situation, how would you counter that? You would probably just spam Ushopti. You would spam Ushopti, you'd spam Tomb Scorpion type units, and the dwarves wouldn't be able to deal with it. That's how you would probably win that. Probably bring Setcha the Imperishable on a Sphinx as well, and the dwarves would get wrecked pretty bad. But again, it's a lot of mind games. You don't know what your opponent's going to bring. It gets quite complicated. All right. So with that, the curse continues, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going back to a live match. So the best of 5 that we're going to be casting, those were casted via replays. And now we are going to be going back to live matches. So it's going to be Platypus versus the Houseplant. So we got the updated bracket here. So let me go ahead and update that and get that up. So for those of you guys who are just joining, you can see how that looks. And here we go. So this was the bracket prior to the match. And now we will update this. I got my my Chihuahua in the corner. My fancy production team is going to be updating it for me. Is that the right one? No, it's not the right one. Hold on. I'll find it, I promise. Give me a second. I think it's this one. There we go. Look at that. We got it. Platypus versus Houseplant is going to be the last match of the day, guys. We've been going for 2 hours strong, and now it's time for an epic best-of-5 conclusion to the 2022 World Championship. Blood Penguin versus Ulrich Rahl can start their match right now, as I will be casting that via replays during the week. So you guys will see that series as well on my channel. It'll be up sometime probably by Wednesday or Thursday. So, the die is cast, so we begin. That would have been pretty interesting to see like a Necro Sphinx brought in to kill Thoric. That would have been really wild. It would work for sure. It would definitely work for sure. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's do it. Let's get these finals going. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the host here to set up the lobby. All right. Lobby set up for finals. Okay. Looks like they're getting it. Let me restart my game because I need to turn off the spectator mod so my client is compatible with the players. Hey, Ulrich Rahl, man, well played. Well played. Great run in this mighty championship. I'm sure we will see you back in future tournaments for sure. So, RTK at this point, pretty much guaranteed to be bringing the trophy back. So they got to be feeling pretty good. I'm sure there's some jovial celebrations going on in their Discord as they clearly have secured a world championship for their clan, which is quite huge. The legacy will live on. And now we're loading back in. And let me see if the lobby is set up. All right. And let's see here. In the main final, waiting for live. Let's see here. So they're in game. So rep S from now. I'm not sure what he's saying. One sec here. Are we doing? All right, guys, just checking with the admins real quick. Seeing if they may have already started. If they did, we could just cast it via replays. But I'm pretty sure they were supposed to wait for it to be live, so we'll see. We will see. Who is not an RTK? Well, you can see anybody who doesn't have the clan tag in this little bracket here, obviously. So we had several other, of the top clans in there. Han clan is a really competitive Chinese clan. They, on the first day, had Cherry Blossom, who's defeated by Blood Penguin. Reginald Puckington, I think, is in QSA, but he doesn't wear a clan tag. And Heisey is in ODM. So, yeah, there were several players. Obviously, there's some really strong domination players in ODM as well. Like, for example, Zyphos and Anticity. But I believe they were both eliminated in the earlier rounds of the tournament. So, okay. Yes. We are doing... is done. All right. Very cool. So it looks like they didn't start. Let me go ahead and load in here. All right. Perfect. One sec, guys. I'm going to grab a coffee real quick, and I'll be back for the grand finals in just a minute. All right, guys, I got my coffee. I'm good to go. So the players are just getting the lobby set up for the grand finals. So we have a couple minutes while they get this set up. So if you guys have any questions pertaining to multiplayer, how to get involved, anything about Total War really, just now's a good time. Because we got a little bit of downtime while they get this set up and get these spectator slots in place. And life will be good. Yes, yes. How's it going? Platypus versus Houseplant is the grand finals. The third place match is going to be taking place. Well, it's taking place now, but it will be casted this week. So we are going to just be going straight to the finals today, and we are going to be casting the big one, the big duel of fates. All right, so we have gotten into the lobby. Yes, yes, unless the password is something different. We don't really need a password too much, considering the circumstances, but it's going to be good. When I play that's kind of the thing about Chaos campaigns. You can kind of just do whatever you want. Like, the Chaos campaigns are so broken, like, in terms of strength compared to, like, other factions that you kind of just do whatever. Like, you can go any direction. But, yeah, typically taking out the more powerful factions first is probably going to be prudent before they're able to grow in strength and get their mechanics going. But, yeah. Would Hellstriders still need a nerf if CA nerfed the Mark of Slaanesh? No, I don't think so. If the Mark of Slaanesh were nerfed, which I don't think will ever happen, considering, it's a tricky line to walk between multiplayer and campaign balance. But typically, multiplayer balance should be done, unless it's really egregious via cost increases. But yeah. Dude, the Dowie Tide was serious. They were serious that game. Yeah, they were not messing about. All right, guys. Let's load into the lobby. Here we go. I need to adjust the nameplate back to the center. Okay, very good. And there we are. Perfect, perfect. Where art thou? Alrighty. So, Platypus versus Houseplant. I believe the first map might be on Death Pass. I'm not sure. But these guys, I'm sure, are good friends and clanmates. Pretty much every time I've joined their chat to talk with these guys, they're both in there kind of chilling out. A real platypus versus a real houseplant. I mean, I'm pretty sure a platypus would win. It depends on the houseplant, but like, yeah. Clearly, I think a platypus would probably pretty consistently defeat a houseplant in a straight up like Mortal Kombat fight. Yeah, if we're talking that. 100%. Apollo, thank you so much. Yes, RTK is a competitive clan in Total War Warhammer. Yes. I don't know if they play other games competitively. Like there are some like clans and gaming and esports and things that play multiple games, but I'm pretty sure they just kind of throw their competitive hat into Total War Warhammer, which is pretty cool. Yes, we are using the custom maps, which is very exciting. We've used quite a few today. We had which ones did we have? We had the Glade of the Everqueen, and we had the Road to Val's Anvil, which are both amazing maps, both really, really cool kind of elven-themed maps. For the best of 5 finals, I think we have some as well, so you guys will be able to see those, which is pretty hyped, and yeah, it's going to be good. Very cool. So there we go. And all is good. Houseplant has high armor from their... Yeah, that's true. It depends on the pot that they're in. Yeah, but, I mean, platypus aren't small creatures, though, are they? Like, aren't they somewhat sizable? Like the size of like a medium-sized dog, or are they smaller? Well, not medium-sized dog, like a small dog. Like, what are they? What are platypus? Are they like the size of like a pug, or kind of like a one of those miniature kind of dogs? Yeah, they do have aquatics. That's true. Yeah, it depends. If the houseplant's fighting and it's in the natural habitat of the water, the platypus would certainly have an advantage. I don't know, man. The size of a deer. Okay, size of a beagle, says somebody in chat. All right. Like an armored capybara. These are the real discussions we need to be having, for sure. What if the houseplant is a cactus, though? Like, I feel like eventually, if the platypus was just like, had the unbreakable trait and just like didn't care, it would eventually win. It wouldn't be pleasant, but yeah, it would get there. It would get there for sure. Yeah. What if it's a cactus? See, that's the thing. Houseplant has used the houseplant as a picture before, but right now I think he's using the RTK picture, which is, I think, the some sort of a wolf creature here. Not 100% sure, but yeah, depends. There's many variables to this duel. That's actually one of my favorite things to do, is just have really dumb discussions with my friends about which animals would win what, or who would win in this or that. It's just, it's always a good time. Yeah, platypus are venomous too, but I don't think the venom would be terribly pertinent to a duel with a houseplant. They have poison barbs on their hind legs. Man, that's scary. That's real scary, man. Size of a deer. Oh, yeah. That's pretty wild. He's playing his old concept. Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you. Can you ask? I could ask him, but I don't have any way of communicating. Yeah, I don't have any way outside of Discord, and I don't want to interrupt him right now. He's in the zone. This is for all the marbles, guys. I think the prize is over $1,000. Like in total for the pool, so it'll be split between the top, the top players. So it's they're playing for some new computer parts here. They're playing for some substantial prizes. So we'll see. Now, first map is going to be Black Ark. This is a fun one. Black Ark is a classic. It's probably, of all the creative assembly maps, I would say this is the best one. It's really fun. It has a cool aesthetic. Like the Black Ark as a setting for a battle is really, really neat. And it encourages different playstyles can work. Like the way the side objective works, you can obviously, a melee faction can choose to defend their home objective and their side against a shooting faction, force the shooting faction to split its army or go forward and do pretty well. Like there's a lot of interesting styles with this map. So let me pull up the pick and ban. And we have Platypus versus Houseplant. Are we gonna straight up have the Curse of 3-0 this entire tournament? This isn't the first time. There's precedent for it. If we go back to the early Everchosens, I'm pretty sure at least in 1 or 2 of the Everchosen tournaments we had back in the day, for any of you guys who are newer to the community, those were like tournaments we did, like official CA tournaments we did. This is a community run tournament, But those were ones that we did with CA in their office. You can go look up the videos on their channel. But I'm pretty sure we had some days where there was like consistent 3-0s, like nonstop. This is a best of 5. Yeah, it's a best of 5, correct. If just joining, yeah, you missed some games. You missed the 2 semifinal matches, and now we're in the grand finals. All right, so the global bans are Empire and Khorne and Grand Cathay and High Elves. Whoa, that is a weird range of globals. This means, guys, that all the sweat is going to be on the table. All the sweatiest factions that you could possibly have are going to be on the table. All right, so Moors is going to be feeding me the picks and bans right now, and we'll be plugging those in as soon as we get those. This is going to be an ultimate sweat match. Just pools of sweat under their feet as they play. You know what I really would like to see? What would be kind of a Christmas present? I would love to see some Ogre Kingdoms. Just give me the Haggard Ogres. Not that they're bad. You know, they actually have a decent win rate. They've been doing pretty well in tournaments, but I don't know if either of these players play Ogres. The true legend of the Ogre Kingdoms is a man known as Flying Taco in our community. I don't know if he's here, but if he is, shout out to you, Taco. You're the true Over Tyrant. Yes. Yes, yes. Yeah, High Elves have been doing good. You guys have seen them picked a lot by these top players. So for all of you High Elf players who have just suffered for countless years, you know, this is your time to shine. So the prize pool is, for first place, it's $500. Second place is $300. Third place is $1,500. Or excuse me, $500 for first, $300 for second, $150 for third, and fourth place is $100. So every player essentially is going to be getting a prize here, which is very exciting. It's funny, the most well-known Ogre player is named after food. It's a very, very apt name, 100%. Very, very apt. Okay, so still no picks and bans yet. Hanging tight. Now, the live games will take a little bit longer to get going, obviously, right? Because there's more on the line. It's really every little nuance matters, like every pick, every ban. You got to make sure you're covering all your bases. So there's going to be a little bit more time. So I will switch back to this as soon as we do get that. Yes, yes. Yeah, High Elves are doing good though. Yeah, they're doing good. High Elf, all of you. There's always like, it's always been kind of a running joke in Total War Warhammer multiplayer that the High Elves have been like the meme, like for all time. They've been like the one faction that has always been kind of bad ever since their launch, and they just like, the people who play them just enjoy suffering. But now you guys finally have your moment in the sun where you can get out there and you can do your thing. How come we don't see Peckless being picked, aka Techless? Yeah, he's pretty good. He's okay. Yeah, I don't know. He's not quite as good as like character like Imric. Like, you'll notice how good these map-wide army buffs are, like the Dragon Horn, the Rune of Doom. Like, so I think he's just kind of overshadowed by how good Imric is and how cheap the Archmages are, comparatively speaking. Because his lore magic is okay. Like, healing, SEM healing isn't as pertinent as it was in land battles. And nets are okay as well, but like there's better magic you can bring with the High Elves in my experience. He's very expensive. He's very, very expensive. Yeah. So that would be my analysis of that. All right, guys. So Platypus is on the first pick. He is going to be going for Slaanesh. Going to be going for Dark Elves. Going to be going for Demons of Chaos. And for the ban, there's going to be no ban. And Houseplant is going to come back with his dwarves. The Dowie are here. So his response is dwarves. And then what is his ban going to be? He's going to be banning out Dark Elves. So what that means is now Platypus is going to be able to pick from either Slaanesh or the Demons of Chaos here. And he's going to go Demons of Chaos. Wow. I really would have expected Slaanesh. Slaanesh has so much cost-effective armor piercing, but clearly these guys have practiced against one another most likely, so they probably know. Excuse me, they probably know. That's the wrong faction there. Let me get that. It's going to be Demons of Chaos. Yes. So Demons of Chaos versus the Dowie. And also you dwarf fans got to be pretty excited as well. We've been getting a ton of dwarf action in this tournament so far. All right, so now we're just kind of hanging tight. And we just enjoy each other's company until we get to the into the game. Yes. Oh no, did I accidentally delete that? I did. Curses. All right, so who do we have here? Platypus. And that's going to be 0 versus Houseplant. Accidentally hit the reset button. Curse the Baggins. All right, there we go. So Demons of Chaos versus Dwarves. Man, this is going to be something. I don't really know what Demons of Chaos do here outside of Soul Grinders. Okay, here's my conspiracy theory, guys. You never see this matchup. You almost never see them. I think we're going to see double Soul Grinder of Nurgle, Be'lakor, double Blood Reaper on foot, and then I think we're going to be seeing a bunch of Nurglings and Bloodletters after that, with Seekers of Slaanesh and Furies. That is like my MLG prediction. Because Soul Grinders of Nurgle can bombard Dwarf Infantry pretty well. On Black Ark, there's plenty of good hiding spots for them, so I think they can get away with that. And for the Dwarves, it's obvious. It's going to be a Dwarven tide. Just crossbows and miners and Dwarf Warriors. It's just going to be a million Dwarves. Okay, I was wrong. 100% wrong. Wow, Plague Bearers. Plague Bearers against Dwarves. It feels really, really tricky. Although, yeah, I feel like the bows in tandem with the blasting charges will really punish them. And Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh with Be'lakor. Wow, okay. Very, very different playstyle. Interesting. I don't know. I feel like the demon build is going to be very vulnerable here. Very, very vulnerable. There's not that many missiles, though. The dwarves only came in with 2 rangers in their opening build, so maybe not. I don't know, man. Yeah, Plague Bearers against dwarves. I mean, they will... Look, a Plague Bearer will defeat a Dwarf Warrior in combat. They would probably lose to a Longbeard, but they would, they'll definitely outtrade, like, the Chaff Dwarven Infantry. Yeah. Nerdlings. Oh, that's funny. They're nerdlings. Yeah, I like that. All right, guys. So Be'lakor, Pit of Shades, obviously, against dwarves is really good. We got Nurglings, Plague Bearers, Exalted Demonettes. Like, look, if an Exalted Demonette can get onto a Dwarven Infantry without being shot and or blasting charged, they're going to do just lethal, brutal damage. So those are the Exalted Demonettes. So for the Dowie, it's going to be, I think in terms of missiles, they do have 4 in total. I did miss a couple. 2 Quarrelers, 2 Rangers, Thoric Ironbrow for the map-wide buffs, and the rest of the army is going to be Dwarf Warriors, backed up by Miners with Blasting Charges, the new Plague Bearers, and what's not to love? That's pretty much it. Both players are going to be contesting the low ground objective here, so they're going to be going at it, looking to fight over objective number 3. Yes, that is good. This is a strange build. This is not a matchup you normally see. I think most Demons of Chaos players would probably try and avoid the dwarves in general. Like, I feel like the dwarves are favored in this matchup, but again, Platypus could have picked Slaanesh, one of the strongest factions in the game, but he opted to pick Demons of Chaos. Now, the only maybe causation for that, the reasoning that could be at play, is maybe he figures, yeah, like Slaanesh could maybe beat dwarves, but I want to save my Slaanesh for later in the series, for a matchup that is a little bit more favorable. I think that might be the school of thought here. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. So the Dowie moving up. Blasting charges. Some more Quarrelers coming out. He sees the army. He sees the Plague Bearers. He sees Big Daddy Be'lakor flying around, you know, being incredibly tough to kill. Be'lakor is an absolutely unholy raid boss. He is so tough to drag down. Granted, is there a Rune of Slow? So yes, we do have Rune of Slowness, so that is going to be able to kind of lock down Be'lakor, or at least slow him to the point where maybe the crossbows can actually put some hurt on him. We'll have to see. Well, it's going to be tricky. All right, guys. So dwarves going to move up here, form a little bit of a blockade. Probably just a couple warriors, some blasting charges, and then they're going to move to their home objective. Is going to be the play. It looks like the Demons of Chaos might contest the low ground. They got some Demonettes kind of like sitting in limbo here, where they're not, like, it's not obvious which way they're going to go. So we have to kind of put some respect on that. But if the dwarves just have 2 warriors here, a blasting charge and a single missile, I think that's going to be enough to defend that point. But that's what's scary about dwarves. Like, they're much slower, so you have to really allocate the right amount of resources to each point, because if you overcommit or go the wrong way or leave a point empty, it's very easy for your opponent to kind of steal those points. That's really the stressful thing about being a dwarf main. It's, you know, your points can be stolen pretty persistently here. So it looks like Pit of Shade's going to be going down, and Houseplant is going to be getting his Ekron's Miners caught in the pit. They're only a 600 gold unit, so it's not the end of the world, but still a good target nonetheless. Blasting charges are incredibly effective and can be very, very nasty. So we've seen that Menacing Platypus is one of the best players in the world at casting Vortex spells. Like, his Vortexes are always like direct hits, and for some reason, people just don't seem to be able to get away from them terribly well. He just always lands them, which is so crazy. Exalted Demonette's here. So the Exalted Demonette's going to be sitting down, just waiting to see where the dwarves are weak before they go for this. We have some of the Nurglings grabbing the high ground point, so these Nurglings are going to be grabbing objective number 2 right here, and they're going to be stealing that bad boy. So there it goes. The jams are pumping, and the dwarves are going to need to start pumping those dwarven legs, man. They're going to need to get those points. You don't want to give the demons too much of a point lead on you. Not that it's going to be a huge deal, I suppose. They still have a lot of time. Be'lakor, the Dark Prince, going to be popping the Shadow Shroud. strange. I think maybe he got caught in or maybe he thought he was going to get caught in a Rune of Slowness, so he preemptively used that cooldown. So it seems like the Shadow Shroud a little bit wasted here on the ward save, but now Be'lakor is going to move in and go after this. Granted, 1 unit of Quarrelers and 1 unit of Slayers is enough to kind of keep Be'lakor honest. Looks like some of the bows going to be shooting in, and Be'lakor does get hit by a couple arrows. Does about 60, 70 damage. Now he's sub 10,000, so not bad. But yeah, these Dwarf Warriors are going to get wrecked pretty bad by Be'lakor if he decides to go in there. But really, I don't think it's worth it for him. There's not like too many great targets for Be'lakor here, to be honest. Like if he attacks Thoric, Thoric is tanky enough that he can absorb it. I mean, he would obviously lose, but then all the bows are going to shoot him to pieces. Really, maybe we needed to see the dreaded Red Olgor coming in, the Khorne Demon Prince. Everyone's people's champion here. So Plague Bearers doing a little bit of a circuitous route, maneuvering away from the bows, and they're going to be then jumping up on the objective to try and maintain that for as long as possible. Although we don't see the Plague Bearers making a play for the objective yet. Are they going to let the Dwarves just flip this objective back? Really? I mean, I thought they might just like park on the edges of it to contest the objective and then force the Dwarves to overextend. And then there's openings here. There's openings around the top. Like I thought that might be the style, but it looks like the Dwarves are just going to flip this objective back as they do summon in more miners with blasting charges. And it seems like Menacing Platypus is trying to find a vulnerability in a Houseplant's defensive Dwarven formation, but really, there doesn't seem to be too much of one right now. But here's the answer. This is the attempt. It's going to be Seeker Chariots. We have the Slaaneshi Chariots coming out, the Demon Chariots, and 2 more on the other side. Okay, so this is what he was waiting for. He was waiting for the Seeker Chariots, which in theory are quite good against Dwarves. Armor piercing, anti-infantry. Poison damage also is quite nice. They do have the devastating flanker, so if they charge you in the back, their charge bonus goes up to 100, which is crazy. So what I suspect is going to happen is Be'lakor is going to come in on top of the missiles, jump on them, occupy them, while the chariots just kind of penetrate through and really get that good damage there. So Pit of Shades in the back. It does hit the Dwarf Warriors as well as some of the Quarrelers. Pit of Shades does have that like vortex effect where it like pulls the units in, so some of the Dwarves here are going to be tugged in by the Pit of Shades. And the Seeker Chariots aren't positioned, man. It's pretty rare that you see these chariots in action. It's very rare. Oh my god, he's got 4 of them. Guys, 4 Seeker Chariots on the battlefield. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wow, that's crazy. Look, I'm going to be so shocked if these things work, because in my experience, they almost never work. Like, they're just such glass cannons, and the Dwarves are durable enough to kind of eat it like champs. So Dwarf Warriors here are going to get run over by the Seeker Chariots a little bit, but you can see the Dwarven mass is pretty good. Blasting charge is coming in, and look at that. 1 chariot already in the trash can, getting absolutely wrecked by the bowfire. I think having Be'lakor go in first would have been the play. And the other Seeker Chariots are moving in. And now going to be getting into the blasting charges here. Be'lakor back there as well. The 1 Seeker Chariot is already disintegrating, so that rather expensive piece of equipment is going to be paying the troll toll. But the other ones do get in. Plague Bearers moving up. Are the Plague Bearers going to be concaving on the top? It looks like they are. It says in the tooltip they're moving fast, but that seems to be a lie, as they are Plague Bearers. They're moving slowly. A Rune of Slowness going down also. So the chariots of Slaanesh being slowed down to 40 speed, being shot to pieces by bows, and the dwarves with a very good staggered formation are able to mitigate most of the chariot pressure. And we see the value lead going up to Houseplant early, which is just not good. If the dwarves are up in value on you early, dude, oh man. Usually they'll grind it out over the course of time, but this is nice. Be'lakor, of course, putting the Demons of Chaos on his back, raising his sword, and casting a huge, giant Pit of Shades, pure brutality, wrecking that entire dwarven position. That was money. That is what I'm talking about. That was very good. So Fury's trying to jump. We got chariots in the backfield, still running a little bit rampant. There still are some, but honestly, 3 of the 4 chariots I think are dead. No. Okay, 2 chariots are down, 2 are still functional. These ones in here have accrued barely any value, probably. They got like 300 value on those ones. The other chariots do get a nice charge, though. They actually disrupt the Ekron's miners. That was a really good timing because it will kind of mitigate some of the damage going in on the Plague Bearers. Plague Bears should defeat Dwarf Warriors over time, and the objective, though, is still very firmly in the hands of the Dawi. And the bows are going to be able to get back online and most likely put some serious hurt on these guys. So this Seeker Chariot moving into the back, I like the idea of using them as a sweeper unit. Like if the Seeker Chariots had moved back behind the Dwarven army and maybe were used to kind of run over reinforcements, that could be kind of nice. But you can see a full charge doesn't even really do that much damage. The miners with blasting charges here are, barely at like 90% after a chariot charge, so they don't seem like the most effective tool. Now this objective might be flipping. Nurglings, of course, losing to Dwarf Warriors. Dwarf Warriors here are going to be losing to the Plague Bearers, no surprises. The objective might be flipping for the Demons. I think like Fleshhounds in general and those type of units might have just been better. Like swarming with Fleshhounds instead of the Chariots could have been a little bit stronger. But up on the high ground, guys, we do see the objective being held firmly by the Dwarves. The Plague Bearers are in position, but blasting charges did some nice work. Seeker Chariots, though, still not doing bad. I mean, these ones do have 600 value, so they've almost paid for themselves. If these Chariots can manage to exceed their value and kind of compensate for the losses of their fellow buddies, that could be very nice. Now, a big macro look on the battlefield. This objective now finally going to be flipping to the demons, as we do see more Nurglings and Plague Bears moving up on the point. Plague Bears grinding and matching the durability and staying power of the Dwarves. Rune of Wrath and Ruin going down on the Exalted Bloodletters. Oh, we get some of the Exalted boys moving in, so I did not see these guys sneaking through. And if the missiles are online, guys, Exalted Bloodletters will absolutely butcher the Dwarves. And it looks like there's going to be a nasty Pit of Shades going down to the back. Very bunched up units here by Houseplant. Platypus is going to be getting some big value. And suddenly, it looks like Platypus is kind of creeping back a little bit in terms of value, although still a substantial lead by the Dowie here, as we do see the Slayers kind of peeling off the Chariots. It seems like there's some things that were going well, but those Chariots just seemed like an absolute disaster. Now, how many kills do we have on the Exalted Bloodletters? Dude, these things are just lawnmowers. Only 600 value, but they've gotten 130 kills. And, you know, Dwarves are durable, so that's actually very, very impressive that they've gotten that many. Be'lakor in the backfield trying to shut things down. Objective 3 is owned by the Demons of Chaos. Objective 1 by Demons of Chaos. And this objective is currently potentially being flipped. So it looks like the Menacing Platypus is going to be going for an objective victory, most likely, as some of the Seeker Chariots still kind of run around here. Looks like there's still one online, and it does have 600 value. Are there any more Seeker Chariots? And now we see the Superior unit come out. Fleshhounds of Khorne are just so good. They're so much harder to kill. Obviously, I think their damage is better than Seeker Chariots, too. Like, they're going to just rip apart these Quarrelers. And certainly will give them the business. Although Slayers are right on their tail. And these are no mere Slayers. These are the Slayers of Dragonback. And they will be getting in there with their anti-large. And they, of course, do have a slowing effect as well. So the Fleshhounds of Khorne are going to be forced to retreat as they are routed there by those bad boys. Now, Demons of Chaos, guys, do have a triple cap. Despite the fact that Houseplant is up a little bit on value by about, a little bit over 2,000. The Plague Bearers are going to be tough to remove. The bottom objective is owned by the Demons of Chaos. It looks like some Nurglings are going to be moving back there. I would imagine some more Plague Bearers maybe could waddle their way to that objective to make it very difficult. And this is a triple cap, guys. The points are going to start going very, very quickly. We could see the Demons of Chaos win with just kind of stuffing tactics here, as Be'lakor, the Dark Prince, moves in with his giant cool sword. Going to be cleaving through some of these Dwarven units on the ground. Rune of Doom is active, going to be giving the Dwarves a little bit more fighting power. But the staying power of the Plague Bearers is actually proving to be a huge factor in their good grinding DPS. Plague Bearers, people underestimate their DPS. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Khorne is the DPS guy, but no. Nurgle actually has good sustained DPS. Their melee attack might not be so high, but Plague Bearers have almost 50 weapon strength, and 15 of that is armor piercing, which really isn't terrible. So you see them defeat Dwarf Warriors, you see them trade well into Longbeards. They obviously will crush the Miners. Another nice Pit of Shades going down right there, which does hit 2 units of Slayers, mind you, which is very, very strong. But it's going to be a Helm's Deep situation, I think. I think eventually the Demons are going to be pushed off Objective 2 here. The Dwarves will have the home field advantage. They're going to be able to summon in units perpetually. Demon reinforcements in terms of infantry will be much slower after the initial Plague Bears wear off. And it will maybe for Platypus be a situation where he's going to be able to kind of hold on to the back objective. But overall, Houseplant still is in a little bit more of a commanding position. A lot of tattered bows, though, and they're all pretty good on ammo, too. Yeah, there's a lot of bow units kind of moving up. Seeker Chariots here, occurring the dreaded 196 value as they move up. So clearly, I don't think the Seeker Chariots are the way, although they look pretty darn cool, and it's really, really fun to see them in action. They do charge up and get a nice little run into the Dwarf Warriors right there, so there they go. Nice rear charge, and Objective 2 is retaken by the Dwarves. So the Dwarven Tide able to secure that one, but the time is ticking. It's currently 960 to 640. The Dwarves might not have enough time, and it looks like it is going to be Helm's Deep, as you see Nurglings kind of setting up in the objective. But he also needs to hold on to this objective, because currently, right now, the Dwarves would still win on 2 objectives if they manage to get it. And I don't think the Demons of Chaos are going to be effective enough to, recapture an objective, considering how tattered and how behind on value they are. And yes, Be'lakor is doing good. He's causing a lot of disruption. But man, I actually don't know if the Nurglings are going to be able to hold it. Down in the low ground, we do see Seekers, as well as Fleshhounds moving down, which is a really, really good choice. The Fleshhounds going to be able to get in there and run over the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, so that will be quite nice. But the Dwarves are very, very close by, and they still have plenty of time for sure. They still have plenty of time. Rangers moving up. Rangers able to kind of shoot these Seeker Chariots. Seeker Chariots going to get melted. Be'lakor, the Dark Prince. He's going to be good at kind of helping control objectives. He does remove immunopsychology from units too, so like Longbeards will lose their ITP if he's nearby, which helps him terror route them off points. And are the Demons going to be reinforcing? I think that's the play. You start reinforcing this with like Plague Bearers or whatever you can while you still have a little bit of time, and then you use Bellicor and your mobility to keep them off this point for as long as possible. Bellicor back here and the Seeker Chariots actually have a lot of really good targets. I mean, look how beat up all these archers are, all these Quarrelers. Yeah, they're not going to be doing well. Nurgling's losing on the point. Fleshhound's bouncing back and forth. We do have some more Bloodletters coming in, so the Exalted Bloodletters are on their way, guys. They're moving on down, and that's going to be tough for the Dwarves to remove. If the Quarrelers are offline here, dude, if these bows get shut down, there's nothing in the Dwarven infantry that can handle Exalted Bloodletters. Maybe like Norgrimling's Ironbreakers with blasting charges would have a decent fighting chance against them, but I think in the long run, the Exalted Bloodletters would outtrade them. They're designed for one purpose. And now, I believe we are in triple cap territory. It's getting really close. Will he be able to get this point, man? He needs to get these Bloodletters up there. It looks like the Dwarves are going to flip that one, but he might be able to flip it back. But the Exalted Bloodletters coming in, maybe. Nurglings trying to hold this point for as long as they can. They get their little popcorn bodies in front of the Miners with blasting charges. Going to be trying to secure that one, and it looks like it is going to be Helm's Deep on the bottom objective, guys. Because as it currently stands, Menacing Platypus would win on 1 point, but I don't know. If this one flips quick enough, maybe the Dwarves will be able to kind of close the gap, because they're not going to get this one back quickly. Exalted Bloodletters going to be able to do some big work here, guys. Here they come. These poor Dwarf Warriors, talk about a mismatch. These guys are just going to absolutely dominate them in combat. So yeah, they're going to rout in like a matter of seconds. It's going to be probably like 15 seconds. And these guys are going to rout. Like, it's brutal. Dragonback Slayers, though, are unbreakable. That's actually a huge boon for the Dwarves, as the high ground objective is going to be flipping. It is going to be going to the Dwarven Tide as they get that one. And now it is time for the Helm's Deep on the bottom objective, but unfortunately, it's actually not even controlled here by Menacing Platypus. It's still very much in the control of the Dowie, as Bellicor and company continue to cause some substantial problems. Nurgling's moving to the point. It's going to flip pretty soon, but will it be soon enough? Will Houseplant be in a position where he can win on 2? It very well could be the case. I'd have to do a little bit of math in my head, but I'm a little bit too much of a potato. Math is the one subject I'm terrible at, so forgive me. Exalted Bloodletters cutting through the Slayers. They're fulfilling their oath. This is the Slayers power fantasy right here. Bellicor are going to be jumping down, obviously clearing them out, but yeah, Slayers get cut to pieces. Exalted Bloodletters are just a straight lawnmower unit. They've gotten almost 2,000 value this game. Nurglings up at the point, more Nurglings. Bellicor are going to be trying to keep the Dwarves at bay, as Fleshhounds are just picking off the reinforcements, and that's kind of the danger of running, is that the Fleshhounds will be able to kind of chase you down, right? Dwarves are a good faction. They're very solid right now. It depends on who you're watching play, but in general, Dwarves are pretty good. I think him losing that bottom objective might have been the game. I think Houseplant might still win on 2. It's going to be very close, but I think Houseplant wins on 2 at this point. So he's going to have to find a way to, like, force the Dwarves to overextend and then snake another objective somehow. I think that's what's going to have to happen, which is very possible, right? So what you do is you summon a unit or 2, but you stop summoning here. And then you bank maybe 3,000, and you try and steal your home objective back. Although I think that Houseplant knows. Houseplant's chilling here. You see how he's not going down here? He knows. Yeah, the single cap is no longer going to work because of the time that the Dwarves had that. It's really close, but I don't think it's going to be the case. What a great match, though. This one is really tense and kind of had me on the edge of my seat here. Well, I'm at a standing desk. I'm not actually on a seat. I don't sit anymore. But yeah, it's not going to happen, I don't think. The Dwarves are just too steady here. Although the back objective's a little bit vulnerable, maybe some Exalted Bloodletters, but those are all full health Dwarf units, which are going to be incredibly tough to remove. We see some Haggard Seeker Chariots coming out. We've seen how well they've performed this game. Really hasn't been that good. And now ye old Seeker Chariot's going to be looking to get on these Rangers back here. I think that's where they're kind of drifting up and around. And looking at the current score, Menacing Platypus at 1,300, 1158 for the forces of Houseplant. So the Demons have to keep fighting. They can't necessarily give up on a point. Wow, really nice Siege Army ability right there. As Bellicor is up on the point, Seeker Chariots moving up, Nurglings trying to fend off some of these aggressing units. Miners with blasting charges and the Quarrelers. The Exalted Bloodletters are on their way up too. Pretty much all hands on deck. But like, if the Demons of Chaos can somehow manage to snake an objective from the much slower Dwarven army, which they might be able to. Oh my god, I think they might be able to. They're going to run by with all these units and just ignore this Dwarven position here. And maybe have a chance here. Maybe have a chance of grabbing this objective. The Exalted Bloodletters, you can see they have the movement orders to move over to this side. So they're coming over, they're going to move up and try and grab this objective right here. Meanwhile, the Seeker Chariots are going to be pretty effective, actually, in this situation, at running over the Rangers and the various missile units. And suddenly you can see Houseplant knows this. He pulls the trigger, he summons as much as he possibly can, but it looks like he taps out. So the Demons of Chaos tap out in that game. I think he had maybe a sliver of a chance, but probably not. There was Slayers, and the Dwarves could have just moved back there. So yeah, the Dwarves are going to be claiming victory in game 1. What a contested match. Really, really good. Because honestly, I think Dwarves are favored against Demons of Chaos. So that's going to be a victory for the Dowie. Beards and Belts. Game 1 is going to be going to Houseplant, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, yes. For the ancestors, grudge satisfied. Be'lakor karate chopped. GG, well played, man. It was a good one. I enjoyed that game. It was kind of like if Platypus had just barely held on to that bottom objective when it got stolen, oh man, he could have won that game. He really could have won that one. GG. Yeah, dwarves are pretty beast mode. Yeah, somebody in Twitch chat did the math and said that it would have been 1480 to 1500. He would have lost by like a couple objective ticks there, which is crazy. Yeah. Hey Turin, what is the name of the mod showing values in kills during the? It's called Cleason's experimental mod. Klissan, I think is what it is. Chesh, my friend. Yakshimash. Hope you're doing well. All right, so next map is going to be Arnheim here, guys. And now we are going to be seeing what their picks and bans will be. Have you missed? Chaos has been doing okay, but the Order Tide has been giving him the business as well. Yeah. So it's going, man. It's going. It is going indeed. Hey, Morris, thank you for the graphic. Greatly appreciate it. I will... Very good. Morris is going to be updating the brackets here, giving me the picks and bans. And we will see what these mighty champions will do. Will the Curse of 3 continue? Or will somebody actually... The only person, the only absolute champion to break the Curse of 3 was Reginald Puggington, who took a game off Houseplant, I believe, in the early series. Let's look at the brackets real quick. I'm pretty sure every match has been a 3-0 except that one. Hold on. Yeah, so Puggington took a game off Houseplant. And that series was actually really contested. There was a lot of games between them that were very close. So the dreaded Puggington was the only one to break the curse. Every other match a 3-0. Blood Penguin and Cherry Blossom, Andro and Platypus, Houseplant, and Puggington, of course, was a 3-1. Ulrich Rawl and High C. Every match has been a 3-0. The third place match is being played. We'll announce it, and I'll, of course, be casting the replays to show you guys the games this week as well. So very, very good stuff. Very, very good stuff indeed. Wild, man. Does anyone know whether CA will incorporate the community map pack into the base game? I've been trying to make it happen. I'll see what I can do. Yeah. I think there's hope for it. I think there's hope for it. Because honestly, the new maps are amazing, and they really spiced up the multiplayer experience. Yeah. You said you watched my uploaded match in between charity matches? Yeah, that's fun. Hey, Reginald, dude, I think you had a chance in that series, man. All those games were really close. You played super well. Like, just one minor thing differently, and it could have gone a different direction. You played really good, Reginald. Hold your head up high. The Seeker Chariots didn't do too well. No, it's actually turned out it was best of 5. I was wrong about yesterday, so my apologies. Yeah, it's best of 5. We got to keep the Curse of 3 going. Yes, yes. The Curse of 3 continues. Yeah, no, facing Houseplant in round 1 is rough, though, for sure. There was definitely some substantially, more, competition you could have dealt with much easier. But then, yeah, you had to face the Dark Lord, and one of the Dark Lords in round 1. Houseplant's definitely very, very scary. His builds are just very practiced, very tested, and tough to beat. Tough to beat. Yeah. So, Demons of Chaos being eyed. Dwarves finished in the last game. Let's see if we got the picks and bans coming in yet. Not quite. So it looks like the player's taking their time. This is totally like an Obi-Wan Anakin duel too. These guys are like friends and they're in the same clan. It's like, and now they're turned against each other. Yeah. I suppose that's how you would want to go though. If I was in their situation, I would definitely want to lose to like one of my close friends, right? I wouldn't want to lose to like some actually a true villainous rival. I would rather lose to one of my friends and be like, yeah, good on you, man. Feels good. Thanks, Turn. Houseplant is just so good. No shame. Yeah, no, you're really, Reginald, I think one of my analysis of your game or your play versus him is like, I feel like your micro was really, really good. Like your micromanagement, I think Of like the entire tournament, Reginald, I think you might have some of the best micro of everyone. But I think his builds were a little bit tighter, which is like, you know, kind of a practice thing. And I think at the end of the day, like he has good micro as well. So that kind of, you know, that got you. It was great though, dude. It was a really, really good series. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be doing like guides and everything. You know, I do plan on doing some video guides after the New Year's. I've just been a little bit busy the past few weeks. Some IRL stuff going on that I had to take care of and whatnot. So I know it's been a little bit slow times for tournaments and community stuff, but we're going to be turning it back on very, very soon. So let's go to the brackets here. Take a look. Grand finals currently in action. Picks and bans are going to be sent to me in just a moment, so we can load on over to that screen. And let's get this party started. I think we're going to see the sweatiest factions possible, though. This is the big stuff. I would love to see the Haggard Ogres, though. Just roll in, just bellies out. You know, give us the match that we all want. Houseplant up 1-0. And there we go. There we go, indeed. Who's Anakin and who's Obi-Wan? So, I think that Anakin is probably Platypus. Because he's younger. Platypus is like, I think he's in his early 20s. I think he's more of the Zoomer generation. And I think Houseplant is like the older, more tempered player. Probably, I think he's in his 30s or something, or maybe, I'm not sure. It's the Zoomer versus the Millennial Boomer. But yeah, I think Platypus is much younger. I think he's legit in his early 20s. So yeah, he would have to be the Anakin. And Houseplant would for sure have to be would have to be Obi-Wan in this situation. That's what I would say. No Bretonia has been played at all in the tournament, which is strange. I just think the players who happen to make it don't really play Bretonia. There are some high-level players who play Bretonia quite a bit. They're not a bad faction by any stretch, but the players who are playing, I just happen to think don't play them. Yeah. Dude, the Dwarves have been doing well, but I think it's RTK's fault. I think they've been playing the Dwarves and doing really well with them. And, you know, also RTK happened to be almost all of the top 8, right? So they that's why we're seeing so many Dwarves. Because outside of them, you don't see Dwarves terribly often, at least in my anecdotal experience. And again, it's anecdotal. It's not necessarily like a... Although they get picked a fair amount. Dwarves do have a lot of games played on the leaderboard and everything. Lizards are also a good faction. They're not bad. Lizards are doing really well. They have like a 55% win rate right now. Yeah. I don't think Bretonia is bad. I really don't. Maybe in campaign they are, if that's what you're referring to. But like I've taken games off top players with Bretonia for sure against like good factions like Coast and things like that. So, do you think we'll seeing some Khorne picks coming? I love the blood. So we saw Khorne earlier. I don't know if you were here earlier in the stream, but we had a Khorne victory over Tzeentch. Khorne was able to just swarm with their infantry and just get like a million just bruisers just like cutting through, and Minotaurs with great weapons and Valkia and just so much cool stuff. RTK refuses to play Lizardman, says somebody in chat. Oh, interesting. By Sheev, do you mean Turin? I'm the Sheev for sure. Sheev, what's your link on Twitch? I don't stream on Twitch. I only stream on YouTube. Yeah. I mean, the only time I stream on Twitch is when I do streams for with other people and stuff. Yeah. Like this, for example. Yeah, Houseplant needs to take the high ground for sure. Arnheim has high ground too, so Houseplant would take it. No, I definitely love being the Palpatine. Yeah, it's great. The global bans for the series. Let me check and see if some of them have come through. All right, so the global bans for the series were Empire, Khorne. Oh, Khorne is globally banned in this series. Okay. Grand Cathay and High Elves. Really strange global bans. Clearly they want to play the sweaty stuff. So now it is time for Houseplant's pick. He's got the Demons of Chaos. He's got the Tomb Kings, and he's got Vampire Counts. Maybe you're going to get to see them in action. And his opponent, Houseplant, is going to pick Norska. So we got the Barbarians coming in. Wait, do I have this backwards? No, Platypus goes Norska. Okay. And what is his ban going to be? And he's going to ban Demons of Chaos. Does not want to deal with Be'lakor, it would appear. And it is now going to be Norska versus the Vampire Counts. The Vampire Counts have come, and it looks like the Dwarf ban was in effect too. So Dwarves were actually banned here by Houseplant. So Norska versus Vampire Counts. Looks like it is going to be some vampires versus some Warhammer Vikings. The Dwarves were banned out in this series. Obviously, we've seen the power of Dwarves. Clearly, these guys know how to play them. And it is time, ladies and gentlemen. Vampire counts. I'm actually kind of excited to see them. I think that's going to be very, very fun. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys. So let's load back into the battle. And here we go. All right, it's on. Manfred versus Wulfric. It's go time, man. All right, looks good. And solid. I got your message, Misha. That's really funny. That's really funny, actually. Coast is still on the table. Coast could be played. I wouldn't be surprised to see them. I really, really wouldn't. Coast is a good faction. A little bit map dependent, but they have all the strengths of the undead. They have healing, they have fellbats, scurvy dogs, shooting, unbreakable infantry, depth guard, you know. They got Queen Bessie. Queen Bess is not that great. Queen Bess is okay. Queen Bess is a little bit niche, but overall, you know, she gets the job done. She tries her best. All right, guys. Let us know your predictions. Are you rooting for the forces of Norska, or are you going to be pulling for the vampire counts? Do let us know in chat. Let us know where your allegiance lies. You could say for the knight, or just yell Norska in all caps, because I think that's pretty much what they do. Yeah, it's more or less the jam. Yeah, Wulfric's pretty good, and he's got the Cold Voider, the ROR Frostworm, which is pretty rad. Manfred is a very good choice because of his Winds of Magic regeneration, so you're just going to be getting tons and tons of Winds of Death and other strong effects. And it looks like we got players rooting for both sides. All right, some people want the vampire counts, and we have seen a fair amount of Norska. Vampire counts are still a top tier faction, though. They're very, very good. They definitely get the job done. So it should be loading in just a second. And ladies and gentlemen, it is official. We are here. And what's pretty great about today is both of the players who qualified, or both of the players here in the finals, I think are both American. So we're not having too many lag issues here, which is something we've dealt with quite a bit in the past. So here's the dreaded Cold Voider, the ROR Frostworm. It has a pretty cool breath attack. And aside from that, it does have Guardian. So if you have it fighting with Wulfric, it's going to be giving the Guardian trait. On top of that, it's going to be basic Marauders into the Sunset, Marauders, Marauders, and Marauders. We have a Shaman Sorcerer of Death in the back with Spirit Leech and Buna. Buna pretty good against things like Graveguard and, you know, what's not to love. On top of that, Wulfric the Wanderer is going to be launching Haggard Pirate Ships. And a second Frostworm? Oh, I thought it was the second one. I was like, he just moved it. I was like, oh my god, is it going to be the dreaded double Frostworm? Who knows? So Barbarian Infantry with the Dragon. Fun stuff. Now, looking at the vampires, it's going to be a zombie dragon. So Manfred von Karstein has reanimated a very cool looking dragon here. He's got Invocation, Raise Dead, and Winds of Death. Very, very standard kit. Winds of Death, excellent at killing Norscan infantry. And on top of that, it looks like he just has the Sword of Unholy Power. It's going to be Graveguard spam backed up by zombies and double Necromancers who are going to be, getting down with those Forbidden Rods. Carrying some of their old friends into battle on their backs, you can see. Double Raise Dead on those guys. Necromancers do come with one free Raise Dead, which is very, very good for just kind of road blocking things. And Norska is going to be coming in with some skirmishers as well. So we have a Corpse Cart on the low ground, which is going to be moving up. And just like we talked about, the old Millennial Boomer here, Houseplant, is going to be moving in. And he is going to be taking the high ground, as is his role as Obi-Wan. So here he comes. Anakin, of course, down low ground here in the valley. Wulfric the Wanderer moving up. We do also have the Marauder. So it's going to be a 2-cap here for Norska. And the Vampire Count's going to secure the high ground and then move down and look to slow push Norska out and force like a big, ugly blob fight. That's what's going to be going down. So a little bit of harass going down, throwing axes, trying to get some damage into Manfred. Trying to get him right on his old bald head there, but not quite able to get him as he did juke those shots. Both players going to be playing their best here, paying attention to every little nuance. Throwing axes actually going into the Necromancers who are chasing, and Manfred is able to kind of chase those guys off. Is the Cold Voider going to come in for a fight? I would be really shocked to see that. It's pretty strong, 7.1 to 7.4. Similar stat line. Manfred hits a little bit harder, and it looks like they're going to take the fight, which is interesting. The Cold Voider will put some hurt on Manfred. Like they're gonna trade back and forth. I personally don't think the trade is worth it for Manfred. Dude, Manfred's getting smashed by this Frostworm ROR. Oh my goodness, it's getting some work in there. He's at 6,000 HP, 6.6 here. Also, Mortis Engine's going to be coming into the vampires. Now, Manfred does have access to Invocation and healing. Looks like some of the throwing axes are getting in there and doing big damage. Dude, Manfred is getting smashed by the Cold Voider. He's getting the absolute business. The double Necromancers, though, able to push back the Marauder Horsemen. I'm surprised we didn't see a zombie summon on top of them to try and drag down some of the models. Manfred looks like he's going to stay the course. Invocation will help him. And Scroll of Shielding going down. Really, really good play there by the Platypus. Anakin is learning some tricks from the low ground here as he is giving the Scroll, which gives 20% ward save and helps the Cold Voider continue to outtrade Manfred. Yeah, you're just happy for this trade. Spirit Leech going down as well. Shaman Sorcerer really going to be going for the kill on Manfred here. I'm surprised Manfred hasn't landed. And yeah, Manfred's tired of getting his butt kicked. He's going to land on the ground. And the Cold Voider is just going to pull back. And I would not be surprised to see the Cold Voider turn around and just breath attack on one of these targets. That would not be surprising at all. Man, that was a really good trade from that Norscan Dragon. Something I did not expect. I thought Manfred would trade much better, but between the Spirit Leeches and the old Frostbite there. Oh, big Sea Fang coming down. Wulfric launches his Haggard Longship and takes the Sternsmen down 40% of their HP. Platypus off to a very, very dominating start here. Marauder Horseman coming in, getting some nice charges. Perhaps the Curse of 3 will be broken today. Who knows? And now the Vampire Count's going to be getting a big invocation. So you notice how he's gathering up his forces? Generals gather at their matches, at their masses. Yeah, I think that's lyrics. Just like witches at black masses here. Going to be dropping perhaps a big invocation on the Necromancers, trying to heal them up. Although they get healed passively by just staying near the Corpse Cart or by the Mortis Engine. So that's probably going to be enough. So over here, zombies buffering out the throwing axes. Very, very classic Vampire Count tactics. Just send a 100 gold unit to target this rather expensive skirmish unit. And on the other side, we got Graveguard Great Weapons and Cryptors coming in. And it's only a matter of time before Houseplant's going to be moving down, going after the low ground objective here. Thankfully for the Vampires, they have a lot of healing, right? They can just kind of chill out near the old Mortis Engine, which does have an AoE healing aura. You can see the Reliquary Corruption does do damage, but I believe it does also heal as well. The Reliquary Binding, 0.10 per second, effect range 35 meters. The only qualification is that you need to be undead, which is quite cool. So Norska probably going to bring some Javelins in as well. We do see double Javelins, 1 and 2. It's a counter against the Mortis Engine. It's a counter against the Cryptors. Can be shut down by Fellbats. But the cool part about Norscan range units is they're actually pretty good at fighting. 26, 22, 28. Decent base leadership, but they also do have the enrage mechanic, so the longer they fight, they get leadership, physical resist, and other stats. So if something like a Fellbat attacks them, they can actually fight them off. Big breath attack from the Cold Voider, kind of a miss. It does hit the Sternsman, kind of tickles them a little bit, but it doesn't do too much damage there, and overall, they're going to keep moving down. The old Buna going down. Buna going to be hitting the Sternsman here, so the Sternsman getting absolutely decked by magic and focus fire here, which is certainly very smart. Vampires coming down from their hilltop retreat to try and take this objective. We see more Cryptors coming in. And will Norska try something on the high ground to steal the objective out from behind them? It looks like they might. Actually using a couple Marauder Horsemen to move up and maybe steal that objective could be very, very cheeky. That could be actually a very, very strong play. So Graveguard Great Weapons moving in. They'll for sure win this fight, but they're going to take some damage as well. The Great Weapons pack a little bit of punch against the armor. But the Graveguard do have the bonus for infantry and are just simply a more elite unit, so you can see the fight is still relatively one-sided. However, getting damage and the cost efficiency of that is quite good. Sea Fang going down again. Oh, and it bounces off the wall. The MLG wall bounce. Look at that. Javelin's going in. Mortis Engine going to get Javelin, which is not good for Houseplant. Houseplant really needs to make sure he drops some zombie summons or other mitigating effects on these missile pieces before the Mortis Engine gets active. And a huge Winds of Death KO. That was so much damage. Oh my god. That is so foul. That was overcasted, so that was like 20 plus Winds of Magic. But, I mean, well, like, yeah, higher than that, like 28 or something. But that one-shot of those Javelins. Now the Mortis Engine's going to be able to move in a little bit happier. The other Marauder Hunter Javelin has been shut down by zombie summons, and now the Cryptors have moved in. Mortis Engine also going to be jumping into combat, and it looks like a Spirit Leech is going to be going down from the Norskins, as that is one of their other tools. Although no, Spirit Leech is going to go down on Manfred. Javelins back online, though. The other Javelins here are throwing in. Look at the Graveguard Great Weapons. Man, they actually took a lot of damage in that fight. Obviously, there was the Sea Fang as well, but yeah, tricky. So, on top of that, Cold Voider trying to shut down the Mortis Engine, but Manfred is able to kind of block it up. The Haggard Corpse Cart coming in. Helman Gorst's cousin Roger here trying to get in and ram him with the cart, which is pretty hilarious. Cold Voider, though, able to kind of get elusive movement here, get on top of the Mortis Engine, has applied the Frostbite, and it looks like it is going to be surviving. That's really big for the Vampire Counts. They need to keep that Mortis Engine alive, because then they can win all the infantry fights. That really is going to be the big deciding factor. Marauder Hunter Javelins, are they going to be able to get that Mortis Engine? It looks like it's kind of juking. And the Cold Voider does get caught and killed by Manfred. That is a huge pick. So the Cold Voider got a little bit greedy and moved in there, tried to goon the Mortis Engine, and now Manfred is able to shut it down and will be able to kind of rout that bad boy off the battlefield. So there it goes, and only 600 HP. That's a huge pick. Now, can Norska respond with a pick of its own? Spirit Leech going down to the Mortis Engine. Javelins coming in full effect, nothing to shut them down. Mortis Engine at 2,000 HP. Its HP is going to be dropping down rather rapidly. And that's kind of the tricky thing, right? We've seen a couple Spirit Leeches on Manfred, but had they been used on the Mortis Engine, it could potentially be dead right now. So you got to be kind of careful with how you kind of split your fire. Mortis Engine at -10 leadership, and Invocation is going to be stabilizing it. Wow, Mortis Engine is going to stabilize. Vampire counts are going to be holding on to this point. Up on the high ground, it looks like the Marauder Horsemen somehow got caught up in melee with Crypt Horrors, and they actually got karate chopped. So the value is actually being pulled back for the Houseplant. He is really, really starting to take this game over, which is something we saw him do earlier. In one of his earlier matches, he almost lost his Lord, and that was the Dark Elf vs. Demons of Chaos game. Like right away. Like really, really rough start. Just like Platypus heavily, I would say, outplayed in the beginning of this game. But now Platypus just, Houseplant just staying steady, just grinding, using the dreaded attrition and not losing his value pieces, which is the big thing. The fact that the Mortis is online and now the battle's becoming kind of more spread out all over the place, I think is a huge, huge win for the Menacing Platypus. Oh, that Winds of Death is going to be so good. Right in the face. Oh, when it gets the javelins, hits the other ones. And is it going to get the guys on the far side? Okay, it dissipates, but that was brutal. Those are the answers against the Mortis Engine. Now, Wolfric is trying to put his game on this back. He's trying to get in there, trying to take out Manfred. He does drop the Hunter of Champions. Spirit Leech also coming down. He's going to be able to get some good bumping and grinding here for sure. He's a great duelist for what he costs, but Manfred is on a dragon, and he is the vampire dude, right? He's going to be very, very frightening. Back objective is owned by Norska. We got Marauder Champions over here, some basic Marauders. A little bit of a mistake having the Marauder Champions over there. They probably should have been involved in the fighting. But overall, Norska really, really is on the back foot. Vampire counts, I think, are very, very well ahead this game. Now that they've been able to close the value in tandem with their healing, their value lead is actually they're probably ahead by like 1,500 to 2,000 value with all the healing that the Mortis Engine's done. Wolfric is also in danger of dying. If Manfred continues to go after him, he could definitely win that fight. With the Mortis healing, Mortises also do a little bit of damage in melee themselves, so you could use it in that way. We see the Marauder Champions trying their best to fight, but they're fighting things that counter them, aka like a Mortis Engine or Crypt Horrors, like all those things basically just counter those bad boys. So we'll see. I mean, maybe if Wolfric gets really lucky and somehow can kill Manfred, and let's say Houseplant kind of blunders the micro there, we'll have to see. The dreaded Cold Voider came back for a second, but it looks like it's going to route off the edge of the battlefield. So that would have been a nice one for a couple breath attacks. Will Norska find a way to grind back into this? Oh, losing Wolfric's a big one, man, because that's going to be a big leadership penalty for the entire army. If Wolfric actually gets killed or routed or whatever, all of the Norskins are going to be taking -16 on their leadership, which is going to be extremely, extremely painful there. So Wolfric is hunting them down. There they go. Good night, sweet prince. And the Wanderer wanders no more. His journey has come to an end as Manfred von Karnstein unleashes all of his bald fury and is able to take that bad boy down. And with that, Houseplant is going to go up 2-0. Man, he is a tyrant in this tournament so far. Let us see if the Platypus can get back in the series. The Vampire counts defeating the Norskins, showing what they're all about. And really, that's the key for Vampire counts. You have to be really good at keeping your centerpieces alive. That's like one of the biggest skill sets, like your Zombie Dragon, like your Mortis Engines, all those things, you really, really have to keep them alive. GG, man. The game looks really rough in the beginning. It looks like the Norskins had battlefield control. They were winning the SCM fight. There was many things going for them, which was quite good. But yeah, there you have it. GG, well played. Will Platypus find a way back in the series? He is a venomous creature after all. I believe he will have the ability to do so. But will he get past it? Find out. Thank you. Perfect. And looking good. All right. So, waiting on the picks and bans here. Let's see how this goes. And we will see what happens. What a cool game. That was amazing. Dragon fight, magic deletion, duel to the death at the end. I know, it had everything. I agree. Yeah, it was a good one. I'm surprised. Yeah, Vampire Counts got in there. They did the job. Platypus can come back. We're on the road to Val's Anvil. This is one of the maps we played earlier. It's a really, really nice one. We have a lot of cool maps to explore as well, but it looks like this is the one that the administrators have chosen. If Houseplant 3-0s, does that mean Puggington is getting second for getting a win off him? I mean, in a way, yes. In a way, yes. Yeah, we'll have to see. Obi-Wan took advantage of the high ground. Yeah, no, it's Star Wars 101, man. Exactly. He had the high ground and he kept it. And the overzealous Anakin on the low ground certainly suffered a little bit. So we'll have to see. Thank you guys all for joining. It's been quite a bit of fun. We're moving into game 3 of the grand finals of today's tournament as we approach the 3 hour and 15 minute mark. Perfect timing, perfect length. Life is good. Yeah, I hope they carry those nicknames with them. I hope Houseplant will enjoy being referred to as Obi-Wan. I mean, Anakin's great too. Who doesn't want to be Anakin? You know, he's cool. He doesn't like sand and whatnot, which is fun. Yeah, you know, that's the thing, right? Like, you invest a lot in the I understand that, though, because Manfred was getting his butt kicked in that duel. So, like, the Spirit Leech bait on him, like, you're going to want to try and finish him. But then, like, those Spirit Leeches aren't going into the Mortis, which could have potentially died, which very, very much could have changed the paradigm of that battle, right? So there's a lot of nuance to that engagement that you have to take into account. The Winds of Death was just straight up brutal, dude. Just brutal. Like, those, it's a lot of Winds of Magic, but it was worth every penny because it protected the big single entities, right? So at the end of the day, it was the right choice. They got the business pretty hard. Yeah, Manfred's a great lord. And, like, what's so good about Manfred, I mean, there are lords who are better fighters than him, but the Winds of Magic you get from him is insane. And it really, really allows you to just cast Winds of Death while also having the mana to cast other spells, right? Because normally, like, if that was like a Blood Dragon Lord, he wouldn't have had the Winds of Magic to, let's say, you know, cast Winds and Raise Dead and Invocations that he was doing with all of his characters. But Manfredo lets that go pretty wild. I would love to see Bretonnia, although I don't think either of these players played Bretonnia. Maybe Houseplant does. I feel like Houseplant would. I don't think that's Platy's style. I think Platy likes, like, more infantry-focused factions. It seems like he's very much an infantry guy. Haven't seen too much cavalry play out of him in general. Who wins one-on-one, Manfred or Valkia? On the Dragon, oh, that's a tough one. So Valkia gets 13 seconds of being invulnerable. Manfred would probably edge it out on his Dragon, just because of his... If he's allowed to use his magic, like if we're just saying like a vacuum dueling situation, he would be able to use Invocation, Von Hell's Dance Macabre, Spirit Leech as well. So if Manfred just came with Invo, Von Hell's, and Spirit Leech, he would probably beat Valkia in a duel one-on-one. But Valkia would cost like half as much almost. Like, Valkia is really not an expensive lord. Manfred's like close to 3,000. So it's kind of a tricky thing to compare. But like, if Manfred's on any of his other mounts, he's going to lose to Valkia. Yeah, for sure. Let's go Houseplant. Who are you guys rooting for? By the way, who's your favorite? You guys have someone that you're really cheering for in chat? Do let us know. All right, picks and bans coming in just a minute. Just waiting for the players to do it. Remember, this series is live, so we have to wait for the players to kind of do their jam. Platypus looks like he's eyeing the dwarves. He's looking through the roster. He hasn't done his picks and bans yet, but he's eyeing the dwarves, which are... This is a big open map, which actually the dwarves can be compromised on, for sure. So here's the bracket. The third place match is being played right now, so Blood Penguin and Ulrich Rawl are dueling it out. And we are doing, of course, like I said, the grand finals. The third place match will be casted on my channel this week, so you guys will be able to jump in and catch that if you guys, of course, want to see it. We'll, of course, announce all the results for all the places and everything today, which is great. The good times. Thanks for casting the tournament. You're welcome, man. It's my pleasure. I love Total War. Love the multiplayer. It's my jam. Yeah, and really, it's the Warhammer universe. Like, just like seeing all the characters and lords, and I really, really like the Warhammer universe. I'm really excited for the Old World to come out. The Games Workshop's bringing back Old World and tabletop, and I'm super excited for that. I got a fully painted Empire army. Going to be starting on a Dark Elf army soon as well. Very, very hyped for that. It's going to be fun. Rooting for Sigmar first and players currently after that. Okay, there you go. Whoever's playing is the good guys, says Roapon. I like that. Any plans for a late night stream? Not today, no. Today I'm going to be taking it easy. But I'll be back streaming this week. Probably on Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm probably going to take off, and then I'll be back streaming on my channel on Tuesday. Yeah. I hope CA does 40K too eventually. I bet you they would. I bet you they will. Like, I think it's going to happen. I'd put money on it. Yeah. I definitely would. As long as the Dowie win, I'm okay. Dude, you must be happy. The dwarves, I think, over the course of the whole weekend are, let's see. I think they're 3-1. Like, they've had a really, really good run. Dwarves have been performing very well. Clearly, these players have practiced them a lot, because you really got to know how your units work and how to place things with dwarves. It's very much like, having that good old classic checkerboard position. All right, so picks and bans are in. The die is cast. Let's reset this. And then we have, in the third battle today, Platypus is going to be picking the dwarves. So clearly an RTK special. They're a dwarf clan, confirmed. Warriors of Chaos and Slaanesh. Very sweaty factions. The dwarves are probably the least sweaty of the bunch. And banning Dark Elves. So he is going to ban out Dark Elves. So clearly, he doesn't want to play any of these factions with against Dark Elves. And Dark Elves actually aren't bad against Dwarves. They can do pretty good against them. So the response from Houseplant is going to pick Warriors of Chaos, and he is going to be banning the Dwarves. Is he banning the Dwarves? No, he bans Warriors of Chaos. He picks Warriors of Chaos and bans Warriors of Chaos because he doesn't want to get dragged into a Warriors mirror. Oh, that's really funny. So now Platypus has the option to pick either Dwarves or Slaanesh. And I would expect his Slaanesh pick, but it looks like he picks Dwarves. So the Dowie are back, dude. Beards and belts. This tournament is the Dwarven Tide, man. They have just been just all over this event. All over this event. All right, guys. Dwarves versus Warriors of Chaos. The die is cast. Let's do it. Painting up your Kislev boys. I would wager Kislev is going to get a new army. So, yeah, like 100%. That would be my guess. Gotrek? Maybe Gotrek will appear. I don't think so. He's okay. Gotrek has some matchups, but overall, you know, he's not like the most ideal pick in the world. There's a lot of grudges going on, yeah. And yeah, they're just a solid faction. Whoa, that is a different Chaos army. It's Festus and his Warrior Legion, which is pretty cool. Lots of healing. So healing, you know, Chaos Warriors with Nurgle healing is pretty rad. You just move Festus around and have him, you know, with his healing aura and or a Mortis engine against Mass Dwarf Infantry. I actually really like that. That's cool. Now, what are the reinforcements going to be for the Warriors of Chaos? See, this is the Warriors of Chaos I like to see. Armored, metal, heavy infantry. I don't like to see Hellstriders and Horsemen spam. That's not fun. This is cool. This is Festus. This is armor. This is very fun. All right, guys. Loading into Game 3, perhaps the last game of the day. If Houseplant's able to win, he will be sweeping the series and claiming the World Championship for himself. And for his clan, of course. 3-0, which is pretty serious. So taking a look here at the forces of the Menacing Platypus, it's going to be Dwarf Warriors backed up by, you know, some shooting. So we got Quarrelers. We got Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Very much just like a wide build, right? On top of that, we got a Grudge Thrower in the back. So there's going to be a little bit of artillery trying to put some hurt onto the Chaos Infantry. And the Dwarf Lord is going to be none other than Thoric Ironbrow, who is very, very good. Now check this build out. This is going to be the dreaded Chaos Warrior build. So it's just mass Warriors of Chaos. And we have great weapons mixed in. On the low ground, we got Festus. And what kind of a character is this? It looks like it's going to be an Exalted Hero on a Chariot. Oh, that's pretty cool. It does have good armor piercing. The Chariot, of course, not a bad character at all. So here it comes, and he's just going to be rolling. Not bad, man. Not bad. More Chaos Warriors in the low ground. Festus going to be popping his healing elixirs. I'm pretty happy we got to see him in action today. He's a fun character. He does have a Mortis engine. Stream of Corruption is also very good against dwarves because it has 100% armor piercing. So the spell pierces through armor just no matter what. It cuts through the dwarven armor and does not care. Miasma of Pestilence is an interesting choice. I don't really know about those applications, but nonetheless, Harbinger of Pestilence healing elixirs. Festus has got all sorts of goodies for the dwarves. And now the Dowie Legion is going to be moving across. So here they come. Dwarf Warriors on their way up. The Exalted Hero in the Chariot is a pretty good choice against dwarves because he has a shield. So the shield is going to be blocking missiles, and typically that forces you to deal with it with Slayers, which, you know, usually with good micro, the Exalted Hero is going to be able to kind of run away from those type of threats. We'll have to see. I'm surprised we didn't see double Exalted Hero in the Chariot. I actually really like that pick. I think that's pretty solid. Yeah, Festus does have a really good villain laugh. Yes, we had that discussion earlier on stream about who has like the best villain laughter, and Festus is definitely in the territory. Like, definitely is. So Exalted Hero's chilling out, circling about. Objective's going to be opening up in 20 seconds. The Leech Lord down here for Houseplant is going to be hanging out, whereas the Menacing Platypus is going to be securing the high ground objective. Classic tactic on this map. Secure the high ground, push down, use the terrain to your benefit here if you're a more defensive faction. But we saw that mistake get made earlier. We saw the game with Plague Penguin versus, I can't remember who that was. I think it was Houseplant? Yeah. Where he pushed up into the choke point. You don't need to. You can simply just park your shielded warriors like right along this choke point right here, hold the objective, and the dwarves are going to be forced to move down with more stuff, and then you can engage them, and it opens up the back here. I almost feel like I'm like watching like it's like a jiu-jitsu match. Like you know, go for one submission to like force another opening from your opponent or something. The dreaded matching banner colors. I know, they had to do that. They literally did that. They just picked like the two most similar colors just to make it as difficult as possible to cast, which is always fun. Gotta love it. So the Leech Lord is down here chilling. And yeah, dude, like, move up your armored warriors? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to shoot you with bows? Who cares? Festus sits there and heals. And we got Chaos Warriors, the dual weapons coming out too. So he actually didn't bring the Hellstriders of Slaanesh like most people usually do, but he used his Chaos marks. So how it works is Warriors of Chaos have a couple marks of Chaos. They can bring a couple marked units, and it looks like they brought Khorne Warriors, they brought Festus from Nurgle, and they should have something else as well. Another Exalted Hero going to be coming in on the Chariot. The Chaos Warriors up on the high ground just kind of chilling. And there's no sense in pushing. Force the dwarves forward. You know, it's on them. If they want to, you know, sit and camp up here, they're going to lose the game unless they come down and get this objective. So Chaos can definitely move some of its infantry up. There is a Grudge Thrower shooting in, I think. I know I saw a Grudge Thrower up on the high ground. So yeah, it's moving into position, and the Grudge Thrower is going to be able to put some hurt. 2 Exalted Heroes, probably going to send them in. So if anything moves up here, the Exalted Heroes can go start attacking them, which is 100% what I would like to see. It looks like they're on the objective. Some more capture weight. Festus has 3 capture weight. Exalted Hero has 3 capture weight. 1 Dwarf Warrior has 5. So currently, the Warriors of Chaos will have the capture weight advantage until a second infantry unit does move up. And again, where's that other Exalted Hero? What is he doing? Oh, he's in the back? What is this? This Exalted Hero should definitely be up here. I mean, just going after these Dwarven infantry. These missiles will do nothing. These Exalted Heroes have 110 armor. They have healing, and they have silver shields. Like, I don't know why they're being afraid and not jumping into combat with these dwarves. The dwarf army doesn't really have answers for them, like super effective answers, other than just like pure attrition and things like that, right? So the Gyrocopter comes in, and it does get some good damage on the Exalted Hero. This objective is being held by the Warriors of Chaos. For some reason, I don't know why the dwarves don't have more capture weight. They should. Okay, there it is. Now the dwarves have the capture weight. It looks like their unit wasn't fully on the objective there, so they are going to be paying the iron price. As we see a Manscore coming out, the Chaos Manscore are going to be going after the Gyrocopter with the Brimstone gun. Very good choice. Gyrocopters do not want to be getting chased by a Manticore. Not fun for them. So healing elixirs are active, but, you know, honestly, the Exalted Heroes in Festus maybe get down there and get a little bit down and dirty. He's really sitting super far back with these units. Like, I don't think that's necessary. Although he's trying to stay out of range of maybe the Grudge Thrower, but, like, the Grudge Thrower is going to be able to range most things. And this objective is going to be flipping to the Dwarves, which then, you know, Chaos is going to have to work to get it back. I don't really hate the idea of the 2 Exalted Heroes moving in and going after those. Like, I think that'd be potentially really, really strong, right? But Dwarves do have the capture weight advantage. They have 15 capture weight against 9, so they're going to be pulling back at this point. And now we see Chaos pulling their infantry up, but like maybe a little bit too late, because they don't need to yield this objective to the Dwarves. They could have just like held that. All you're absorbing is 1 Grudge Thrower shooting, which isn't that much, and then you can just heal with Festus. So I think that was a bit of a misplay here from Houseplant. But again, just my opinion. Up on the high ground, we see Chaos Warriors moving in, so they are going to be moving into the Dwarven position up here on the high ground as Festus and company are chilling, and it looks like they are going to be yielding this point to the Dowie. It really, really didn't need to happen, in my opinion. The Dwarven missiles here aren't that strong. It's just like a Gyrocopter and a couple Corlers. They are not going to have too much damage against the armor here. So Gyrocopters blasting into the Chaos Feral Manscore, and here we have the old Exalted Heroes. These are the laziest Exalted Heroes I've ever seen. They could have just been cleaving skulls for Khorne all day up here, and the Dwarves wouldn't have been able to have honestly done much. Although it looks like they just took a little bit of damage. Maybe a cannon got brought in or something, or I think the Grudge Thrower might have hit them. I don't know what it was. See, now they're going to be pulling the trigger. So now they're going to move in. Manscore is going after the Gyrocopter, and the objective does flip back to the Dwarves. Granted, Chaos should be able to resecure this one pretty quickly here. So they're going to move in, and we do see some sort of a heal going down, so that's going to be a Festus heal. No, Master Rune. So now this is where Festus needs to drop the Fleshy Abundance on them if they actually start to take some damage. So blasting charge is going in, but silver shields plus 130 armor is no joke. Where is the Fleshy Abundance from your boy Festus? It needs to come down, needs to drop the heals. Looks like he's moving up, and the Exalted Hero, the other one, does get into the blasting charges here. Should be able to do some decent damage. Like I said, he's got really good armor piercing, so he's going to be doing pretty good as the dreaded Chaos Horses continue to bite. And this Exalted Hero does not want to be in combat here. This is a big blunder. Having it in combat with Thoric Ironbrow while getting shot with blasting charges. Festus with a Stream of Corruption, but really I don't know why you wouldn't heal the Exalted Hero. I feel like that would be the play. Nonetheless, Chaos Warriors engaging from all sides into the Dwarven position. And we do see that they might be able to get through eventually. These shielded Chaos Warriors are pretty resilient. We also have Chaos Warrior Great Weapons, which will be able to kind of punish most Dwarven infantry. And this Exalted Hero is going to be on the run. Festus has not... Oh, Festus didn't bring the heals! Whoa, what the heck is this? Guys, he didn't bring Fleshy Abundance. He can't heal the Exalted Heroes. That feels like a misplay. I feel like Houseplant might have misclicked and brought the wrong spell. Because Fleshy Abundance is just so good. It's so good. I don't know why you wouldn't bring that. Manscore in the back doing a little bit of diving. Dwarves obviously in some ugly trades now as the Great Weapons are cutting through the Dwarf Warriors. Here we have Great Weapons getting some good grinding, and in the backfield the Manticore is broken, so the Gyrocopters are free once again as the Exalted Hero in the Chariot is now going to be moving into the Quarrelers here. That is a really, really strange, yeah, because the other spell isn't very good. That's kind of the concerning thing. Now, the objective does belong to Chaos again. So maybe it kind of makes me think that Houseplant like intentionally kind of played that way, not as it pertains to the healing, but in regards to the really, really delayed thing, to give the Dwarves the least amount of time possible to kind of value trade back, right? So, yeah, he really kind of punished the Dwarves for being overly defensive and not really getting up on that objective quickly. Now, Chaos Warriors fighting here very, very well. Shielded Chaos Warriors are some of the best infantry units of the game. I just think their durability in tandem with their damage output is very, very good. And we have the battle of the purple armor color scheme, which is pretty great. And yeah, Festus does have AoE healing via the Lore of Nurgle, but I really do think that, you know, Fleshy Abundance, if you're going to be going for Exalted Heroes, would be very prudent. This Exalted Hero could be full health again, or very close to it. Hellstriders of Slaanesh did find a way around the back, so they went around the back of the army with their 100 speed, and these are the Scourge variant, which will be pretty good against like Quarrelers and those type of units. They don't have great armor piercing, but they have good defensive stats, and it's going to be very tough for the Dwarves to stop. In the backfield, the Hellstriders of Slaanesh coming in once again. The Dwarves kind of getting pushed back on many fronts, though they are up in value. They are rapidly, slowly losing. Well, rapidly, slowly. That doesn't make sense, but they're rapidly kind of losing out on the points. And yeah, it's slowly making its way there. Stream of Corruption going down. Going to be nailing those Dwarf Warriors. Not bad. Not doing as much damage as it once did. I feel like that spell did get nerfed at some point in the history of Warhammer 3. Hellscourge units and Festus just moving through, and this is not good. When Festus is just kind of moving, just all jolly through your backfield with heals and Mortis engines, that's when you know things are getting a little bit crazy. We also do have Chaos Armored Trolls against Quarrelers, really good. 110 armor will mitigate the Quarreler fire. You have to use Slayers. And it does seem like the Dwarven position is starting to get pressed pretty hard. Now, even though the Dwarves do have a value lead, it doesn't mean a whole lot considering Festus is here, and he has been doing the AoE heals. It looks like the healing elixirs are just going non-stop. So these Chaos Warriors, just with their 110 armor and just thick, thick stats, is just getting a ton of healing. So more Hell Scourges in the backfield. Really, really good play from Houseplant, finding a way into the backfield of the Dwarves despite the really defensive position. So those Dwarf and Purple Infantry are going to be taken down. And the Dwarves do manage to kind of win some of the engagements here. Granted, there's still Great Weapon Warriors and Chaos Warriors here trading reasonably well, though the Great Weapon Dwarves might be able to deal with it. And the Dwarven Tide, though, is holding. Again, it's a little bit tricky to cast because they basically look the same color, but this is a wall of Dwarves here. We have a wall of Dwarves right there, and it looks like they're holding back those two fronts. As Festus the Leech Lord, has he switched to his Mortis engine? No, he still has the healing elixirs on and is trying to get his value that way. Now, as far as the backfield goes, it looks like Slayers have gotten on top of the Trolls. Okay, maybe the Houseplant is going to be able to kind of satisfy the grudge and stabilize his backfield, as these Chaos Trolls are going to be dragged down by the Slayers. They were born and bred for this one thing, and that was it. Yeah, well, I guess they weren't born and bred. They kind of like, you know, they did something wrong in Dwarven society. They became a Slayer, so it's kind of like a circuitous route, but they got there, and that's what they're designed to do. So the Chaos Trolls are going to be buckled. And Felix Jaeger is here! Oh yeah, dude. Gotta love some Felix play. No Gotrek today, but hey, at least we get to see Felix. He is a really, really good anti-infantry character. He has armor piercing, anti-infantry. He also will heal Thoric Ironbrow if the fight gets really close, so they can fight shoulder to shoulder, and he can get his value this way. So the Dwarves are rallying up on the high ground, pushing back the heretics. Much of the Chaos Army at this point looks to be horsemen, but he's going to be going for an objective theft. So he moved all of his horsemen up to objective 1. He's going to be trying to steal this with some capture weight. These horsemen each have pretty good capture weight, but the Dwarves do have some healthy infantry here. We have the minor infantry here. We have another unit of full health Longbeards with great weapons. Chaos does manage to take the capture weight for a moment, and this would be a really, really sneaky play, because then the Dwarves might not have enough time to get the other objectives back. Thoric, in the meantime, is hunting down Festus. The Neckbeard Lord is on the run. Festus would certainly have one of the most epic neckbeards of all time if he chose that hairstyle. And he's on the run. Yeah, Thoric will for sure beat him in combat. Festus is not a very good fighter. He's okay. He doesn't have good armor piercing. I mean, his stats are decent, but in general, he's not going to be able to deal with a big armored character. Dwarves are going to be getting down here. Felix chasing off the last of these Chaos Warriors. I feel like we're watching a scene from one of the books, as Felix is here, although Gotrek would need to come as well. If he summons Gotrek, it would just be the ultimate joy. I would be so happy about that. So the Dwarves of Menacing Platypus move down, and the Warriors of Chaos steal the high ground objective with their Mass Marauder Horsemen. Brutal stuff. But the Dwarven Tide is on its way up. We got Quarrelers, that Exalted Hero back here causing problems, another Grudge Thrower, And the Dwarves are going to be grabbing this objective. Do they have anything to get this low ground point? It doesn't look like it. So they trade objectives, guys, but that point lead is getting very, very serious for the Warriors of Chaos. Houseplant is a very tactical player, and now he's going to be bringing his big Marauder Horseman blob down here to mitigate the Dwarves' capture weight and really, really punish them. Although this objective is going to be flipping back to the Dwarves here. The Dwarves really need to get something so they don't need to triple cap. Dwarf triple capping, it is not an easy thing to do. Now, Houseplant's saving up a lot of resources. He's got about 3,000 in the bank. It could be that a lot of his army's out on the battlefield, but it looks like Platypus doesn't think he has the time, and he taps out. Man, the Horseman theft crushing the spirits of the Dwarves. Festus the Leech Lord doing his thing. Man, cool game. Almost, I think it was a mistake not bringing that. But ladies and gentlemen, our world champion is going to be Houseplant of Clan RTK. Congratulations to him. A brutal, brutal series there. A lot of 3-0s. The curse is here. We'll see if the curse is broken next time around. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be a victory for Houseplant and RTK. GG, well played. More grudges. But guys, honestly, for all of you Dwarf fans out there talking about grudges, you guys went 50-50. The Dwarves had a great run in this tournament. They won a ton of games. Everything was good. GG, well played. It was a good match. A little bit of an early leaving from the Dwarves there. I think they still could have had a chance. They were up in value, and Chaos was very tattered. They had a couple horsemen, but even still, I can see where he's coming from, and I understand it. But I do think that he still had a fighting chance. GG, well played. Congrats to Houseplant. The only person to defeat Houseplant in the tournament, Puggington here in chat. Yeah, Houseplant didn't drop a single game. A single game in the tournament. That is super impressive. So now, hey guys, the great thing is the legend has been spoken. We have our Dark Lord. So next time we have a major tournament, you guys know who the Dark Lord is. It's going to be Houseplant. So, now there's a legend. There's a story. So congratulations. Houseplant's going to be victorious. He will be winning the World Championship. And once again, I want to sincerely thank you guys all for joining. It was super fun. Big thanks to the admins for organizing the tournament. I did very little as it pertains to organizing the tournament, so shout out to Samurai and Moors for really doing the lion's share of the work as far as I could tell, and anybody else who assisted them. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for hanging out. It was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Houseplant really, really with the big builds. Cool stuff. Exalted Hero. The Corn Warriors was cool. The Chaos Trolls were a rad tech against Quarreler spam. It was a really fun one, man. It was a really fun one. GG, well played. We'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves. Stay tuned for the third place match, which is going to be going live on my channel this week. I'll have the replays, and we will be casting the third place match between Plague Penguin as well as Aura Crawl. So that'll be up on my channel, probably Wednesday or Thursday. Should be fun. GG, well played. See you guys next time. That's it for today. And thanks again to CA for letting us use their channel to get this out to all of you guys. GG, adios, do widzenia, dobranoc, sayonara. I don't know anything else. That's it. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.